This boy just mocks professional boxers despite starting boxing 2 weeks ago. No one can match Ryu's speed and agility. Even older and experienced boxers don't stand a chance against him. Ryu impresses the local coach so much that he invites a world-famous coach called Kei, who trained 5 of the world's top boxers, and now travels in search of his last disciple. Kei looks at this boy and evaluates his every movement. He clearly sees that his God-given talent surpasses everyone he trained before. All his movements are natural, and he has his own style. Basically, Ryu has everything to become the next champion. But still, his love for showing off and lack of training don't allow him to defeat a much older and stronger opponent, who wins in the end. That's when Kei hears some noise from outside. When he looks out the window, he sees a bunch of bullies beating a lonely, gloomy guy who doesn't even try to fight back. He just takes punch after punch, and then Kei notices one thing that shocks him to the core. He just can't believe his eyes. This boy saw every punch from the bullies clearly, but just didn't want to dodge. So Kei comes down, and while the bullies take some punishment from the local coach, Kei asks only one question. Why didn't this boy dodge those punches? He simply replies that he couldn't be bothered, and walks away like nothing just happened. That's when Kei decides to test this boy to be sure. He rushes forward and tries to land his best and fastest punch, but this boy sees the punch clearly and dodges it like it's nothing. Coach Kei is shocked by how easily the boy dodged his punch. Although he's old now, no one has ever dodged it before, and the fact that this boy did it so effortlessly means he has true God-tier talent. Coach Kei just can't miss such limitless potential and offers to teach him how to box. But the gloomy boy seems not interested at all and wonders if it's even fun hitting people. Coach Kei realizes that this boy lacks the innate human hunger for dominance, a complete contrast to the white-haired, talented punk he saw in the gym. Coach Kei answers that it's indeed fun to hit other people. Hitting another human being creates a sense of meaning, and everyone wants to reach that height. Then Coach Kei shows the boy his very first boxing lesson with a simple 1-2 jab, and gives him a time limit of 30 days to accept his offer. The gloomy kid just shrugs it off and walks away. The local coach just can't understand what on earth Kei noticed in that boy. So Kei explains that he used to believe his gut feelings. He had the same feeling about all 5 previous champions he trained, as well as about Ryu. But this gloomy kid, he's a whole other animal. Just one look at him was enough to send shivers down Kei's spine. Shivers from fear. Kei's still trembling after their encounter. That look and those eyes. He looked bored while a bunch of bullies were beating him. So Kei tested him by throwing his strongest punch from behind. Yet that kid had already seen his fist coming and slipped it. He didn't dodge by some miracle or animal-like instinct. He moved with precision and grace as if he'd already known it was coming. Kei has seen too many geniuses to count in his lifetime, but never someone like that kid. You may think it means he's just a fast reactor, but hell no. The way he dodged Kei's fist means that time flows at an entirely different speed in his world. Basically, he's not human. He's a monster. The following day at school, Jay is getting his ass beat by a bunch of bullies. He's your average nice guy nerd currently serving as Ryu's seat. The white-haired punk is established as a bully who goes to the gym, which is 2 of the worst combinations anyone could possibly wish for. Ryu enjoys basking in the praise from his goonies, who laud him and think that he's going to become a world champion someday. The world is split in 2. The weak dudes, like Mystery Boy over here and his nerd sidekick, and the strong like Bakugo's second cousin Ryu. These punks casually give our boy a fade check while they're going about their business. Their main focus is to bully Jay, the poor boy who just can't stop getting beat up. During lunchtime, they toss disgusting candies inside his bowl, forcing him to eat. The nerd is a level 1 stickman, so obviously, he had to agree to such a disgusting request. Jay feels like shit afterward. While all the other kids are playing, Jay is sitting along with Mystery Introvert Pro Max because they're both losers. Jay is surprised because Yu boasts incredible physical ability, but refuses to play out of sheer boredom. Four Eyes explores Yu's passion, but as far as he can remember, this dude hasn't ever even thought of becoming anything before. He's living life while chill-maxing, not caring about anything. Yu asks Jay the same question, stating that he wants to follow in his father's footsteps. While they're happily bickering about, Ryu just can't digest letting the nerd have a good time with someone. He bashes the ball aimed toward Jay, but to everyone's shock, Yu catches it with ease. The problem child in Freakazoid Ryu is ferocious and slaps Yu across the face for even attempting to do such a thing. Ryu tries his best to strike fear in the boy's eyes, but Yu meets him with a meh expression, as if he doesn't care about his threat. As for Jay, he's been secretly training to become a boxer, just like his father. His father is a figure he deems courageous. In a way, the boy fails as if he's failed his friend by refusing to confront Ryu. After all, Budget Bakugo is his biggest fear, making him feel like a loser. Jay, the depressed boy who's crept up into his room all to himself, questions his chances against the indomitable object of his demise. For Jay, it's clear that the strength of his opponent is extraordinary. He's seen the white-haired punk mess up guys way above his weight class. It's a real show as if he's just toying with his opponents. Four Eyes thinks that nobody can stop him. In an effort to seek advice, Jay consults his father, who used to be a boxer of his time. He wants to know how to beat down opponents stronger than him. His father explains that during his time, it took everything in a boxer's heart to win. That is the differentiation that separated the amateurs from the professionals. Be that as it may, his father also remembers being struck terrified of facing strong opponents. In those moments, even a professional of his caliber had no choice but to bail out and get beaten. It felt better for him to surrender and accept defeat instead of taking the beating. But that's the thing. Once you go down as a boxer, everything ends. Jay's father understood that fact and acknowledged that the most important thing to a boxer is to keep getting up no matter what. That said, he thinks in any other circumstance, a person should run so that they must never be caught. He emphasizes that courage from all people is commendable, even if they're not boxers. The nerd boy finds solace in his father's advice and sleeps. The perspective shifts to Yu, who is climbing a flight of stairs when he spots Bitchface again. Ryu wanted to pay him back dearly, and even ended up at his house. To teach Yu some manners, Ryu ridicules him and entices the boy to a fight. Yu's typical response of ignorance ends up in his skull getting bashed. Consequently, Ryu wants to make sure Yu suffers the worst life imaginable by making him pay money. After Ryu leaves, like clockwork, nothing in Yu's life changes. While heading home, Ryu is dreadfully infuriated remembering those uncaring eyes of the boy he just faced. Ryu spots a bunch of delinquents from another gang who have been eager to test his strength. To vent his anger, Bitchface throws an explosive thrust in his face, knocking him out. He's delighted to break them one by one, as their sorrowful expression brings him the most joy. The night ends with Yu spending time by himself and his cat. His eyes look so gloomy that he looks like a ghost. The next day, it's game time. Today is the day Jay has been preparing for. He's ready to confront his bullies. Even in class, he musters his resolve to remain unafraid. Surprisingly, they don't do anything to him. Jay is confused, as this isn't supposed to happen. What's more, is that Yu is missing. The realization is starting to hit him. There's definitely a reason they spared him. This is confirmed to be the case, as Yu is beaten down in a warehouse for not bringing Ryu his money. Bitchface's underlings practice all of their moves by beating him up like a doll. Ryu is there to teach them how to strike while enjoying the show. Suddenly, Jay barges in, shouting at them to stop. A moment of silence ensues before being replaced with fear. The boy's heart beats fast, having realized that he's uttered words he can never take back. The feeling of fear crumbles his resolve, which he had prepared before entering this room. The boy's body quivers, refusing to act, but he can no longer take anything back. He has to fight, and he chooses to load his arms. The scene absolutely baffles Ryu, but Jay isn't shaken anymore. Using his father's advice, the boy adjusts the perfect angle and delivers a clean jab before rotating his hips for a forward cross. This two-piece combo surprises even him while at the same time infuriating his opponent. Satisfied that his punches are doing damage, Jay has gained a sense of courage. This time, his opponent is the one who is shaking from fear. But that's enough because Ryu's here to end it all. He's here to make sure Jay remembers this humiliation. Even his underlings think it's unfair the nerd got sent straight to the final boss after one victory. Ryu edges him to strike him down, while Four Eyes is convinced that his real battle has finally begun. Bugface Bakugo provokes Little Jay to attack him. Lil Jay is having the confidence of a newbie, thinking that he can best him. Jay whips a forward punch that easily gets dodged. I'm a hater, but this dude Ryu is actually going full Ultra Instinct mode in dodging his attacks. Jay is fully concentrated on landing just one attack, just one strike that could destroy Ryu. But the poor guy is running out of gas, to the point even Ryu is making fun of him. The dude bitch slaps his opponent across the face, gives him a cut so hard he is starting to lose hope. The fear of defeat settles in, as Ryu provokes him to attack. Jay gets slammed in the face, putting him in a damn daze. Dude is traumatized realizing that he's fighting an actual monster. Jay is breathless, and knows that he fucked up in real time by challenging this guy. Ryu's hater squad are adding to the trash talk. Ryu comes over to ask Lil Jay if he's already giving up. But no. Jay channels his inner Rocky Balboa and stands up. He's ready to catch some smoke, even after knowing he's outclassed. His new strategy is to wear his opponent out, but Ryu's in the mood to toy around with his food, and takes a one-armed stance. But even with a single arm, he's able to dish out blows that cut straight through Jay's guard. Ryu floods him with a river of devastating punches while Jay tries to stand his ground. He receives a heavy punch in the gut while his psychopathic opponent is relishing the feeling of violence. The nerd is realizing that this is what fights in the streets actually feel like. But he's still not giving up. He's gonna tank that shit until he wins. Ryu seems to know Jay's strategy and entertains him with agile punches all across his body. Jay endures attacks from every angle. Even the hater squad thinks this is the definition of getting one's ass whooped. Jay is taking this beating all so that he could secure one momentous strike. And then, something happens. Ryu reaches to charge a heavy fist, allowing Jay just the opportunity to react with a single uppercut. You'd think this is the part where the underdog wins, but no. Bitchface dodges that shit like crazy and returns with a bulldozing slam in his face. Jay's father had a boxing record that didn't reflect greatness or fame. He was never remembered as a courageous boxer, a quality that his son deeply admired in him. The boy who had endured everything lays defeated on the ground. Ryu crushed his brain, even making him lose sense of direction. Bugface mocks his pathetic little strategy and reads him like an open book. It was so easy for him to see through Jay's plans. But the fight is still not over. The nerd is unrelenting even after his spirit has been mercilessly broken. Jay receives numerous slaps across his face. Ryu makes sure to drag him through every layer of hell he knows, putting Jay on the ground. The boy remembers his father's words, stringing every last bit of motivation he can to get up from the ground. Ryu commends his spirit and respects Jay to the point he's ready to stop bullying him. But it's not over. Not for the boy who is clinging to the spirit of a true boxer. Jay rises again, desperate for victory. Yu observes him carefully. As for Bitchface, he's mad, pissed, and delivers a bone-crushing slam across his face. Ryu swings his fists with such violence that even his friends think he's going to kill the boy. Jay's face is swollen, bloodied, bruised, every kind of ugly you could ever even think of. Ryu considers the boy's persistence as an offense to his ego. He calls him a shitty loser to further prove his point. Much to the asshole's surprise, Jay never even thought about the chances of victory. He calls Ryu a fool for misunderstanding him. As a result of this courageous act, Jay has transformed his being into a new, stronger person. He doesn't care about petty titles like Bakugo's cousin over here. Jay's spirit roars as he declares he will become a boxer. Such words resonate with Yu but infuriate Ryu, a contrast, prompting Ryu to punch him more and more up. Then, a penetrating question from Yu silences the room. Yu asks the same question he asked Coach K regarding beating other people and gaining enjoyment from it. The scene switches to Coach K, who explains that he trusted his gut intuition when he saw the gloomy boy. It has always been about a natural feeling to him when he coached world champions, but something about the boy was different. Returning to Yu's sudden stand against Ryu, his underlings act tough and shit. The introvert excellently recalls the movements of Coach K and delivers a 1-2 that rocks the shit out of the punk. Coach K summarizes that he shuddered in excitement upon meeting the boy. Yu's punches have caused deafening silence in the room. One by one, they approach him only to get smashed into pieces. Ryu observes the scene as if his soul is leaving his body. Coach K adds that the boy's eyes welcomed the fists to strike his face, as if nothing in the world ever entertained Yu to gain his attention. This unusual behavior was something Coach K had to test for himself. He launched a nuclear fist aimed to squash the boy's face. The result was as clear as day. The boy elegantly dodged his fist, a quality that boxers deliver only after years and years of training. It wasn't by luck or timing, it was something unnatural. Even the most goated boxing coach in the whole world admits that he has never seen a genius like Yu in his life. Now, for the moment of truth. Ryu feels an unusual feeling of unease. Yu's soul-reaping eyes have put him on edge. Ryu makes his advance and then feels as if the right side of his face has been annihilated. He wails in agony, getting the exact treatment he deserves, while Yu just stare at him as if it was nothing. The bully has become the helpless victim, feeling a terror unlike anything he's ever seen before. In Coach K's own words, that boy is not a human, but a literal monster. He is the definition of built differently. We get a backstory of our guy Ryu who just got one-shotted. Back then, the young boy saw too many openings in other people's fights. He also had the most goofy haircut ever, but that didn't stop him from crushing other dudes. Bro started thinking he was Gojo or something because no one could stop him. The feeling of absolutely crushing others inspired him to do it even more. He took satisfaction in the misery and fear of his opponents. It had transformed his entire being. Dude beat up so many guys he was known in the entire nation as a menace. Ryu enjoyed it when people who were 5 times his damn size came to teach him a lesson. But he enjoyed it. He enjoyed every second of pummeling them down, drilling it into their tiny little brains that he was unstoppable. Ryu went on a winning streak so high he started thinking that he was a cut above the rest, like he was Buddha or something. But oh, how the tables have now turned. He got squashed by a monster that could have nearly ended his damn life. His previous beliefs are shaken, but it's no worry for Ryu after all. He thinks it's just a fluke, and he must have slipped. The idiot tries to give it his best shot to make sure he defeats Yu. He wonders what kind of approach would suit best for returning his carnage. Ryu decides to charge his fist with every fiber in his body. He sees Yu ducking for the incoming attack, but Bitchface had already anticipated that move. He outmaneuvers Yu and aims right for his head. It's impossible for anyone to dodge so close. But impossible isn't in Yu's dictionary. He freaking dodges it. Ryu's soul literally disappears because he knows he fucked up. Yu gets up with a sledgehammer of a jab, before unleashing a flurry of jabs all over his body. Ryu's self-proclaimed God-given talent proves worthless against an opponent that is outside his field of vision. This monster creeps up from behind and proves that every prey has its predator. After getting his shit tossed, Ryu wakes up screaming in the hospital room, experiencing a nightmare. Seconds passed as he realized every bone in his body had been obliterated. Ryu faced a feeling completely foreign to him, a feeling of loss and fear, along with despair. He had experienced failure, and just like a small child whining after losing the game, Ryu bawled in the face of defeat. Meanwhile, Coach K is laser-focused on setting his sights with his newest obsession. He only wants one kid on the roster, He has never wanted for someone to join him so badly. The man is so damn obsessed he's ready to kidnap Yu's dumbass. Interestingly, while they were expecting Ryu to show up to the gym, Yu turned up instead like I beat your boy to a pulp fashion. Coach K is ecstatic that Yu's here to learn how to fight. Yu accepts his terms but has a condition of his own. He requests money to pay the bills for the hospital. Coach K realizes what happened and happily asks if Ryu gave him a fun challenge. But shocking everyone, my dude calls Ryu boring. That's how easy it was. Coach K laughs and is ready to spend his fortune to buy the entire hospital if it took for Yu to join the gym. Both of them depart to go to the hospital. It's pretty funny that Coach K is low-key happy Ryu got his ass beaten blue. He doesn't care about the arrogant fighter's life anymore. Yu is concerned with the state of Jay, remembering the fire in his heart. After clearing both their bills, Yu takes Coach K to his apartment. It's a dreadfully empty place, screaming that this guy doesn't have any social life. He asks the boy's name at last. It invokes memories of his mother's tragic passing. The only thing the boy remembers is his family name. Yu introduces himself briefly. Coach K explains that he will make the introvert enter a world completely different than the one he knows. Destinies cross for these two individuals, and in a similar way, arrogant rejects get tossed aside like trash. That is the irony. Ryu can't even look at Jay straight in the face. He bears the look of defeat, while Jay stands tall, optimistic, and courageous in his resolve. The time has come. Yu has nothing to pack except a small bag and his trusty little cat. Coach K decides to give our boy a makeover. He makes him look fresh as fuck by setting his hair. They arrive at the airport. Coach K meets his assistant. Carmen is the manager of their gym and welcomes them to the car. Yu hasn't even begun his boxing career and already acquired an amazing house thanks to Coach K. They head out for their first training session immediately. The Lions Boxing Club is known for producing the finest cut of boxers that made history. They boast the best curriculum that is up to date with scientific methods. While they're helping Yu tour the gym, the rest of the boxers are shocked. The boy looks tiny and weak in their eyes. Carmen explains that only a handful of boxers ever get to be trained by K's supervision. She tells him to take pride in being selected, but our boy is so chill that he just doesn't care. Carmen gets a little pissy with his attitude. Yu is introduced to Arnold, but his attention is fixated on the portraits of world champions. Aaron Tide is his best and most masterful piece of them all. The coach wants him to experience the thrill of watching a fight up close, so he tells Carmen to book them a few seats to a title match. Coach K wants to allow Yu the chance to learn about monsters just like him. In the cheering crowd, there was a ring made for two fighters. The reigning world champion obliterates his opponent one blow after the other. Each of his strikes delivered heavy shocks to his opponent until an inevitable knockout punch finished the battle. Aaron has emerged as the victor and maintains his title as the heavyweight world champion. Coach K advises Yu to listen to the cheers of the crowd, as he will also become someone of Aaron's caliber. With his assistance, the lonely introvert will soon sit at the top of the world with his own title. And that is when K's desire will be realized. He is excited for Yu. The boy vividly remembers the radiant figure entering his life. He woke up in his new room, still as empty as ever. At the Lions Boxing Club, a certain fighter piqued K's curiosity. Orangehead wants to be trained directly under the coach, but his claim is so ridiculous that K thinks that he'll never even touch Yu. And if he does, he promises to make him world champion. The talks of Josh's fight against Yu spread across the gym. Josh isn't an easy opponent. He's been training day in and out to get to his level. But despite winning last year's youth event and defeating many boxers in this professional gym, Coach K seems to think nothing of him. K reminds him that people like him can be found anywhere in the world. Basically, bro got called average. K thinks that he doesn't like people whose limits are obvious. Josh takes his provocation as a challenge and claims to crush Yu so that he can make him eat his words. In the ring, Josh is dead serious, like this is the fight of his life. But when he turns to his opponent, he can't even wrap his hands. Josh is further infuriated as he's facing a newbie who knows nothing about the world of boxing. The people around them are pumped for this fight. Yu's looking like Skindiana Bones and Stickman 48 because he's never trained a day in his life. While some are underestimating Yu, others are thinking he's capable because of K's selection. With all of the necessary preparations made, K asks if Yu is perhaps nervous. Mr. Introvert finds the whole thing boring. Gigachad Sensei gives him another boxing lesson, a crucial one that he wants him to remember. Never get hit in a fight. With that advice, he departs from the ring, leaving the fighters to face each other. K is probably creaming his pants because he wants to see his prodigy's powers. The bell rings and Josh is already on a massive offensive strike, but it feels like nothing to his opponent who slips the punches like he had seen them coming from a mile away. Josh's consecutive advance, no matter how sharp or strong, isn't enough to even touch Yu's face. Just watching this fight is making K want to send into a real battle so that he can destroy everyone. Carmen and the others learned that K prioritized speed instead of strength in his selection. The boy doesn't even flinch while avoiding those attacks. They feel so slow in his eyes that after dozens and dozens of jabs, Josh is the one who is running out of juice. He can't believe that he couldn't even touch the skinny punk in front of him. Coach K's harsh words send this poor boy into the trauma lane, and he now knows that he wasn't just provoking him. To Orangehead, it feels as if he's going up against an indestructible wall. However, Josh isn't so easy to bite the dust. He wants to shake things up a little. His new strategy is to confuse Yu with a bunch of feints mixed in with his attacks. Swerving elegantly against all his attacks, Yu still hasn't flinched while Josh is on the edge. A flashback into his training career is how we learn that Josh thought he was the hardest worker in the entire gym. He trained every day for hours for many years, looking up to the greats and hoping that one day he would become like them. But now only anger remains in his heart. Kei thinks it's unfair that while many people are good boxers as a result of their training, they still have their limits. And at this point, Josh was beginning to realize his own. Against an opponent with divine talent, those hours of hard work would prove to be useless. Kei thinks that boxers like him shouldn't also be discouraged as they got to this level by their own efforts. The first round concludes as the referee separates both fighters. Josh is left with an exhaustive face, while Kei coaches Mr. Can't Touch Me to strike a person right on their chin for a finishing knockout. Yu has only learned 2 lessons, striking and dodging. This is because Kei thinks that geniuses like him are born with the natural ability to create a personal style that optimizes movements. He doesn't want Yu to learn generic techniques and prefers that he prioritize goals. Kei is confident that he has never seen talent like him. Dude is glazing him so hard, going as far as to admit that he's the incarnation of boxing itself. Anyway, round 2 is about to begin, and things are not looking good for Orangehead. Orangehead admits that his opponent has excellent reflexes, but at the same time, he's certain that even people like Yu must have problems with endurance as that only comes with training. His goal is to exhaust him with slower attacks and maintain the pressure. Josh is confident in his strategy, but the second the round begins, my boy gets destroyed with a single strike, losing his consciousness. When he wakes up, Josh notes that everyone has left. The realization hits him. He was knocked the hell out, until Yu offers him a chance for another round. Josh thinks it's pointless because he's completely on another level, but something about him reminds Yu of Jay's spirit and determination. As he's leaving, Josh questions if he could have defeated the other talented guy that Kei picked while selecting his candidates. Yu thinks for a moment, and instead of seeing bitchface Ryu, he sees the undying persistence of Jay, who would have gotten up to fight him again. That's why Yu thinks of him as stronger, leaving Josh to sulk on his own. 2 years have passed since that fight. A blonde guy who looks like Escanor from an alternate universe is trying to dig up information about Kei's new boxers. It's been difficult learning much about Yu, but one thing is clear, he's going hard in endurance training only. Yu jogs until he's completely exhausted, then he returns home for a shower. The skinny boy is now a shredded behemoth thanks to his training. At the gym, John Taker, a lightweight with a record of 9 wins and 7 losses, is supposed to be his opponent. This psychopath-looking fuckface is known for crushing rookies and stealing their debut spotlight. He loves cornering boxers because he's a rat. Carmen thinks that it won't be much of a problem for their star, but there are problems. Carmen especially believes that Yu's only been training by watching title matches and running. Coach K is in a crutch thinking about it. John Taker, the bald dude wearing Sukuna's tattoos, is just straight up crushing the punching bag. John loves playing with hooks and then grabs his opponents for a finisher killing move. It's called the headlock hook and has earned a notorious name in the boxing community. John's handler introduces him to Peter Kent, a reporter. This cartoon-looking motherfucker is baffled that he's getting interviewed. He knows the media is looking for a fitting headline. They want John to annihilate Kei's secret boxer. Escanor over here seems well-versed about the game and wants to spice things up. John admits that the gifted and the talented are just trash. They're pumped up so much and he enjoys the pleasure of crushing their spirits. It gets this creepy fuck excited. The worst part is, he thinks he's doing a good job of reminding the talented folks that they're dumb as hell. All he has to do is knock his opponents out no matter how foul he plays. The reporter gets called a pussy because John hates wimps who play by the rules. The element of surprise comes when John forgets the rules and shocks the newbies. He utters his rogue philosophy, reminding Peter of the middleweight world champion Fabrizio Santorino. Baldnut admires the Santorino brothers and considers them the greatest fighters around. John leaves a message for Kei and his newest obsession, stating that he will destroy Kei's talent. After the interview, John is seriously wondering if he is going to win against Yu. How ironic, isn't it? All that trash talk and his handler has to be the one to tell him to be confident. On the flip side, Yu is getting all the media attention for being an outboxer who relies on his footwork and chips points from his opponents. Carmen handles them like a boss lady and slams the doors shut. John wonders what's causing so much fuss on the other side. He's looking to destroy the rookie even more. It's finally time for him to embrace the spotlight. John's crazy haters are dissing this guy left and right. The commentators are excited for today's lightweight competition. Everyone is curious to see Yu's talent as Kei's final protege. Meanwhile, John is happy that he gets to crush Kei's talent and bring them a look of disappointment. The average height 5'9" fighter emerges with his team. Coach K helps him get up. The dude looks like the definition of drip as he basks in the spotlight before him. Peter is all the more curious about Yu, as he's only been focused on endurance training. John is fed this information so that he can get a few hits in close combat. Coach K has already instructed Yu on how to fight. He's going to stick to their plan. The commentators are riling up the fight, expecting stellar accomplishments from Yu. Even John has to admit that our boy's got that icy steel composure in him. He's ready to bring him a world of pain after the match begins. With all eyes set on two fighters, the battle finally begins. Being the dirty little rat he is, John's first gesture is to give him a respectful tap to sneak a punch, but he shudders in actual fear when he sees Yu just staring down at him. It was as if John had been placed in front of a gun, ready to shoot him down against any of his tricks. John's composure is shaken like hell. Then something crazy happens. Yu delivers a clean punch right across his cheek, grazing him while shocking everyone. The scene cuts back to K's comment before the fight. It seems that K was always confident in Yu's ability and was thinking of ways to shock the crowd. John's eyes are as wide as the earth. The dude is shaken, but Yu's not letting him go easily. He's mowing him down with a river of punches, aimed precisely to miss around the edge. Coach K wants this opportunity to be a learning experience for the world. John opens his eyes, his face fully covered in blood. It's so bad that a physician has come up to inspect John's injuries. The man who had worked for 21 years as a physician couldn't fathom coming across such a mystery. The doctor explains that usually these wounds would have caused ruptures across his face, but the cuts are too sharp instead of being blunt. The physician is stoked when he sees Yu's boxing gloves, as he made precise cuts with only his punches. The state of terror and fear enters John's mind. The feeling of fear takes over. The stunned physician reports that there is no major injury, so Johnny Boy can continue the game. But Johnny Boy is in a daze. He refuses to become a coward and wants to continue the fight, which makes the referee cautious. Egghead can't fathom what's so monstrous and different about this newbie kid. To him, boxing was about technique and execution of a skill. However, he couldn't feel any kind of restraint from his opponent. Yu seemed like a deadly fighter, a monster who destroyed people without even feeling anything. John knows he's facing the devil himself. This time, he's the one who makes his advance, but the guy can't even get close without getting his face bashed. John genuinely cannot understand how he's capable of reading him like a book. Yu's got him on the ropes to the point this man is questioning if he's dreaming. Our cold protagonist swoops in for another bloody uppercut. The fight resembles more of a gruesome street brawl than a professional boxing match. John is getting his shit rocked, blood spewing everywhere, leaving the audience appalled. Everyone knows who the winner of this battle would have been. Even Egghead's coach admits that Yu is merely playing around with his opponent. Poor John can't block a punch without feeling the weight pushing through him. The guy keeps getting smashed more and more. The fear of death succumbs to him. This feeling of indomitable violence stirs the crowd. From mortified expressions comes the feeling of joy. They're excited for the monster Coach K has helped create. The silenced crowd roars in enjoyment, the kind of cheer that K wanted. John is convinced that Yu could straight up body a dude without even feeling anything. He goes for a dirty tactic to crush Yu's foot, but the cheater gets shit on with Yu outplays him, seeing through each and every one of his attacks. The crowd calls him a lousy cheap shot who failed to win despite being a cockroach. Yu throws his razor-sharp jabs, but something is different now. John's coach thinks that Yu is starting to expose his weak points after coming in John's reach. He's confident in John's ability to deploy his headlock attack and defeat him. However, the weight of the world crushed him. His face bloodied, his boxing style humiliated. The voices of the crowds filled his head with madness, freezing him on the stage. Before his career-defining moments, John was an amateur fighter who was constantly discarded. John's coach thought his hooks were his strongest points. His coach told him about his next opponent, but Isis Dresner was someone who dominated and won even the Olympic gold medal. The dude turned to professional boxing. John accepted that he was getting destroyed in his fight against Dresner's debut boxing match. The coach felt sorry for him, but John's passion for boxing ignited him to try even harder. He was glad to be given such a chance, and later on got destroyed just like everyone predicted. Dresner kept hammering him even in close range. John suffered the brunt of his punches as the man landed ferocious blows all over his body. John went for a wide swing, only to get hooked to his side. Dresner proceeded to destroy him through and through, but that's exactly what gave John the moment to shine. He believed in the ways of a harsh world and had a rough childhood growing up in the alley. When John was trained in the art of boxing, he could finally rejoice in his passion. In his fight against Dresner, John went for a cheap tactic and delivered a thunderous hook across Dresner's face, knocking him out in a single attack. No one thought that he would knock him out. Dresner got up again, but something about the fifth changed. Something about the foul nature of his boxing style changed John forever. It didn't take long for John to steal the victory. John was recognized as a fighter with potential, allowing him the chance to fight again. Even though John wasn't a totally malicious piece of shit at the beginning, this was his only way to make a name for himself. Returning to the current fight, Egghead is being egged on by the entire world. They're laughing at him while John's coach stares at his pitiful condition. Even though John spoke in front of the interviewer that he admired Fabrizio, the coach knows that deep down, He's just a boxer who suffers from the inside after each match. He never wanted to be this way, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a scummy boxer. Egghead's coach is the only person believing in him because he's seen his real self. Despite getting shit on by everyone, the coach recognizes John's talent and becomes a voice of reason for him to fight. Hearing those words, John goes on the attack with a powerful swing. He thinks that people like you would never ever feel afraid about being left out. John attempts the same scummy tactic and actually manages to connect a powerful smash. Everyone is stunned to pieces except Coach K. What really connected were their punches. John put everything in his strike and ended up shattering his fingers. You saw this as the opportunity to deliver a decisive slam, the kind of ending that K was hoping for. After the bloodbath, John crumbles as he is knocked out. The crowd continues to dog him even after his defeat. John's coach begs him to stand back up. He feels guilty for being unable to guide his protege. Unfortunately, the man did not boast the ability to keep encouraging John. Seeing his pathetic face makes John maintain his stand. He's still in the game. He's still ready to fight the monster in front of him. John is prepared to win. He wanted to become a boxer like his inspiration. But then his resolve crumbles as he realizes his mistakes. The match concludes in Yu's victory. The conclusion of the match yields Yu as the ruthless devil who has made his debut into the boxing world. The cheers of the crowd are at an all-time high. The reporter Peter is utterly stunned how John's scummy headlock technique was demolished by a counterhook. Even then, it was John who took damage instead of Yu. It's clear as day that Yu possesses capabilities that test the limits of human growth. Coach K has finally found the one he was looking for. 6. A monster who toys with his opponents. Peter thinks that the strongest boxers around must be excited. Josh was one of the people who was watching this fight go down, but instead of excitement, he accepted his fate. He realizes that he could never become the world champion and went down a path of becoming a bartender. Josh's spirit has been fully crushed all because of Yu's existence. Back at the boxing club, Steele is doing reps with Jay, who is filled with amazement after Yu's phenomenal win. He always had faith in his powers. Egghead number 2 wants him to calm down, because he's never reaching Yu's level. Even then, Jay hopes to impress him someday and ramps up his training speed even more. His sheer belief in his strength makes the both of them train hard as hell. While this has inspired Jay, there are others who are plotting Yu's demise. Bitch-face Bakugo is now a gentleman, but he still gets mad and pissed every time he sees Yu's face. Remembering those eyes filled with boredom is enough to make him jealous. The scene switches to a conversation involving Gene, the current lightweight world champion. Even as strong as he is, Gene has been filled with a sense of admiration by Yu's fight. And then there is this one fatty who is a glutton. Bro is Gorlock the Destroyer and thinks of our boy as someone average. This fat ass thinks he's going to be the rookie of the year in the lightweight division, but I think he's forgetting the word light in his weight class. The reporter guesses that the fans will be most excited about fights happening in the lightweight division because of Yu. After all, K has brought a monster that has incredible crowd potential, as well as the skills of a killer. Interestingly enough, there is one fighter who exceeded Yu's celebrity status. Qasim, the grandson of the head of the global conglomerate called the Jihad Group, is someone who created a shock in the world of boxing. But it wasn't the presence of a rich boy that shocked people, but rather his lethal fighting capabilities. The stage is set. It will be Yu against Qasim, a match that would hook everyone to the edge of their seats. The person who wins that fight will have a chance to fight against the 10-year lightweight champion, Gene. Qasim busts the door open, looking like a fat grizzly bear who's ready for his next challenge. He meets his director, who is pissed as hell he went missing only to return as a fat fuck. Qasim doesn't care about insults and feels the fire in him aching for a fight. He's out here giving 10 grand to anyone who fights him. Qasim's coach remembers the first time this guy showed up at his gym. It was crazy, but this guy was serious and wanted to snag the title of world champion right off the bat. In all honesty, he was just an arrogant dude at the beginning. The coach thought that showing him a display of what boxing truly looks like would be enough to send him crying. But things ended up horribly as Qasim devoured his opponent. This rookie annihilated every single boxer in the gym with his talent. Yes, the same ugly fuckface who looks like he ate a few boxers. The director is actually shocked that he's maintaining the same style. Qasim humiliates his opponents like it's nothing but child's play to him. Even though he's a member of their gym, the director hates his fighting style. Qasim ducks a blow and delivers a decisive uppercut like he's some kind of Street Fighter character. He's out here swinging with moves of his own, leaving his guard completely open. The coach shouts at him for entering foul territory with his shameful attacks. Qasim has the gall to suggest buying the whole gym so that he can change the rules. Even though the director hates this dude's guts, he can't deny that the Redditor Discord mod physique is working out in his favor. He has a talent beyond the likes of others. Qasim has just defeated 20 men and proven that he isn't just talking shit. He's a gifted boxer who could snatch the title belt. 2 weeks worth of training later, Qasim has defeated 1,000 opponents and now boasts the body of a shredded Giga Chad. Despite being obese literally 2 weeks ago, now he has abs of steel and an endurance that just doesn't know when to stop. Kasim is like an animal who eats and sleeps whenever he wants. He's the kind of person that challenges the idea of human limitations, so much so that his coach can't see anyone winning against him. Leaving a pile of bodies defeated in the gym, Kasim is being built up as the perfect challenge to defeat the lightweight champion. James is a fighter who can't even afford a proper meal for his son. As a father, he didn't have much money and only fed his child potato soup. But the boy never complained. After all, his father had so many expenses in his mind to think about, just like us in this damned inflation. He wanted to get a win bonus from his next match to ensure they get a delicious meal. The day before the match, Kasim was nowhere to be found. This is because he kicks his way inside Yu's gym, demanding him to be revealed. No one in the gym had seen Kasim before. Even Coach K is surprised to see Tomato Hair show up in this place. K goes all freaky and holds his legs, inspecting his body. K concludes that this man is a perfect blend of strong and crazy. He's nothing like Aaron, but this guy is packing a punch. Coach K is looking forward to Yu absolutely demolishing this freak show. Redhead says he wants to visit Yu before their inevitable match. K tells him that he's busy doing his endurance training and implores the guy to chase after him. The scene cuts to Yu, who is busy doing his training when he is suddenly attacked by Kasim. Yu retaliates with a strike, but impressively, Kasim blocks his punch. The Looney Tunes-looking loser introduces himself as the man who will destroy Yu and stand atop of the lightweight division. But Yu's lack of a care for his existence agitates him. Before leaving, Tomato Hair reminds Yu that he'll never be able to defeat him in the ring. Saying those words, he runs off like a clown, leaving even Yu to wonder just what the F happened. In the ring, Kasim is a beast who is demolishing his opponent. He confuses his opponent by initially going for an uppercut, but then knocking him with heavy blows. Every punch shakes this man's entire being all the way until he's completely on his knees. Coach K observed his fight with the rest of his staff. He finds him an entertaining and unorthodox fighter. There's a reason boxers never fight like Kasim, as he uses inefficient and awkward moves. However, it is his monstrous physical ability that allows him to use such stunts and easily get away with them. His athletic ability is the reason he's at the top of his game. James, who is Kasim's opponent, made a fatal mistake of his life by getting back up. The crazy fighter has more in store for him. James is not getting a good feeling, but he's prepared to launch a counterpunch that would hopefully dismantle Kasim's forward strike. Boxing technique versus insane movement. The conclusion is moments away. Kasim lunges forth like a torpedo and dodges James' one and only chance of victory. A flash of red appears before his eyes as James is sent down on his knees before crumbling to the floor. Kasim enjoys the praise of the crowd, thinking the fight is over. But no, James is not done. He's got more fight in him. After all, he's made a promise to his child. He tries to advise Kasim to maintain the integrity of the sport. Unfortunately, it spells the end for James, while his animalistic opponent remains unaffected by the loser's words. Then comes our boy's fight. All he has to do is take one forward advance and victory is his. The same goes for Kasim, who toyed with his opponents and won. He thought of himself as indestructible. Both of them are people who are shredding their competition to pieces. They grow closer and closer to obtain the world championship title. Yu prioritizes sharp and mechanical movements, while Kasim enjoys dominating his opponents with unorthodox moves. Kasim has the mentality of a 10-year-old boy who keeps reminding the world that he's going to be at the top soon. Bro takes his trash talk to the public and calls out Yu, stating that he will crush him like everyone else. Kasim's victories are a movement to create an era of unorthodox boxing. The reporter is impressed that Kasim is the first one to make a move. Hearing this message, Kay laughs as hard as he possibly can. He's so glad that he gets to be the one who shakes Kasim's resolve. The crowd is roaring and cheering for him as they've become fans of Kasim's unique style. His very existence divided the world of boxing fans. There were those who accepted the unorthodox style, and then there were people who mocked him for acting like a damn clown instead of using traditional arts. Kasim's popularity soars in the news where many have discussed what the future holds for him. He doesn't care for anyone's opinion and only does what he wants. Kasim has reduced his number of haters by growing his fans. I have to say his director is really glazing him right now with this "he was born to be king" bullshit. Going back to our boy Yu, he's just chilling with clean punches when Kay comes to tell him about Kasim's open challenge. Kay emphasizes that this dude isn't like the rest of the scrubs Yu has been destroying lately. Eventually, the exciting day of their match was here. The big match between two legendary underdogs. Kasim and Yu were going to set the pace for the titleship match against the world champion Jean, who has come to watch this fight in person. The director thinks that Kasim's rise to fame is literally around the corner waiting for him. This dude, being the psycho he is, doesn't really care about obtaining the belt. He's so crazy that he wants to obtain a world championship title in every division. His ambitions are noted by Jean's icy demeanor. On the other side of the ring is Yu, who has received Kay's instructions. The fighters stare each other down. Kasim has his fierceness, while Yu is a calculated genius. The burning question of who will conquer the other is ready to be answered. The fight finally begins with Kasim enjoying the feel of the ring, eyeing his prey down. Yu tracks his opponent's moves, while Kasim does the unthinkable by hiding his fists behind his back. He is prompting Yu to come and strike him. Redhead wants to prove the idiocy of boxers who throw linear strikes with no creativity. Then, without him even noticing, Kasim suffers a destructive punch that blows off the left side of his face. Coach K is the same. It's not like he ever thought Kasim would prove to be a challenge for Yu. In fact, K just gave our boy permission to go all out in this fight as much as he likes. That first punch was nothing. Yu happily wipes the smile off his face with another strike, knocking Redhead's hair. K notes that only people like Yu can dodge a punch of such level. But then there are people like Kasim, who could also dodge it. Kasim's face is getting destroyed, and Coach K thinks that while his muscles are taking most of the damage for him, he's nothing more than a bag who keeps on taking the most serious of Yu's punches. Our boy coldly reminds this fucker who's the real monster in the ring. His attacks have already generated a large uproar from the crowd. They've wanted to see Kasim go on the back foot for a long time. Even his coach has to admit that Yu was barely showing off his powers in his fights so that he could crush opponents like Kazum later on. My guy's confidence is demolished as he's huffing and puffing. Bro is questioning his life's choices forever, even attempting to step inside a ring with Yu. Not to mention the overwhelming amount of people cheering for this little tomato's demise. While he's experiencing literal hell in the ring, it's nothing more than entertainment to the crowds. Out of fear and shock, the predator becomes the prey and tries to flee. He shudders and backs up in the corner like a little helpless child. Coach K laughs at his pathetic little trance, while Kasim's director shouts at him for being a damned idiot. He advises Kasim to put his guard down, but it's like giving advice to someone who's never practiced boxing seriously. Bro's face gets nuked off the ring even after trying to protect himself. That's when the director realizes one crucial mistake. He never taught Kasim the art of boxing, as he had always catered to his own style. Kasim is in a desperate and hopeless dilemma, flailing his arms to use confusion. Our boy rocks his world with another punch, infuriating Kasim's coach. The incompetent coach was so deluded by Kasim's rise to the top that he never focused on giving him bare minimum training. He contemplates giving up, but then the idea of Kasim fighting like hell with all he's got pushes the coach to encourage him. He wants Kasim to endure just one round. However, that won't ever happen, because this scaredy cat is already trying to run off the ring like a pathetic fighter. Even the referee is stunned because he's never seen anything like this. The coach gets up in his face and gives Kasim a scolding. He erupts in front of his coach, stating that he's crazy, but not that crazy to fight a monster like Yu. Bro's fighting career ended before it even began. The coach is pissed because all this time, Kasim treated this elite sport like a game. He gets bitch slapped across his ugly ass face and admits that Yu could be the strongest of everyone in the entire world, but it doesn't matter. It's foolish logic to assume he would only go up against weak opponents. Not gonna lie, the coach earned my respect with this speech as he is encouraging this naive crybaby to wear the spirit of a true boxer. Then, Kasim remembers his own memorable words, which come to haunt him with thousands of eyes staring him down. He thought he could win the championship title if he could have some fun. The haunting words of James terrify and cling to his soul. Kasim is humiliated with his ego demolished. He runs off crying like a little child, making the coach regret letting this phenomenal failure ever step into the ring. The conclusion of this battle ends with an easy victory for Yu. The match was so unbelievable that K couldn't help but laugh it off the top of his lungs. Soon after Kasim's disappearance, he never entered the world of boxing again. And for the much-awaited sweet moment between James and his kid, it's revealed he got a happy ending bringing his son some good KFC. Yu faces his worst nightmare, Cat King. Cat King and our boy spar like Goku and Vegeta, banging out shots while dodging each other's attacks. Coach K is maniacally laughing like he always does while Yu gets bitch slapped in the face and finally wakes up from his dream. The tiny Cat King has woken up our boy. After his victory over the piss baby Kasim, K decided to give Yu a proper break since this man hasn't had any for a while. Even though it's unnecessary, K thinks it's better for our boy to rest since all he's been doing is smoking bitches left and right. So, in order to spend his time, Yu looks at the television. But in a crisis, nothing is able to entertain him. Remembering his best buddy Jay's words, Yu thinks it's time to start his gaming era. So he does what he knows best. He goes to the gaming arcade and absolutely demolishes a veteran in air hockey. The guy is so stunned that he's facing an opponent who is cooking his ass. My dude thinks he's found the chosen one to become the genius of the air hockey revolution. It's so funny because Yu is unbothered and still bored. The man extends him an offer of a lifetime, stating that he has the potential to become an air hockey world champion. But the poor guy gets turned down since this time, Yu doesn't have any bills to pay and won't get bribed by someone like what happened last time. Yu leaves Indiana Jackson crying and goes on to enjoy his next gaming endeavor. This dude is fucking unstoppable in every game because of his reflexes. Even in fighting games, Yu is just destroying his opponents. The guy has spent his entire evening playing games, but he's yet to be excited by any one of them. This man is suffering from success. Yu decides to sit in a park while enjoying a family spend time together. He glances to his left and spots a boy. dazzled as if he's spotted a famous person. The boy claims to have seen the underdog boxer's fights. He wants to snatch the opportunity of a lifetime by asking for his autograph. Unfortunately, Yu doesn't even know how to sign and just writes his name in the most generic font ever. The little guy admires Yu's boxing strengths. Meanwhile, his idol is channeling "I hate kids" energy. The boy has firm belief that Yu will become the world champion and therefore become the strongest. He says that he wants to follow in Yu's footsteps to become strong. Interestingly, Yu doesn't have an optimistic opinion of strong people. He thinks they're useless because a Glock a day keeps all your problems at bay. Yu believes that almost every strong person will die, even if they took on unrealistic challenges. Bro is out here dishing lifetime trauma to this kid, even telling him that his parents will die. Yu summarizes that he doesn't see the glamour in becoming a strong person. He's confused because the boy seems to be affected and runs off whining. Returning home, the shadow of a broken, miserable past version of Yu follows him, as if to imply that he's haunted by his life. Our boy comes back to Cat King, also known as the best boxer, and hopes that his little one lives a long life despite the coming of death. He sleeps by his best friend, like he always has. Jean has finished meditating as he prepares for his final match. Sitting across a table with his partner, Jean refuses to eat food, causing upset to his chick. Something is bothering him greatly, the shadow of the cold boxer Yu. The scene shifts to Carmen, who's just done some of her work and sees Yu hard at work. When people are resting, our boy is out here grinding. Carmen is of the opinion that he should take some time off, but this guy is too committed to his training regimen. She thinks it should be normal for a boxer, but also believes that he might secretly be a robot. Yu's face hasn't changed even the slightest in these past 2 years, not to mention that he refuses to get close with any person. His only focus is to practice based on the instructions of his coach. Carmen wonders if Yu's passion even lies in boxing, or if this strange idiot likes anything apart from his cat. Jean is summed up to become a gargantuan challenge for him. She thinks that they're similar in a way, but Yu is still uncaring. He doesn't even care if he won the championship title or feeling proud of himself for it. The perspective returns to Jean, who has been concentrating on his meditation cycles more often than usual. Even his coach knows that Jean's mind is preoccupied by his inevitable opponent. Jean reports that he's feeling well for his match, but even that might prove to cut short when facing his opponent. He's furious and wants to perform above the level of excellence. Coach K shares a strategy meeting with Yu to observe Jean's game, the title match between Till Schneider and the world champion of the lightweight division. Kay explains that there are 5 monsters in the realm of boxing: junior welterweight Yuto Takeda, middleweight champion Fabrizio Santorino, cruiserweight champion Viktor Grigorievich, heavyweight Aaron Tide, and finally the man himself, lightweight champion Jean-Pierre Manuel. This guy won all of his fights, most of them by decisive knockouts. He's an incredible fighter who has yet to be defeated. Jean boasts a unique advantage when it comes to boxing techniques. This is noted in the stretching of his punches, hovering close to the opponent's eyes. Jean uses this stance to block his opponent's field of vision. He has to do very little in taking down his opponent because of his incredible reach. It's a fact that his reach is even greater than Yu. The coach even acknowledges that Jean's reach isn't the only thing, as the thunderous speed of his jabs leaves people dazed. He can go in and out at incredible speeds, destroying every boxer that comes his way. The coach even claims that Jean's jabs are comparable to straights. He possesses the perfect rapier, piercing his opponent from top to bottom and stripping them of their defenses. His attacks are brutal, but his opponent isn't an easy slouch. He manages to dodge Jean's reach and aims to strike him in the face. The world champion seems to be wide open here, but that's not all. The man meticulously slips his shoulder to block the punch and delivers a devastating hook to his side. Then, Jean keeps up with the beating using his jabs. Coach K summarizes that he transferred an attack to his body to force a trade so powerful that it reversed the playing field. This means Jean's decision-making skills are off the charts. Only Jean and Yu are comparable to ever even performing such a feat. But the thing is, Jean has another weapon in his arsenal that our boy lacks. Jean switches his stance and destroys his opponents, attacking them while they're still predicting his next move. Just when his opponent gains his momentum, Jean goes back to his previous stance for the repeated beating. He has a unique advantage in being ambidextrous and mixing 2 sets of stances. This makes it impossible for his opponent to predict his next move. K states that he's playing the long game, installing hopelessness in his opponent before raining down a barrage of hellish punches. The winner is Jean, who made no mistakes as if he was the perfect chess player. K drills the point to Yu, reminding him of the various aspects he would have to go up against just to overcome Jean. The reporter asks for his opinion after his grand victory. The world champion even admits his own flaws in some of his moves. He doubles down by saying that if Yu was his opponent here, Jean would have been defeated. The world champion is not a coward and wants to fight Yu, a challenge Coach K is most excited about. This is the kind of fighter that even gets him excited, because he's constantly improving his skills. Coach K is actually curious as to how much Jean will adapt before fighting Yu. This is the one match that will even give our boy a run for his money. During Yu's match against Kasim, the world champion meticulously noted the movement of each muscle flexion. As our boy dished out cold jabs with perfect body movement, Jean was struck with awe. The only opinion he had of the underdog's skills was just how beautiful he performed. Jean's mental state is getting more preoccupied, to the point he's spilling his coffee mindlessly. His partner questions what's bothering him so much, even offended that he's always caring about the sport. She hates the fact that the world champ doesn't give her any attention. Jean is not a simp, and straight up calls the bitch annoying. Jean's coach gives an interview regarding the world champion's fighting skills. He describes him beautifully as an artist who spent his life perfecting each technique. It's as if he's a painter chasing the mastery of his art. Jean is meditating during Peter's coverage. He interviewed another punk in the same gym, who boasted that Jean is another level of crazy. His first step of training is to meditate before going in the ring. Bro is fighting demons in his head for an hour before entering the ring. The punk notes that Jean is an eccentric who does the weirdest shit ever. He stands still and then changes his position after a while. Then another long while passes and he's adjusted his position. The punk finally realized what the world champ was doing. Jean was training to throw a simple jab, precisely cutting each motion in a delicate manner. Long story short, he's insane, which is why he gets insane results. Peter doesn't believe this bullshit because this level of training strikes odd to him. The coach argues that Jean never relaxes in his meditation and instead sharpens every sense. This level of concentration makes the world around him go silent. Peter's at a loss since he can't bother the world champ during his meditation. He tries to meditate alongside him. The coach gives him instructions. Sitting across the legendary lightweight fighter, Peter is shook by his immense aura. He enters a state of calm and divulges in the present moment. The world goes quiet, and slowly, the only thing that can be heard is the sound of his own heart. The greater the concentration, the sharper the sensation. The coach then explains that someone like Peter could only feel his heartbeat, but a monster like Jean is a completely different story. He feels every fiber of his being, down to his blood cells and tissues. His whole body works in tandem. This is Jean's desire. He wants to reach the pinnacle of mastering a technique. After his tense meditation practice, Jean learns that Peter left. He confirms that Yu has been bothering him. He's smart enough to even acknowledge all his perfect techniques are pointless against someone whose world moves at a slower pace. Jean yearns for intense focus beyond the norm in order to defeat this impossible opponent. Jean's poor training partners are regretting their lives because they have to get their asses beat so this dude can hone perfection. He takes on all three at once and commands them to attack. Poor guys rush to attack him head on, but in a moment of flash, everything happens all at once. Jean still thinks he lacks the focus necessary to trump the monster in the ring. In an interview about the meaning of boxing, Jean claimed that he thinks it's the pursuit of art. He wants each and every one of his movements to be perfect, such is the standard he holds for himself. Jean thinks that the world championship title is proof of one's perfection in boxing. He desires nothing else. When Yu launched his first jab, the debut of his boxing career, not everyone understood the beauty of the attack as much as the master himself, Jean. On a rainy day, police officers are investigating a bunch of street thugs in the hood. There have been rumors of a dude showing up and beating them black and blue. You have your guesses correct? It's your boy Jean, who's out here looking to slam people in the hood if it gets him more training time. What's suspicious is that Jean has been carefully extracting their blood. Back at home, this creepy fuck is implied to be painting with the blood of his victims, and yet even then he can't find perfection. The following day, Jean's rapid and aggressive shadowboxing movements come as a shock to even his instructor. He doesn't know what happened, and what leads to such imprecise movements from a calm man. Jean is imagining actively fighting Yu's shadow, a monster that manages to outclass him every time. The coach is stunned by Jean's improvement rate even though it shouldn't make sense. He's worried what measures Jean had to take to achieve this level of strength. Concluding their training session, the world champion is about to leave when his coach confronts him about his recent exhausted state. After a pause, he mutters with a maniacal smile that he's been feeling top tier instead. Jean's coach advises the freak show to cut some corners with himself. But this is the world champion who has a kink for boxing, so of course he's just going to show up in the hood again, just to pull off a 5 versus 1. Jean takes notice of each weapon armed around him. Bro thinks they're trash for using weapons. The leader reaches for his weapon, but our boy's bicep guns are faster and knock him out. He expertly follows through with an attack on his second opponent and feels pride in his movement. Jean navigates to his third victim, calmly calculating each of his strikes as he follows through. After meticulously evading a knife, he launches a full swing to bash the dude's head to next Tuesday. The last person is panicking because she's just seen a massacre before her eyes. Jean cares about gender equality and makes sure she gets equal beating. But then something happens. He's facing a life and death situation, as the leader has a gun aimed right at him. The fear of death stuns John before he focuses every fiber of his being to slip past a punch so powerful that is similar to Yu's explosive attacks. At the end of the fight, Jean concludes that he has finally reached the same perfection as Yu. That night, he's as happy as a little boy while painting the illustration of the monster, a representation of how he sees Yu's terrifying boxing skills. The next day, his coach shivers as he sees Jean's unusual state. The world champion is experiencing a mania. Something about him changed the previous night. The coach wonders if it's finally happened. Visualizing Yu's perfect strikes, Jean delivers a barrage of his punches, seeking to overcome the innate human imperfection. At long last, he has overcome what needed to be overcome. The world champion has acquired perfection. Stella is worried about his state and cries in the same bar Josh is bartending. He tells the poor woman to buzz off since they're closing. But she whines like a little bitch, wondering if she is also annoying him. She blames her frustrations on the male population, while our boy Josh is questioning his existence. In the next scene, we see a segment of Yu's training. This dude has abs for days now as he pushes the limits of his endurance training. Carmen is shocked that Yu has increased the intensity of his training for the title match. Kay drills the point to his head that he needs to prepare for every outcome and pursue his own art. Strangely, Carmen thinks Yu will most certainly win because she trusts Kay's intuition about a person. The dude is basically a walking W machine, who only cares about winning and chooses the best fighters. While she can read his thoughts, Carmen doesn't know why Yu dabbled into boxing in the first place. When he's ready to leave after his training, Carmen asks him this curious question. After a brief pause, Yu confesses having seen a light of hope. Chad remembers Jay's undying spirit and wanted to pursue boxing because of it. Carmen doesn't understand his ambiguous words, while Yu states that even he is unsure of his answer. She ponders on his words for a moment, questioning if he'll ever be able to find something like that in the world of boxing. Funnily, she's also surprised he's softer than he acts. Every person who stepped into the boxing ring had strong reasons to fight, whether it be wealth, power, or self-interest. The two boxers that are destined to face each other are the best of the best in their category. In their interview, Jean's heart is racing as he's excited to fight Yu. Bonus points for our boy looking fresh as fuck in a suit. Later that day, Jean makes an unreasonable request to his coach. This man does not want the match to stop even if he dies. That's how much he cares about fighting Yu. The day of the match was here. The world champion had evolved into a higher being. He could feel the smallest of sensations, whether he brushed, changed his clothes, or even do something as little as walking. He had accessed a world of strength where everything felt connected. Jean smiles, realizing this is how Yu has spent his life. Jean, the unrivaled champion from a decade ago, is now facing the undefeated contender with the highest win rate. It's all or nothing. All eyes are set on this match. Kay emphasizes that Yu is going to achieve the world championship belt. Not just one, but every single one of them soon. Yu isn't really excited and stands like a bot. On the other side of the ring, Jean's coach tells him that he's surpassed his previous benchmarks. This is his best chance to prove his standards to himself. This is the fulfillment of Jean's ultimate goal. The fighters square up to face each other. The aching question of who will become the world champion will be answered soon. Even the fans, including me and all of you, are excited as hell for this fight. As soon as the fight begins, Yu faces difficulty dodging Jean's machine gun jabs. The champion is going full speed on the offensive, impressing even Coach K with his level of perfection achieved in a short time. Before their epic fight, the scene shifts to the manga creator's personal experience. Yes, you heard that right. The creator was a sports person obsessed with becoming a basketball player. In a pivotal moment, something happened. He jumped so high he could feel as if he'd touched the skies. He felt so free, a jump unlike any other. An experience of the perfect jump. Nothing like that could ever be created again. Every motion was in sync with one another until the inevitable leap came to be. After the jump, he tried to recreate the experience again and again, but unfortunately failed. There's one other story about a baseball batter. It is said that batters at their best could physically feel every molecule of the ball coming towards them. Their body would react in a perfect flow response. Like these moments, there are many others which happen the same way for many sportsmen. Now in this boxing fight, imagine that experience and dial it up to 100. Jean's perfect jabs cut past Yu, who was weaving his way through and through. Jean's machine-like responses analysis kept every movement of Yu's body in check. He could see what Yu was going to execute as his next move. In response to such an attack, the world champion released an audacious blow. The commentator is starstruck seeing Yu facing a difficult time penetrating Jean's indomitable reach. The reigning world champion is giving him a tough time. Coach K is impressed as before. He could only call him a genius. But now, Jean has upgraded himself to the level of a monster. A monster who reached the top by his hard work. Kay remarks that many soldiers spent agonizing experiences in war. He remembers his own time as a young soldier in the special forces. Every battle was a moment of tension and constant alarm for death. Kay is one of those few people who experienced mastery and perfection. He burst through the gunfire, feeling every fraction of a second as the bullet crossed him. Kay is a believer in the extremes of human potential. He knows that these monsters are both beings who have far surpassed what human limitations they had. Jean's best skill is arguably his full control of his body, feeling the smallest of his tissues relaxing and contracting with perfect timing. Such ability is the reason why world records maintain their status. Jin's ability to perfect the technique made him what he is as a champion. K had been eager, and he wants you to have a taste of what boxing truly is. It's a sport of comparing two individuals with their strengths. K is ecstatic and wants to uncover just how far Jin challenged the concept of human limitations for this fight. Yu swerves the jabs and narrows their range with every motion. He's close enough to maintain an offensive posture on Jean. The crowd is going wild as both fighters are doubling down on ultra instinct with their insane reflexes. Coach K is curious for Yu, questioning how he will overcome the world champion's reach. Yu remembers his conversation with him yesterday. K had instructed him to watch title matches of the world champions daily. Strangely, Yu thought the purpose was to imitate their moves, but K replied he should have felt another feeling. He advised him to remember their movements well but never initiate their imperfections. K's only advice for Yu is to focus on the match using his own body. So this monster enters a stance unlike any other, bewildering the spectators. Jin feels the weight of his opponent's sudden shift in posture. Even though Yu's face is right in the open, the world champion does not want to get smoked by our boy's punches. But that's exactly what happens. A roaring, powerful punch strikes Jin's face, shocking every person across the world. That single punch destroyed Jin and knocked him right down. This is the monster's true strength. Stella is among the crowd, struck horrified seeing the fall of the champion. Jin's face has been obliterated with a single strike as he lays processing what the hell just happened. No one outside of the ring has even the idea what's going on. The referee start the countdown. Jin's coach remembers the man's words and wants to honor his promise to stay out of the fight. The countdown continues as Jin questions what happened in those few seconds. He realized that while he achieved perfection, Yu's boxing capabilities are in a different realm altogether. But that's not it for the world champion. He's hungry to see more of Yu's true fighting strength. The world champion musters all of his spirit to get back up. He recovers from the devastating attack despite his shaky posture. The referee has acknowledged the risk involved with the match. Yu's unrestrained punch was simply too much for anyone to handle. The referee wants to stop the fight, but Jin's eyes keep confusing him. He directly asks the world champion if he is able to continue. Jin utters a robotic response, stating that he's more than ready. The referee emphasizes that he will stop the fight if things get serious. But the world champion isn't a coward. He's ready to throw hands. The match continues as Jin maintains his stance. Yu, without any hesitation, enters his previous posture that destroyed the world champion. Jin is thinking that if he fails to catch Yu's attack, then he's going to face total obliteration. Yu prepares his movement ready to strike while the champion is busy reading his next move. The time has come, and both fighters are ready for a second brawl. Yu dashes with terrifying speeds to launch the same attack, but his opponent is already prepared. It seems that our boy is about to suffer a smack to the face, but no. This man ducks at impossible speeds and manages to connect the punch right across Jin's face. K observed the excellent technique Jin deployed to minimize the damage by turning his head. But even so, it's obvious he's just a few punches away from being defeated. Jin is stricken with such powerful blows he is forced to keep his guard up. But then our boy bashes him with hooks around his body. Even Jin's coach acknowledges that he's not one built for endurance against attacks. It was a phenomenal feat for the world champ to get up after eating Yu's deadliest attack. The world champion ponders even in the midst of a brutal beatdown. Yu is merciless in his strikes and rains down a river of punches all over him. He's going faster and faster. Jin learns that Yu don't have the desire to win, or even a hesitation of nervousness. All he cares about is robotically executing the technique. Jin gets obliterated a second time, but it's an experience he is most enjoying. He is knocked down for the second time in the first round, so the crowd is almost dead certain Yu will become the new lightweight champion. As he is down, the world champion contemplates his previous train of thought about the imperfection of humans. His family faced a harsh divorce, and he grew up with a backstory like many other people. He grew up in a house where all he could hear was noise. The countdown continues while Jin's coach is begging for him to just accept defeat. He bluntly thinks that he was a mistake that should never have been brought into this world in the first place. Coach K is cheering as he's done the impossible again. Jin stands right back up on his 2 feet because that's who he is, while panting and exhausted, faced against a monster that eclipses humanity. Back when his mother left the family, Jin's father was reduced to a pitiful state. He was an incompetent man who did not care about the consequences of his choices. That led to this broken family. Even comparing himself to his father, the boy was patient and thought of himself as competent. Back in the ring, the crowd roars witnessing the world champion's undying persistence. Uncaring about the rest of the world, Yu prepares his posture a third time, which will likely be the end of the fight. Coach K is looking for him to end this fight, while Stella quietly prays for her partner's well-being. Yu launches himself at incredible speeds to finish the fight, but the referee intervenes just before he could deliver the final attack. The first round ended in the nick of time, giving Jin a chance to recover. Bro was inches away from death, But anyway, Coach K is convinced that Yu has proven his skills are superior to even the genius of the lightweight boxing division. At the same time, he's the only one who survived Yu in the first round when all other fighters fell. Jin received treatment by his coach, who had never in his life expected for the champion to take such a brutal beating. He's worried about the boxer's life instead of the titleship match. Jin's coach knocked some sense into him, demanding that he stop the fight as it could cost him his life. Responding to that question with a shaky voice, Jin ponders the meaning of life. He thinks that dying in pursuit of one's goal is the most honorable meaning imaginable. Of course, his coach is rebellious to this insane mindset. Jin declares that he must realize his existence in this fight and once again demands that no interruptions must come his way. The world champion is ready for round 2 as he enters the ring. The question of whether he can survive more of Yu's devastating attacks in the second round is up in the air. In his life's most extreme fight, he remembers how his father left him in the middle of nowhere. The little boy could read his father like an open book, pitying him even. He didn't even feel sadness for being abandoned. Instead, he felt disappointed by his dad's shitty performance, who was about to leave for the milk store for 1,000 years. The boy restrained his emotions and walked his own path. He refused to follow in the footsteps of his father and strive to pursue perfection. What he sees right in front of him is the ideal, the perfection that he's been yearning for this entire time. Jin enters a similar state to Yu, preparing to complete his life in this final fight. His coach thinks he's lost his damn mind, but it's already too late. Jin grapples with the same monstrous technique after seeing Yu. His coach is unfortunately considerate of his health and wants to throw in the towel. He is the one who fostered his talent for boxing. He doesn't want Jin to reject his humanity and instead embrace slowness and meaning in life. Even Stella feels like she's about to get widowed because this man's really on a suicide mission right now. The final clash is set in stone, but before he could make his advance, Stella's annoying voice came barging. She begged for him to stay and care for his life. Suddenly, a flush of emotions gushed through him. Back then, despite the boy's icy composure, he felt sad. He shivered and felt scared that his father had just abandoned him. Stella finally reveals that she's pregnant with his baby. Bro's life flashes before his eyes as he realizes that he's conflicted between two ideals. The ideal of chasing monstrous perfection or remaining human, accepting the parts of him that he rejected all this time. Jin recalls that it was his coach who gave him a home after he was lost. It is beautifully depicted that Jin, just like his father, ended up leading himself astray. Instead of pursuing the fight, Jin forcefully exits the ring and loses the match by disqualification. The rest of the people think that he's just running away like the coward Qasim. Coach K is infuriated to the point this man might evaporate. Jin personally hands Yu the title belt, stating that he earned it. Coach K is pissed because he basically stole our boy's glory by quitting like that. After 10 years of his reign, Jin is succeeded by Yu, who has become the new lightweight champion with incomparable strength. His total boxing record has become the most impressive portfolio ever. After the fight, Jin is taken care of for his injuries. He asks his coach if he will be a good father. Stella enters the room with her tear-filled eyes. She hugs him, giving this man even more pain in his body. Jin's boxing record concluded in a near-excellent performance, proving that he is still one of the greatest boxers of all time. For the rest of the world was cheering him on, all you could hear was pointless noise. His athletic abilities are considered insane, to the point even the junior welterweight champion Yudo is concerned. On the flip side, bitch-face Ryu is nowhere to be found because he's handling some business. He is facing a gang member called the Butcher. Ryu doesn't know what he's doing, wasting his time with trash like them. When his people catch up to him, they're shocked to see that he's already destroyed everyone, including the main guy. Ryu remembers Yu's face and gets hella mad. He vents his frustration by kicking the guy down until he's satisfied. Ryu is furious he's been wasting his time like this. As for Jay, he's the most excited bestie you could ever dream of. But at the same time, Yu's expressionless face is enough to show that he really doesn't care about belts. This leads to the question of why our introvert cat lover became a boxer in the first place. Though that remains to be said, Jay celebrates with Steel and his coach. It is revealed that our favorite blonde boy will debut in his boxing match soon. Jay gives an innocent smile which is unbefitting a boxer. His coach remembered Jay's father's time in the ring as he fought him. He imposes a strict restriction on Jay never to watch Yu's matches because he's in a league of his own with a different boxing style. Instead, the coach recommended that he watch Yuto Takeda's fights, who is considered the finest in-fighter boxer in the world. Even though this is the advice he's given Jay, there's the fact that Jay is basically level 1 compared to a certain boxer. The coach remembers this boxer as a man who was respected by this generation of boxers all over the world. He is the same man at the beginning of the series who saved Yu. Jay's training for his upcoming debut match is about going full swing. In this world, there are people with stories of overcoming adversity. Then there are those who become bitter right after their initial successes. Finally, there were monsters like Yu who stood as an endgame level boss for the rest of the fighters to defeat. Though everyone has their story, the real protagonist of this one is revealed to be the blonde boxer who realizes the same boy he rescued has become world champion. he randomly shows up at the gym, shocking Johnny Boy and his coach. Boasting the radiance of the sun itself, the man remembers that he aims to fulfill a promise with someone. Back to Jay's side of things. He's out here living the life thinking he's going to finally break his limits to become a boxer. This time, the story focuses on Jay's perspective. After Yu demolished Bakugo's cousin next Tuesday, Coach Typhoon Kim boringly stared at the window bearing a gloomy mood. He was expecting such a huge catch in Ryu, but it was no longer relevant. Typhoon was a good guy who wanted to hand a prized possession of his gym over to Kei's hands. Well, that's what he thought, at least in his Delulu Island. Everything changed because an even bigger diamond crushed the old diamond to pieces. He felt unrewarded when Ryu quit boxing altogether. But then, instead of him, someone else came. Jay and his father made an appearance at the gym, confusing him greatly. The blonde boy paced to his fastest to move the heavy weight. Jay boasted a big weakness when it came to his eyesight. Jay's father has acknowledged his son's passion for the sport. Typhoon and him were rivals in their prime. While he did boast an impressive record in total, Jay's father outdid him in their personal fights. Back then, Typhoon looked like a damn model who knew how to throw heavy punches. Though he was a technical boxer prepared to give himself up for the sport, Jay's father was a thick wall who endured the brunt of his punches. Jay's father admits that his son's eyes are a real issue. When he was a little kid, he nearly went blind because of an injury. Because of that, broccoli boys have a hard time with distance. At his current level, Typhoon is forcing intense training upon Jay so that he does not miss a single aspect of his training. The man emphasizes that Jay's one and only strategy in the ring is to tank as many punches as he can. It's the only way he'll clear an opening for himself. But distance is not everything. Jay gets uppercutted the shit out of his face because he lacks power behind his strikes. He has to overcome many aspects of his training to reach the level of the average boxer. Jay retaliates with a hook in close range. Typhoon wants Jay to just hammer through his opponents with consecutive attacks. He even has no glasses policy for Jay so that he can train his eyes. Every part of his body is trained so that he can build a physique for survival. Typhoon does not want his stupid dumbass to enter in a debut match when he's not ready, especially with a disadvantage. More of their training continues, even when it comes to silly mantras from TV chefs. Typhoon's forceful style with Jay reminds him why he became a boxer in the first place. He believes the boy's talents are comparable to a tree rather than a gem. While other people's values are decided from birth, trees will always continue to grow even if they're broken countless times. Typhoon's focus with Jay is for him to develop into a firm tree who can withstand the heaviest obstacles. Time is a commodity given equally to all humans. The three protagonists are no exception. While Yu achieved monumental progress in mere moments, Ryu bit the dust and flopped completely. Lastly, there was someone who did not give in to gratification of the present. He waited and passed the time until his progress rewarded him in the future. Finally, Jay's debut match was set in stone with his opponent being decided. His coach is a little nervous to tell him that his opponent is literally going to eat him alive. Like this is a Giga Chad fighting a cockroach. Rock Kang has double the wins and few losses. In fact, Rock was actually a champion in his prime. The dude is the definition of a master of infighting along with compounded experience that Jay lacks. Jay is basically going up against someone with his skills bumped to 100. Typhoon mentions that rookies don't get paired up with people like that in general, but all the seeds were filled. Steel thinks our boy is getting chewed alive in that match. Typhoon slaps his bald-ass head and tells him to be optimistic. Bro talks about eyes when he doesn't even have any. The good news for Jay is that they too possess an infighter who became a national champion. What's funny is that this is revealed to be Steel himself, who is the middleweight champion of his division. Bro is Mike Tyson's cheap copy, and immediately calls Jay an easy opponent. The trash talk is real with this one. Infighter boxers are known for throwing hooks and uppercuts in close range. That means it's a battle of attrition and spirit. It's ugly boxing where you really have to tough it out with your opponent. Typhoon helps Jay train using the immovability of a tree. It's clear as day he will still get demolished in a show of strength. The coach admits that Jay's physique is suited for an outboxing style instead of taking punches like an inboxer. In the ring against an opponent that far eclipses Jay's capabilities, the question remains of how he will overcome such a challenge. Our boy dashes with incredible speed to slip past Steel. This allows for an opening that the opponent did not expect. Jay lunges forth to attack Mike Tyson from the side. The result? Bro gets squashed in the face. It's obvious that Jay has many challenges to overcome against a seasoned veteran who knows so much about the game. However, one advantage rookie players possess over veterans are their past records. They can learn by watching and exploiting weaknesses. The best advantage Jay has is that no one's got any data on his skills. On the other hand, his opponent has plenty of matches on broadcast. Typhoon's strategy is to use this advantage to predict Rock's moves. They've analyzed the way he fights by prioritizing hooks and uppercuts in the first round. He loves throwing straights, and will immediately exploit openings. Typhoon concludes that a liver shot would be devastating for the champion, as it directly exploits his weakness. Liver shots are impossible to sustain as they cause extreme pain. He wants Jay to create fake openings for the former champion, allowing him to think that he has the upper hand. but that's exactly when they will take advantage of the opportunity and strike him down. Nerd Boy's training continues fiercely, giving his 100% in each exercise. By the end of it all, Jay has acquired an impressive physique with a baby face on top. The night before his match, his heart is pacing heavily. His father learns that Jay is gone from his bedroom. That's because he's out here grinding and training in shadowboxing. His father observes Jay's impressive improvement. The scared fighter states that he's up against a tough opponent. The thoughts of losing in his first match haunt him, as he will be classified as a failure of a boxer. Understanding his son's feelings, Jay's father consoles him by sharing his rookie experience. Becoming a professional boxer comes down to making it through each fight. Though that is important in boxing, Jay's father thinks that something is even more important than the outcome of a match. He remembers watching a boxer so radiant that the outcome of his matches did not matter. He departs his son with the advice to find meaning in his boxing. Jay contemplates on his father's words and concentrates his full focus on his opponent, aiming to give it his all. His debut match is finally here, and the boy's body is shivering from the nerves. Steel thinks it's logical for him to feel like he is weak, because he is. Sigma coach over here rats out Steel being so nervous on his debut that he was shitting bricks. Jay walks as he is prepared to meet the big stage. His father is one of his supporters in the crowd, rooting for his son. The boy carries each step into the ring with conviction. He dawns on the spotlight and sees his muscular opponent who looks terrifying in person. Jay quiets his fears and concentrates on his fighting skills. Typhoon reminds him of their battle strategy. Jay recalls that he is supposed to pretend as an outboxer and then switch to an infighting style. The boy keeps in mind all the things his opponent could throw at him. Jay is mustering his confidence, but the moment the fight begins, a punch is already gunned for his head. All that motivational speech ended up in a total mess as Blonde Boy got knocked out in the first strike. Typhoon realizes that Rock isn't hesitating in ending the fight because he doesn't know about his opponent's style. If it were any other boxer, they might have stayed down. But this is our best boy Jay, who squared up against his bully even when he was outnumbered and outclassed. That's exactly what's about to happen now too. Jay has faced the wrath of his bullies to the blows of an indestructible classmate, and now he's eating punches from a national champion. He's a veteran at getting his face smashed like a punching bag, but that's what makes him so formidable. The amateur boxer reflects that being punched alleviated his nerves a little. The champion is rather impressed by his feat. The fight begins again. This time, he's prepared to minimize damage close to his chin. The national champion wants this match to end quickly, so he advances full speed to exploit Jay's range. However, the attack that was supposed to hit is evaded by Jay's edge in speed. He dodges more of the boxer's brutal advances, giving him the illusion that he's an outboxer with good dodges. Rock thinks he's going to overwhelm Jay with his sheer might. He concentrates the effectiveness of his attacks by closing the range. The cat-and-mouse chase to catch the supposed outboxer has begun. The second he makes his advance, Jay shocks the national champion by slipping past and delivering a thunderous uppercut on his chin. The first prominent blow knocks him down immediately. The former champion is shocked that he was outplayed with a perfect uppercut. He is starting to realize that he just got played by his opponent, who is actually an infighter. Typhoon believes the real match will now begin, since both of them have gotten a taste of each other's strengths. The battle resumes with both fighters egging each other in close range. The battle of fortitude begins as Jay fortifies his feet into the ring. Rock is pretty impressed by the rookie's strength. The both of them strike each other with equal pace. Typhoon remembers that the boy in the ring is someone who possesses zero talent or strength compared to the big dogs of the boxing world. But still, there is something special that separates him. It can't be hard work as every boxer does his best to achieve their goals. The feeling is unusual, but alas, the coach firmly believes there is specialty to the boy's skills. The champion seconds this as he thinks Jay is more advanced than typical rookies. At the same time, he's just a rookie who receives a flurry of punches from the overwhelming opponent. Compared to Steel, his current opponent is even more aggressive. Jay activates speed to his advantage, deploying a sidestep to exploit openings. Then he whacks Egghead with a bunch of jabs, but they're so weak he doesn't feel anything. The fight is going just as it was in training against Steel. The same motions are repeated, only this time Jay is faster in reacting. They firmly believe in the boy's abilities, who is currently cornering Rock and dodging his every move. After all, Jay has already experienced the weight of even finer punches. This allows him the experience to evade and match his opponent. Typhoon is impressed that his student is coming through, to the point where he can spot a future where Jay wins this fight. The round comes to an end. His coach gives him sound advice to maintain the lead in the scoreboard in the second round. As for Rock Kang, he is clearly impressed by his rookie opponent's strengths. It's almost unfair because Jay would have outclassed the typical rookie fighter with his excellent dodging skills. His sharp evasive maneuvers feel as if they are influenced by a greater fighter than Jay himself. Hint, his name is Bitchface. With all that said, Rock thinks Jay is still behind when it comes to the bottom line. Meanwhile, Jay's father is starting to realize the gravity of the situation. In the second round of their fight, Jay is the green and confident fighter. Every move of his is being realized as he dashes and rains a flurry of punches down on his opponent, gaining the advantage. This is a good way for him to acquire more points, so the delusion of winning is within sight for him now. Rock throws a hook that misses our boy's body. He's trying to stay light on his feet because even one move could be the end of him. As for what is troubling Jay's father, he hopes Typhoon sees what he sees. However, the coach is far too busy admiring the boy's improvement in the fight and thinks that he'll win for certain. Surviving past the second round, the coach advises Jay to maintain his endurance so he doesn't run out of gas. It's clear to anyone that Rock is going to try and swing for a finishing move to rack points. Then something hits him. Jay is unusually exhausted, too exhausted despite his intense stamina training. Typhoon immediately realizes what's going on as he turns to the boxer that is his opponent. Jay's father has been concerned the entire time about the pressure of the fight building up as fatigue to a newbie fighter. This psychological fight has been a spiral of punches that are enough to jab at a boxer's fortified mentality. It's anything unlike a fight performed with training. Jay couldn't handle how to deal with the pressure, so while he did pull off amazing punches here and there, it has gotten him tired. Rock knows this weakness and has been exploiting him as the stage he has to control. Typhoon knows that if he continues with this trajectory, Jay is getting obliterated without a doubt. He calculates the Rock's next move and chooses to entrust in the boy's abilities to outperform the veteran opponent. In a show of courage and motivation, he tells his disciple to do as he always performed. Thus began the third round of the fight. As always, it became a battle of attrition first. Something about this clash is different from the previous, as his opponent had been saving strength while Jay wasted his juice. Little boy Jay's speed has taken a huge hit and he's barely able to avoid punches now. It's visible to anyone how Jay's momentum has trapped him on the back foot. The unfortunate rookie boxer is being pressured as more and more of his opponent's punches penetrate through his defense. He does get a hit in here and there, but it does nothing. Typhoon is worried for Jay, who is bent on keeping his opponent tied. He manages to dodge an insane left hook, impressing the former champion. Regardless of his attempt, unfortunately Jay loses his guard and eats a powerful hook right to his face. This should be the decisive hit that spells his end. His body collapses as he's knocked on the ground. The countdown for his demise begins, with Jay resting in the contemplation of his opponent's amazing strength. Jay is pressured by the insane difference in the fighter's experience. At the same time, this is a boy who used to take a beating daily. He's not down for the count and still gets right up. Rock is able to tell that he's faced strong opponents before to have come this far. The rookie fighter has earned massive respect from him. To honor him, Rock wants to use his most powerful technique, which spells bad news for Jay. The match appears to be in his favor, but this kind of moment is exactly what Jay had been waiting for. He ducks his fist and creates the perfect opening to launch a thunderous liver shot. Alas, even with his best attempt to finish him off, the attack gets blocked, and in return, Jay is knocked down again. The match seems to be a loss for our blonde boy who couldn't overcome the veteran no matter how hard he tried. He lies contemplating what sums the value of a person. Even his opponent is secretly rooting for Jay to learn from this experience to overcome him. The winner and loser is always determined by the conclusion of the fight. There are indomitable forces who rise to the top, but only a handful get to experience the flames of such heights. In Jay's case, his answer is clear as day. He refuses to give up even if the outcome will result in a loss. The boy is ready to give it his all even if the outcome is set in stone. Even after experiencing 2 major setbacks, he's gotten up again. The referee wants to conclude this match against the rookie's favor, but realizes that he's still hungry and laser-focused for more. To respect his integrity despite the damage, the referee decides to continue the fight on the basis of stopping the match next time he collapses. The round resumes with Rock pummeling through Jay's defenses. He's definitely not in the mood to hold his punches and maintains tight pressure against his opponent. Then, just like the previous round, he corners him and throws a barrage of punches. In his mind, Jay has already accepted that he might be one of those boxers who lost their first debut match, but that doesn't matter to him. He did not learn how to box to show he's better than others. He began boxing to discover the beautiful meaning of true strength. Despite getting slammed in the face, Jay's fighting spirit screams to continue. Rock is impressed to have been pushed back even at the rookie's exhaustive state. Our blonde boy knows he doesn't have much gas left in him, so this battle will be decided with another clash. Rock admits the rookie's superiority against other fighters of his league. Jay's father supports him while his coach reflects the impossible odds the boy has had to overcome to make it this far. Typhoon saw something in the boy, so he accepted the match. Bro signed his student's own death. He wants to realize the answer through Jay's actions. Rock's punches keep on becoming even more powerful instead of losing their force. It comes to a point Jay is barely supported by the ring. The powerful straight shook the boy as he's never faced anything like this before. Instead of feeling jealousy or hatred against his opponent, our glorious blonde boy has come to respect his opponent's incredible hard work and years of perfection. Their boxing is the result of the lives they've led up until this moment. It's a communication between two fighters, both backed by different stories about how they became such people. The outcome shrinks to the point of irrelevancy, and within the same ring, Jay learns to appreciate the joy of boxing. The final attack is upon him, Rock's most powerful straight punch. Even though he commands his legs to move, his body is too rigid. Jay musters every ounce of energy he has left in his body and manages to evade the strike. This time his opening is sitting there waiting for him. He has the chance to execute the liver shot, but unfortunately, he just doesn't have the stamina to attack anymore. Jay accepts his inevitable defeat when he suddenly remembers Ryu's devastating recoil punch from his battle. He executes the same move in a fraction of a second and delivers the paralyzing liver shot, followed by a powerful right hook to the face. Rock is down and this man is not getting up. After putting blood, sweat, and tears into this impossible fight, Jay has emerged the winner. Meanwhile, bitch-face Bakugo's life is probably going in the worst possible direction right now. He's been sentenced to a whopping 6 years in prison. Contrasting him, the boy who chose to accept growth has just won his first debut match. Jay is stumped while Steel is beyond impressed. Coach Typhoon is glad that he followed his feeling and allowed Jay to shine. The boy's father is the proudest he's ever been. And his opponent, Rock, didn't even know he had the willpower to manage a bunch of reactionary strikes at the last moment. Those were the moves of a professional boxer. Rock admits that he's never had so much fun against an opponent. He's become our boy's #1 fan and wants to support him. Jay is a clumsy fool apart from his boxing, but his courage speaks volumes and adds a testament to his training. It's clear to the veteran that this boy is bound to have a bright future ahead of him and will eventually become a champion contender for the belt. However, he's afraid of the boy's inevitable fight with the champion, who is a force to be reckoned with. After his fight, Jay rests on his bed being unable to sleep. The scene of the fight refuses to leave his mind. The accomplishment of finally becoming a professional boxer hits him. The boy remembers a memory lane of difficult experiences, the obstacles that he faced and how much he had to overcome to produce this result. He smiles like the jolliest kid in the whole world, kicking his legs and shit. The only reason he was even able to make it in time is because of Ryu's influence. That night, instead of resting, he decides to shadow box against his previous nemesis. He tries to dodge and recreate the moment from the fight. Only this time he is struck by a powerful blow. That means the blonde boy survived by the skin of his teeth in the previous fight. Jay expects to meet Ryu in the ring someday, but the poor guy doesn't know he's rotting in jail right now. After exhausting himself in training, Jay wants to head home, but he's not ready to call it quits, and sees Yu's piercing shadow. The fight doesn't even begin before it ends. Bro realizes he's just a tiny ant compared to the boxing god. He may have called it quits, but Yuto Takeda is hard at work trying to fight the monster that obliterated Gene. Yuto confidently blocks his anticipated strikes, and like the Sigma World Champion he is, plans to do 100 more sets. The perspective shifts to the reporter, who explains that Kei expressed public dissatisfaction with the conclusion of the match. He publicly announces that his next endeavor is for Yu to conquer the junior welterweight class. Kei wants to go as far as to challenge the champion directly, but that won't be possible because of rules. The coach advises Yuto to enjoy his belt for however short a time that he can. Right after the conference, a match was fixed between Yu and Elliot von Heinberg. He stands at the top of the world ranking in his class, and facing him is the world champion of the light division, Yu. This division boasts the strongest fighters. Even though Elliot is supposed to be the fittest of them all, he underestimates his opponent greatly. Bro thinks he's him, but he doesn't know the smoke he's about to catch. Elliot's goal is to defeat Yuto. Does it surprise anyone that he gets shot by Yu, because that is exactly what happens? Bro got massacred with Yu, dodging every last one of his attacks. The dude was playing with him and didn't even retaliate. Elliot felt humiliated being unable to land a single hit on his face. A boxer of his caliber is bound to feel insulted after such crushing ignorance. After the conclusion of the first round, Elliot's ego is absolutely crushed. His coach advises him to keep his head out of his ass and focus on the game properly. The second round begins and, well, good night to Elliot the arrogant bitch. You should rename himself to One Punch Man because this man one-shots everyone he sees. This match is a public show to demonstrate his might to the reigning world champion of the division, Yuto. It's a way to say, I'm coming to knock you right out. Yu has demonstrated that he boasts the ability to end a fight the second he wants it to end. He is at the pinnacle of talent while Yuto represents hard work. He goes for another run, while his coach is worried. They thought that Gene might be an easy opponent for Yu, but now it's become a real problem as even Yuto's most difficult opponent suffered a humiliating defeat. Yuto is running like crazy. This man knows he is cooked. His coach knows Bro is cooked. Everyone knows he is cooked, but he still keeps training. Yuto returns home and rests, remembering those dead eyes. He wonders if he can really defeat his opponent, admitting that he's afraid of what is to come. In order to understand the kind of fighter and person the junior welterweight champion is, his coach believes they should be termed hard workers. Peter harshly puts that people who work very hard are losers, and he's right on the money. Takeda's coach states that boxers are beings of prideful nature who boast about the hours they invested in hard work. But she thinks it's all a load of crap as one cannot differentiate world-class boxers from normal ones based on hard work alone. She states that every boxer works hard, but the greatest are there merely because of talent. There is no other way to the top aside from talent and hard work. Their intensive routine doesn't matter as much. She despises such words because if someone boasts they're working hard, it really means that the boxer has nothing special about them. And then comes our blue boy Yuto, who is a clear exception to whatever philosophy she just spewed. Observing him train ruthlessly every day, she can guarantee there is no boxer who works half as hard as he does. She recalls his first day at the gym. Ordinary, talentless monkey just like the others. He was a little boy when his father recommended that he learn self-defense. Of course, the coach wasn't best pleased with the idea and recommended that Yuto's father teach him judo instead. In the end, the little guy's father decided to leave the milk store, which I'm starting to think is a recurring trend with all boxers. After that, in their first training session, Yuto learned the ways of boxing. The people who boasted high athletic ability could ensure a flow in their movement, but this little guy was probably the shittiest candidate to ever become a pro boxer. He would tremble and fall like a pipsqueak. In other words, from way back then, Yuto was deemed a talentless, ordinary individual. But that same boy is now a world champion of a major division. When she asked about Miho, who was the boy's mother, she learned that her condition is getting stable. These three were actually childhood friends. Miho, Hiroto would always play together. Miho was always the clumsy and weak child of the bunch. She needed the assistance of others. Without long, they experienced their youthful lives. By that point, Misaki invested a good number of hours into boxing, while Hiroto steered in the direction of judo. He would always boast a happy smile when he began dating Miho, but that complicated their friend group. She wasn't surprised they would end up together, and felt crushed in the end and couldn't say anything. The three of them still enjoyed happy times together. Misaki valued their relationship and chose to support her friends, grateful for the moments they spent together. Despite her best wishes, Hiroto suddenly passed while Miho's condition worsened. Before his passing, Hiroto had begun experiencing so much stress and contemplated quitting his job. As a cop, he couldn't ignore a bunch of bullies just hammering down on a stranger. His sense of righteousness evoked as he fought the men who he deemed as worthless cowards. He instilled an important philosophy upon his son, that strong people are unafraid of fear and inspire through courage. He fought tooth and nail to save the innocent, but unfortunately because of his wounds, could not survive after the fight. Misaki received a sudden phone call from him, immediately startling her. She felt that something was incredibly wrong. Hiroto's voice acted as he shared his final wishes for Yuto. On that day, that boy's father passed, and Miho's condition worsened. Unfortunately, Misaki had to bear a heavy hurt as she relayed the news of Hiroto's passing. She broke down, begging for her to wake up. In her most fragile moments, Misaki confessed her love for her friends. Even after everything she said, Miho passed shortly after Hiroto's passing as a consequence of her illness. This pain left her completely shattered, to the point she contemplated the point of living. Remembering his father's words, Yuto voiced that he must not fear and instill courage in others. That's his reason to become strong. The boy who did not boast a sliver of natural talent was instead gifted with mental strength. Misaki questioned if he wanted to keep on boxing. She reminded him of his inevitable fate, of how many times he would have to take the fall, but the boy did not care. No, this tiny specimen just wanted to follow in the footsteps of his father. The relationship between the teacher and the student confirmed. Her only desire was to dedicate her teachings upon Yuto. She had nothing else, and made the boy her reason to keep on living. It isn't a surprise to anyone, but this dude was literally trash even after all the glazing. He couldn't even learn the most basic of punches for a month. He lacked so much flow in his movements that it was like memorizing each problem instead of understanding the formula behind the technique. Many years went in the making of this formidable force of nature. Yuto became a beast to be reckoned with. Then, a sudden transformation occurred. 10 years went in the making of this behemoth. His body is the first aspect they focused on for intense training. His immediate routine was to run 6 miles after waking up, followed by 2,000 sit-ups and 1,000 push-ups. He's really out here giving Saitama a run for his money. His traditional boxing exercises continued all the while he was a mere teen, but it was necessary. Every part of his training was necessary to become an indomitable force in the ring. Initially, he struggled greatly against the boxers after reaching his peak strength. To understand the idea of a growth peak, Misaki explains that each person has a growth graph. Their talent and effort go hand in hand on each axis. A person starts from a mean position of nothingness and eventually experiences a certain level of growth each day. It's the most enjoyable period of growth, but after reaching a certain level, it stagnates as the limitations interfere. Eventually, with that kind of pace, even a professional will experience major plateaus. It is different for each athlete, though if one perseveres through this slump, they can become a master and attain a steady slope. Nothing could compete with such improvement. After this gentle period comes a rapid decline, an end to a professional's career as a result of aging. The world champions boast an extreme amount of talent paired with strength. Compared to their graphs, Yuto was freaking embarrassing. He was literally trash, with no signs of growth after his 3rd year of training. Peter is stunned, but it was true that his dreams were eventually crushed to the point others would begin overtaking him. Now imagine having all those negatives and still becoming the strongest infighter boxer in the world. Misaki states that something happened when he woke up in a hospital. That changed everything about his life. At the time, the boy was in high school. Normal people have idols or heroes they value in life. For Blue Boy, it was his dad. Entering his new school life, Yuto found himself different from others who followed their own paths. There were bullies, and then there were victims. Such was the case in his class because there's always a blonde fuck picking on the introvert. Yuto became a hero for that boy, and shocked everyone with his courageous resolve. His grip squeezed the life out of the punk who was finally getting a taste of his own damn medicine. Murmurs of Yuto being Hiroto's son peaked among the class. They all thought he was cool until the dude got punched in the damn face. The bully exhausted his strength punching him, but this guy was cold as fuck being unfazed. He didn't even care, and made him look like a weak embarrassment. The punk ran away while Yuto amassed a great reputation among his peers. The students were expecting him to destroy the bully. Unfortunately for the dipshit that was the class bully, he still remained the same. Hero of Justice arrived to save the day. The punk tried acting like he was some hot shit and attacked Yuto mindlessly, but only with a single punch. He knocked the living daylights out of this idiot. The differences in their skills were night and day. After knocking his ass out, he instilled a belief in others that hopeful figures exist in this world. On their way back, the boy apologized for always being dependent on him. The weak boy praised his strength, even though Yuto didn't think much of himself and thought he only trained hard. Yuto decided to drag this weakling to his coach. Misaki wasn't really pleased because she hadn't gotten a customer in a long time. She was fueled with the flames of teaching Yamaguchi. Misaki explained she's an Olympic gold medalist and wanted to carve a champion out of him. She even gave him a discount on the membership because that's how desperate she was. Yuto suddenly realizes that he's been receiving free training his entire life. This idiot should be grateful. In their training session, Yamaguchi observed the level of intensity Yuto trained every day. Misaki emphasized that he's nothing to worry about since his talent is crippled compared to pro boxers. The boy was shocked that even someone as strong as him couldn't measure up to real fighters. Misaki told him to observe his training, as effort is bound to help people become stronger despite the hardships they will endure. On his way back, Yamaguchi was so happy and motivated with the idea of change. In this world, you could never choose the circumstances you were born with. However, certain environments developed people, and others made them live through hell. Yamaguchi had the case of a mother suffering from her addiction. She abused him for even believing that an idiot like him could have friends. Yamaguchi's mother ended up getting dumped by a dude and only lives with the boy for that spicy child support. Hesitating, he asked his mother if he could learn boxing. She called him a piece of crap, not sparing him a moment of kindness. The scene switches to the bully who is mad pissed after getting his ass beat. His gang was eager to explore the dude's fighting capabilities. After all, they recently found a boxer who was training to become world champion too. Returning to Yamaguchi's life, he boasted the spirit to change, so he turned up to come train with Yuto during his run. Blue Boy was thrilled to have him as a partner, and recommended that he run at a slow pace. Unfortunately, Yamaguchi got wasted like hell while the person in front of him kept dashing into the distance. His respect for Yuto increased massively since they were both the same age, and yet he trained so hard. Yamaguchi was fueled with a reason to change, despite his environment rebelling against his growth. At the end of their run, Yuto was so proud of him for making it this far without stopping. He expressed his admiration for the beautiful sunrise. A unique sense of euphoria engulfed him after the workout. Happiness and freedom, the miserable boy felt at last. The night before school, the bully learned that the knight errant just wants to brawl with the worst of the worst. This guy crushed actual killers in combat. He's crazy levels of crazy. He's all the more curious to fight strong guys, which is why his next target is Yuto. The kind gentleman even asks the class bully to share lunch. He couldn't understand his nature at all. Even after beating him up, the punk woke up to a note of apology from Yuto. But then this kindness is sometimes a sign of humiliation. Pissboy brushed his offer and furiously ran away. He found himself extremely annoyed and was made fun of by other people now that he couldn't bully them. Their lives continued with the bully disappearing off to nowhere. Yuto's training with Yamaguchi continued as the boy began catching up. One fateful night, Kazu called Yuto. He had captured his dear friend Yamaguchi and introduced himself as the anti-hero in the superhero trope. Bro thinks he's edgy. Mr. Anti-Hero over here is acting like a real villain and even threatens to subdue Yamaguchi if the police get called. Yuto arrives quickly and immediately questions this psycho. Kazu is one of those people who loves playing games with people. He hasn't been enjoying things because he gets to squash punks that are nowhere near his level. Since Yuto's name became a popular hit, he's on the hunt for him. Yuto is angered that all of this happened because of a petty reason. He rushes to attack Kazu, who dodges it like it's nothing. The psychopath even praises Yuto's skills, but literally plays with him like he's a toy. Even the bully thinks it's impossible for him to defeat a fighter like Kazu, who destroyed every single gang in the area. The dude is a monster, but something about his opponent seems to strike him odd. He realizes that there is nothing special about Yuto. that he's just a ball of emptiness with no talent. He repeats the same moves like a damn NPC with the easiest fighting moves. Kazu realizes that a coach had to sculpt this talentless fuck from the ground up so that he could obtain this strength. Kazu bashes him with a hook, proving the point that he's on a different level. He remarks that Yuto's fighting ability is based on simplicity, while Kazu is a genius in the art of boxing. He finds the fight incredibly boring and delivers a powerful smash. Yuto fidgets as he questions why someone so powerful is wasting his time being selfish instead of helping others. But this dude basically gives him a "who asked" face and continued to beat the ever-living shit out of him. It was a merciless beating until Yuto was smashed to the ground. All the while, Yamaguchi felt guilty he was pathetically useless in helping his friend. The people who lived for themselves could not infer value from one thing to another. Going home that night, the miserable boy returned to find his mother beat up and abused. The next day, Yuto woke up in the hospital bed with a letter from Yamaguchi. The boy had already sold his life in service of working so that he could earn money. He knew he couldn't have a normal life despite everything he did. In the end, he succumbed to the violence of his life and removed himself from Yuto's life. The moment he read this letter, a transformation occurred. Yuto's entire being changed even after experiencing his growth period. He vowed to become even stronger. In that same condition, Yuto showed up to Misaki, stating that he will become so strong and become a living symbol to prove that circumstances are inconsequential if one works very hard. That was the day the world champion Yuto Takeda fully materialized. Kisaki bashed him during their training after learning about his fight against Kazu. She knew about the unrivaled talent of the genius boy who was considered to be the next greatest boxer of their generation. Misaki wanted to support Yuto's vision to defeat him, so she entertained his delusion through their training. While Yuto doubled down on his training, Yamaguchi felt even more miserable doing his shitty job. The night finally came where Yuto faced Kazu a second time. The result? He got his ass beat the same way like last time. But even after getting taken down, Yuto vowed to crush Kazu's talent someday. After that defeat, Blue Boy decided to switch strategies. He decided to quit his school life to pursue boxing full-time. Misaki, being a responsible adult, wondered if she should help him realize more fruitful paths than boxing. She wonders what his parents would have told him, and decides to give him an answer that he wanted to hear the most, a sign of approval. Yuto's training continued, more and more, from one machine to another. The night of his third fight against Kazu was here. Yuto was defeated again. Without breaking his heart, he returned to train harder. Then their fourth fight came. Yuto was defeated again. He trained again and challenged the genius boxer a fifth time. Kazu was really starting to get bored now. Yuto was defeated again. Yamaguchi cried as he remained miserable and succumbed to his rigid environment, while Yuto trained every single day to change the impossible to become possible. Years passed, and there had already been dozens of times he lost against Kazu. The second he woke up, his only thought was to train. Being so damn stressed, he couldn't decipher a dream from reality. But Misaki felt shocked because she was seeing him obliterate his growth peak. He became living proof of an athlete who grew past his potential. When Yuto challenged Kazu again, even he was surprised by his improvement. The outcome remained the same, but he was actually glad to see some growth. Yuto couldn't even harbor the words to speak, but everything he was muttering about related to his mistakes. Kazu was getting impressed by his continued rate of improvement, and then one day, Yuto proved to be trouble for him. While his friend contemplated ending his life, Yuto, in his third year of going professional, had several bumps in his rate of improvement. He had become a monster who trumped the genius of Kazu, dishing out a punch that we all had been waiting for. Yamaguchi remembered the beautiful sunrise he shared with Yuto on their first run. A human who had passed the abilities of talent had been born. Yuto Takeda, in his present prime, answers that the sport of boxing is proof that anything can change through hard work and dedication, no matter the circumstances of anyone. The world champion's mission to prove that hope exists for all. The big day is here. The final match between the world champion Yuto versus the lightweight division superstar Yu. The crowd is cheering for Yu's godlike talent as he emerges from his side. Those eyes with unparalleled talent take the crowd by storm. This is the man who didn't take a single punch from Jin, and now he's hungry for his second title. From the other side emerges the champion himself, Yuto Takeda. He's the guy who is strongly boasted as the best infighter in the world. It is Yuto's incredible hard work that made him the boxer who conquered the junior welterweight division. The difference in their physique is hilarious. Yu's bottomless eyes stare in indifference. All eyes are on these two fighters, each representing the peak of hard work and talent. However, even the commentators are confident of Yu's immediate victory. They don't think the reigning world champion has a chance of surviving this calculating monster. Misaki reminds the blue boy of their game plan. His heart is racing as he stares into an intimidating boxer. Yuto thinks that it's okay if he gets knocked down because he can always get back up again. The fight begins as he dashes to attack Yu, attempting to overcome the wall of peerless height. Evading his deadly jabs, Yuto cuts past Yu's line and takes the fight in close range. However, our boy dodges and maintains his distance. Misaki's game plan for him is to keep the pressure on his opponent. Back when they watched the match with Jean, they realized this attack of Yu is impossible to counter. The only solution against such a move is to compromise the range of his opponent. Yuto capitalizes on pressure, making sure Yu never gets the chance to deliver his lethal move. Their plan is to draw the fight for all 12 rounds, and something they've learned from Yu's fights is that he never experienced a drawn-out battle. They think it is possible his body will show signs of weakness, giving them the opportunity to defeat the monster. But this simple and see-through plan is well within the expectations of Kei. In their battle strategy, he coached Yu about Yuto's strong points. His muscles are the ultimate defense, while his lightning-fast speed and incredible stamina make him a force to be reckoned with. In essence, since Yu is an outboxer, Yuto is supposed to be his greatest weakness. Yuto's stamina is so freakishly powerful that he doesn't show signs of fatigue even in drawn-out battles. At first, Yu planned to strike him in range, but he's in the mood to prove a point. Adjusting his position, Yu shocks the world as he mimics the world champion's stance. Kei wants the world to know what true talent really looks like. The world is stupefied, including Yuto, who doesn't want to focus on overthinking and instead prioritizes the attack. Then the first punch rains on him, shocking the spectators. A second punch follows and connects, putting this dude in a daze. He's like, what in the actual F is going on right now? The thing is, Yu is copying each of his movements down to the smallest of details. What's more is that he's faster and more precise than the guy who spent a decade honing his skills. Misaki is rendered speechless while Blue Boy is literally questioning his life's decisions. He's realized that this is the level of talent that cannot be contested. It is a fact of reality that Yu would defeat him every time they faced each other. The crowd goes wild seeing Yu's sudden shift in fighting stance. A person mirroring his abilities is outclassing the world champion in a devastating beatdown. Yu refuses to hold back, and even feints are ineffective. When Yuto tries to go heavy on the guard, he gets slammed from the side. Just like how he would rain down a barrage of punches against his opponents, Yu is doing the same to him. Misaki realizes he's in a serious pinch, and hopes that he survives the first round so they can discuss a way out. The first round does come to an end along with Yuto Takeda's confidence. My guy's face looks like he's seen a ghost or something. Misaki brings this fool back to reality, stating that it's no time for him to zone out. The poor guy is at a loss for words as he sees no competition to Yu's powers. Misaki argues that there has to be a weakness that even Yu is victim to. She wants to exploit such a weakness in the upcoming rounds. As for Kei, he's just chilling with the easiest job of his lives. Yu initially has an unimpressive opinion of Yuto, but Kei emphasizes that this guy is a late bloomer and grows greater in response to the challenge he faces. It's fully possible for him to keep Yu on edge, but our board protagonist legit couldn't care less. After the first round, the commentators believe that Yuto has some kind of strategy in the upcoming rounds. The second round begins with Yuto advancing, only to receive a brutal fist in his face. However, he retaliates almost instantly. Misaki's advice to Yuto is to keep on exchanging blows with the monster to remember and ignite his fighting spirit. So that's what he does. Even though he suffers blows one after the other, Yuto is beginning to materialize his hope. He thinks that all beings have hope no matter how big or small. Yuto's ferocity has increased and he already expects to eat a dozen attacks from his opponents. His goal is to stand his feet no matter how hard he eats a punch. It's Yu who is on the back foot now, impressing even Kei with his comeback strategy. Bob Ross's duplicate over here believes that Yu is mocking the world champion with how little he has showed of his true powers. The atmosphere of the ring changes when Yu dashes to increase the distance. Yuto was expecting to narrow the distance, but his hope began turning to despair as he was furiously slammed against a mountain of blows. All of his openings were closed as the monster unveiled a sliver of his true strength. With his guard being wide open, Yuto suffers a cataclysmic punch through his gut, knocking the world champion on his knees. The adversity that he was expecting had yet to present itself. The boxer Yu is there to destroy the world champion as the world watches. Among the crowd sits a boy. It is Yamaguchi who is rooting for Yuto's success. The author brings an interesting point regarding effort, as it is always portrayed to be exciting to watch. But the reality of true effort is the loneliness and mental fatigue that comes from doing the same thing endlessly. Misaki saw the shadow of his parents and her old friends while he suffers to maintain a plank. So after the training, Misaki almost wanted to sway his mind about boxing and decided not to pursue the thought. Back in the ring, the world champion of the junior welterweight division is suffering immense pain. It's hard for him to breathe, but the blue boy remembers the power of friendship and gets right back up. However, his opponent Yu remains unfazed and undeterred. The big question is how he is ever going to overcome him. The round continues with Yuto analyzing his situation. He knows that he has to suffer through the hits and break inside Yu's range. He does that successfully and manages to close the gap by putting pressure on Yu. Gojo's dad Kei is impressed that he's trying to make a comeback, but even Blue Boy is starting to realize that he can't keep up for long. Yu goes on the offensive, giving him a fraction of a time to wonder what he should respond with. The monster delivers his killing move, but something impressive happens. The world champion has cut past his attack, putting you off balance at the last second. Coach K is ecstatic for the hard-working boxer. The second round is coming to a close with Yuto giving our boy a run for his money with his tackles. The world champion perseveres against heavy attacks to the point even his body of extreme endurance is starting to wear down. Yuto dashes faster, only to get punched so hard that he's knocked down for the second time. Misaki is contemplating surrender, while Blue Boy is out for days. Bro looks depressed, but then he remembers what he is fighting for and gets back up again. Becoming the embodiment of his words, Yuto Takeda takes the crowd by storm. He no longer possesses signs of consciousness in his eyes. That much is even clear to the referee who is keeping a watchful eye on him. Poor Yamaguchi realizes that Yuto is fighting so hard to show the people around the world that there is hope. He is the one who made him start over and overcome the hardships of his life. Even his mother is getting treated for her addiction. The world champion suffers a harsh blow but keeps on fighting. Even though he shouldn't, he still keeps on fighting. Yamaguchi begs for him to just stay down. The round ends as Yuto officially becomes the only fighter to have made it into the third round against Yu. His coach scolds him, but the Blue Boy is so defeated he can't do anything but narrow their range. His mind has entered a state of dizziness. Misaki encourages him to hang on until he can close an opportunity to strike. She wonders what her old friends would have thought of her. Misaki deeply regrets that she wasn't able to allow him the chance to enjoy a comfortable life. The third round begins with an acceptance of her faults. Yuto is immediately paraded with tons of brutal attacks. Despite the champion's despair, Kei is impressed by Yuto's potential, who only continues to improve in each round. He's like a textbook comic hero who just keeps on getting better and better to defeat the villain. Kei thinks it'll be a healthy experience for Yu, as his final opponent will be his toughest, the heavyweight world champion Eren. Round 4 until 6, Yuto's undying spirit and stamina perseveres. He's received countless attacks and is hoping to create a miracle against his opponent. Coach K wonders how our boy is feeling in this fight. It's clear that he is starting to feel exhausted. So now that he's in a pinch, Coach K wonders what he will do. Yuto suffers another brutal knockdown. No one wants him to get up. No one except the man himself. He tries, but his body gives out as his dead eyes lay resting before Moisaki. He remembers a conversation they shared under the night sky. She thought he worked way over than what he should. So as a lesson, she told him about the harsh truths of reality and how he would overcome them. There is a bleak risk of being shattered after working hard. Misaki feared this outcome the most for Yuto. She wants him to treasure life as she's lost precious friends too, but the fact she could experience such incredible people made her life fulfilling enough. She thinks that Yuto should treasure the same gift of life by resting his heavy burden once and for all. The world champion, no. The boy she brought up from a young age became her greatest gift. Yuto Takeda, fueled with passionate eyes, gets back up again. His light reminds Yu of Jay's persistence. The round begins with Yu dodging a heavy attack. It's getting harder and harder to evade this boxer's attacks. Yuto Takeda has taken the center stage with an incredible lead. His coach is stunned because the most exceptional thing happened. Yuto Takeda lacked the flow of movement that geniuses like Yu possessed. But now, in the midst of this fight, he has acquired that flow. The talentless boy entered the domain of peak talent, evolving and skyrocketing in growth. This monster is unstoppable, until he gets bashed with 3 critical attacks from his opponent. Yuto's body gives out. The monster's strength goes out of hand as the battle ends. Coach K out here bawling like he's seen heaven or some shit. During the moment Yu went on the extreme offensive, Coach K saw what he wanted to see. The awakening of the monster left the junior welterweight champion in critical health. Misaki gets damn pissed and tries to slap Yu, but Kei is there to stop the bitch. Misaki boasts that she didn't see boxing in that ring. She sees Yu and his coach as monsters. Meanwhile, the man himself, Eren Tide, has his eyes set sharp on the boxer who will eventually challenge him someday. Yuto's condition is terrible, to the point he's shattered his jaw and may never be able to box again. Misaki ends up sitting to the side, regretting that she didn't throw in the towel sooner. She is regretting ever having taught him how to box. Misaki weeps thinking she's failed both her friends, but Yuto utters a sincere thank you for everything. Misaki remembers all the memories they shared together and is indebted to the boy who gave her life meaning. We get to see a fruit basket attached to a note from Yamaguchi who wants his big bro to recover soon. After a while, Yuto manages to speed up recovery and is on track to be discharged very soon. The doctor also tells them they have a patient who is a big fan of Blue Boy. This little guy received continued donations from Yuto for his treatment of a rare disease. He fights for his life every day, and there is no sign of recovery. However, seeing the champion fight on the big screen gave him the courage he needed, just like Yuto, who got back up many times. The little boy expresses that he too wants to become strong like his idol. His words remind the former junior welterweight champion of his father. Yuto breaks down, hoping that he fulfilled his father's expectations of a strong person. He finally receives a moment to become fragile after his impressive run in the boxing world. The scene switches to a nasty duo of brothers. Middleweight world champion Fabrizio Santorino has just seen the newcomer obliterate 2 champions back-to-back. His brother and trainer Marco Santorino knows that they're next on the line. The staggering defeat of Yuto Takeda led to not just one, but the fall of 2 more champions. Yu became the champion of 4 divisions and racked up an audience grossing comparable to Fabrizio Santorino. With Yu demolishing numerous weight classes without a problem, his next target is the one and only scoundrel of the boxing world. Fabrizio makes a sudden appearance on stage, shocking everyone. This guy receives a ton of backlash from the audience thanks to his shoddy reputation. Fabrizio doesn't give a fuck and impressively praises Yu for not receiving a single hit in any of his fights. To give the world a show, Fabrizio pops open a handgun, as if to challenge Yu to dodge a bullet. The crowd goes even more wild seeing this maniac pull up something threatening right in the champion's face. Our cold protagonist doesn't even entertain the idea of fear, while Fabrizio slowly pulls the trigger. It turns out to be a prank to scare the world, which is in tune with Fabrizio's mischievous nature. The audience doesn't like him for pulling up with such a nasty idea of a joke. That is, until Fabrizio uses the same gun to shoot real shots in the air, silencing them all. He declares that he'll annihilate his opponent in the ring instead. The scene shifts to Carmen, who's just popped up at our boy's place. She's brought a bunch of her men, much to Yu's confusion. They begin inspecting every quarter-inch of the house on behalf of Kay's orders. The fact that cameras were discovered inside means something is definitely not right. Carmen handles unknown packages and discovers another one of Fabrizio's pranks. He sent our boy the corpse of a headless cat so that he could scare the man. She tells her men to handle the situation and explains that both of the Santorino brothers are a little fucked up in the head. Marco does everything in his power to intimidate and scare Fabrizio's opponents before they even enter the ring. They're like pigs, but Kay's team can handle a bunch of pigs. Carmen is put in charge of inspecting everything that Yu is to come in contact with. The mental warfare between the world champions is already underway. After a deep inspection of the site, they found 30 devices to spy on our boy. Carmen explains that a boxer named Chavo Urus became the middleweight champion after the retirement of Bob Norris. Yes, this is the same Bob from the commentators. He's one of the legendary 5 that Kay trained and made a killing machine out of. Carmen muses that Kay's last 2 students are barely anything resembling humans. Soon after becoming champion, Chavo caused a sudden upset being defeated by Fabrizio, who toyed with his mind. The man manipulating him behind the scenes was Marco, who made sure the boxer couldn't fight at his best. This is to emphasize that Yu's next opponent will take more than just raw skill to defeat. These guys are pussies who don't fight on fair grounds. Carmen warns our boy to trust only her and Coach K. Yu's usual training continues with Carmen keeping a strict watch. She learned that his daily life is pretty pathetic, as all he does is cycle between the home and the gym. There's a sudden shift in Yu's eyes, as if he's even more depressed now. After this training, Carmen and Yu head home when he asks about the bodyguards. She tells him they're guarding his place. She tells Yu to prioritize his own life if they ever get attacked in public since she can handle the threats by herself. At home, Carmen is forced to be his cook since they can't trust anyone. She recommends that he doesn't eat food outside since fast food workers are easy to be bought as they're already surviving on pennies. Carmen winds up preparing a bunch of different dishes for him to eat, admiring her own cooking skills. She's stunned when she sits across the table from him and sees Yu's frowning expression, something she had never seen from him before. Poor girl gets triple the shock when our boy can't even eat her food without throwing up. Carmen's self-esteem gets disintegrated as Yu barely manages to finish his meal. At night, he takes a shower before bed. Bro's got the physique of a Greek god throughout his years of training, and unfortunately, even our girl Carmen can't ignore looking at them. She's out here remembering how he built an impressive physique ever since he started training. After the shower, she's surprised to learn that Yu doesn't like sleeping in the bedroom. He prefers the bare floor out of bed, surprising best girl once again. Since Carmen has to keep watch over him, they sleep together. She thinks Yu is more human than she initially thought. She could see it in his eyes that he was about to cry. The idea of a human side for this boxing monster intrigues her. The guards working under Kay deliver the footage to Kay. Bro is out here stalking Yu on speed dial. The next day, these poor guards have to suffer keeping up with the world champion's training routine. Despite their excellent endurance, they're still no match for the quadruple world champion. When Yu ends up home, he sees an unsightly and bed hair version of Carmen. She instantly slams the door shut before returning like nothing even happened. Bro is genuinely confused about what happened. At the gym, Kay shows him Fabrizio's recent boxing match. The fight was against the middleweight champion against the world contender John Renault. The coach can just see it on John's face that he's gone through their shit before the fight. The dude is going crazy, much to the satisfaction of the Santorino brothers. The fight begins on near enough equal grounds. Yu is a little taken aback while his coach explains that Fabrizio excels in a dogfighting style. He's the dirtiest world champion when it comes to his rough movements. There's no sense of defense and the only focus is on the attack. Fabrizio excels in a theatrical boxing style, earning their slander. The opponents he fights are forced to pursue his boxing style, but that's exactly where he wants them. Kay even mentions that Fabrizio is using drugs to cut the distance between their strengths. Peter is among the people of the crowd and recalls the experience from their interview. They don't even give a crap about boxing, both of them. Marco criticizes the boxing fans but thinks they're doing the sport a service by giving everyone a good show. John gets headbutted but the referee doesn't even call it. When he retaliates, however, he gets instantly accused and warned. It's obvious they even bought the referee in this case. Marco takes pride in how the Santorinos handle the boxing world. The match that was supposed to be a show of professionalism was reduced to a dogfight. The reason John became so incredibly angry is when he learned from his daughter she's dating Marco. Now that's an uppercut not even Mike Tyson could recover from. She was manipulated by Marco into believing that he was a good person. Even though his father warned her, she naively trusted Marco. Then one day she came home crying her eyeballs out. It was clear what had happened. It was clear that Marco broke her completely. This is the reason John wants to slaughter Fabrizio, who perfectly plays on the boxer's emotion to deliver the killing blow. Despite being the better fighter, John was defeated because of a dozen fouls and the manipulation tactics of his opponents. This was the kind of challenge that Yu was up against. He resumes his early morning training with Carmen, who is surrounded by multiple men secretly eyeing them. The drunkard right in front has been paid a boatload of money to spill something on Yu. They even doped the shit out of him to make sure he does what he is told. When Yu draws near, the man pretends that he slipped, but our boy just shadow steps so fast and dodges him. Carmen had laid out the initiatives for Yu. She prioritized that he stay clear of any people who come in contact with him. She also wanted him to stay away from the reporters' questions. Marco's out here spilling hundreds of nasty rumors about our boy. Carmen knew they were going to try and manipulate the media, but she's happy to give them something in return. She sneaked in spies of her own among Santorino's men. So the next day, he's the one who swims in hot waters being flooded by the media. Instead of annoyance, he's impressed. In this game, money prevails and Kay's got an endless amount thanks to his gym. Everything is going well except for our boy's food, which is apparently dreadful. The packages he receives are all being burned for his safety. She can't ever leave his side or use any electronic devices. But that's nothing to worry about since this guy is a super introvert who doesn't use anything. Carmen drills into his head that while Fabrizio won't lay a finger on him, Yu's cat is another thing. She prefers that he stay on his guard to protect his meow. Bro, the coach is staring at the cat like crazy. He is definitely cooking something. It's been half a decade since Yu's appearance at her gym. The high school student had now gone on to conquer 4 weight divisions. She thinks it's no shock he will win his upcoming fight and wonders if Kay's ultimate goal is to make him defeat Aaron. But even after defeating the legendary boxer, she fears our boy disappearing into nothingness just like the others. Just when she's having these thoughts, their group gets approached by a bunch of thugs. She's surprised and wonders if she miscalculated the thugs in the area. Carmen prioritizes Yu's safety, but our boy is already busy taking care of the threat. He literally grabs the gun and shoots their ankles. The boxer is about to end their lives when Carmen stops him at the last second. She realizes that he was actually about to kill these people. It was the same as Jean or Yuto when he stopped holding back. Despite this monstrous and uncaring side of his, our girl is a believer in his humanity and desperately hopes there is something human underneath his skin. To figure that out, she suddenly asks our boy on a date. The quadruple world champion is a mega virgin who doesn't know what to do on a date. Carmen explains the basics, and Yu accepts. So on their next off day, Yu receives her looking all dressed up and amazing. But she's a little disappointed since our boy is planning to go out wearing the most default man outfit ever. Carmen gives him a hairdo and learns that Kay recommended his spiky hairstyle for the ring. With his hair done, she wants them to go shopping to get our boy some drip. Carmen pulls out the flashiest shit for him to wear. The duo looks so embarrassed, but the best girl makes him wear the outfit anyway. Yu is definitely not feeling it while Carmen is eating it up on his embarrassment. They go through a bunch of different outfits, all of which make her laugh. Then Bro pulls up with a classic suit that makes him look like a model. Carmen gives him the green signal and proceeds to check out. They go to an amusement park. The roller coaster doesn't even amuse our boy, but at least it's entertaining for his girl and his cat. They explore a bunch of different enjoyments together. Bro even has a balloon of his own cat, such a Sigma male. Through their photographs, Carmen finds annoyance with Yu's blank expression. She tasks him to follow a technique she is going to use. Carmen meticulously crafts the most beautiful smile while Yu looks like an abomination. Their next muse is a haunted house. This girl is out here fantasizing about their couple life like crazy. The plan is to draw closer to him when she gets scared. She reminds him not to attack people in the presence of ghosts. But this hypocrite is scared so badly that she bashes the hell out of the zombie. Girl ends up neutralizing the threat for real. Carmen is starting to realize that she just might have feelings for our boy. More haunted than any of the mannequins is Jean's dead face. Both of their girls scare each other while the men stare in confusion. Carmen is surprised to meet the former world champion in such a location. She's suspicious of him first, but remembers that this guy has honor and won't flinch in the presence of money. Stella openly despises Yu because the guy sent her man to the afterlife in their fight. But Carmen is no slouch. She's out here dishing out some real verbal retorts. They share a table together with Stella and Carmen on rough grounds while Jean is surprised to see him at such a location. He has noticed something about him. The former lightweight champion can't forget any instance of their fight. What's bothering him is the relaxed look in Yu's eyes, as if he has regained some humanity. Jean looks to Carmen and wonders if it's her influence. Bro is out here acting like a gigachad father as he openly spoils his kid. One of the cones ends up falling on top of Yu's head. This comes as an actual shock to Jean, as our boy would never get hit by something like that. Carmen draws information from his match against Marco, who actually gave him a tough fight back then. The guy specialized in expert strategy, and even gave Jean a difficult time. Unfortunately, he was stronger and still won, but Marco's obsession with winning was clear to anyone. The former lightweight champion wants Yu to be on his toes as his opponents are dangerous. Parting ways, Jean just can't help but be bothered about the ice cream accident. He's actually scared of his loss if he keeps relaxing. The day come to an end with the couple chatting with each other. Carmen explores if he found what he was looking for. Yu tells her he wanted to pursue it, but now he's even more confused than before. She questions if Yu will continue his boxing career even if he doesn't find what he is looking for. Carmen recommends that he tries to find that same light in a different aspect of life. She wants him to enjoy the delicacies of life so that he doesn't have to look for anything. She's out here delivering god-tier riz by saying the light might be sitting next to him. After the fireworks, a strange girl approaches Yu as a fan, but she has a message for Carmen from Marco. She rips the note without even reading it. Everything was going well until that point. Carmen still enjoyed the date and prefers they return to their regular life. At that moment, Yu makes an unusual request to go on more dates with her. She feels delighted to say yes, while Marco secretly enjoys their scene. Their daily routine continues as usual, and Yu is actually starting to like her food now. But the more he likes her, the more his boxing skills are taking a hit. The coach is mad, pissed, and wants to have a meeting with Carmen. He scolds her for having fun with him. Coach K is super annoyed and even confronts her for having feelings. Carmen tries to reason, but she gets shut down and relieved of her duty to guard him. Instead, Yu receives Mr. Funny Nose as his new security guard. When Carmen returns home in a sour mood, she is blindsided by a stalker who was awaiting her arrival. The crazy middleweight champion Fabrizio had been waiting for this moment. A callback to the boy's first question. He never found what made it so interesting to hit people. Carmen's state is in a pinch as she suffered nasty injuries thanks to Fabrizio. Yu is devastated when Kay gives him the news. Kay takes the blame for not being careful enough with Carmen's health. He doesn't want Yu to be affected personally and emphasizes that he focuses on his training. In their press conference, Kay meets Marco and immediately confronts him about Carmen's situation and takes light of the matter. The interviewer asks for their impressions of the other person. Marco states that he is extremely proud of the coach with his undying thirst for victory. However, at the same time, he thinks that the boxers under his reign are toys that he plays with. But his newest obsession is just as much of a monster, so he thinks it evens out. The next hearing is from Coach K. My guy pulls the oldest trick in the book and swings full speed for a "your mom" joke. The crowd goes wild while Marco literally tries to attack him. Kay welcomes him to try because he's more than ready to beat the ever-living shit out of him. It's rare for even Marco to get peeved to this extent. The interviewer quickly shuffles to Fabrizio next, who openly declares that he will kill Yu in the ring. The atmosphere is tense as the microphone is finally handed to Yu. The quiet boxer remembers his heartfelt encounters with the one person who didn't see him as a person and valued his life as a human. In the end, hitting people led to the demise of Carmen. Yu breaks the ice and states that he isn't going to finish the fight quickly. He gives the spectators a shivering smile to emphasize that he's going to destroy Fabrizio in all 12 rounds. Peter is shocked because this is a first for Yu, who never even gave his opinion until today. After the conference, Marco vents off his frustration while Fabrizio is juicing the hell out of his body. It's necessary for him to take full doses because of Yu's insane abilities. Carmen wakes up the day of the fight. The crowd is going wild, especially for Yu's impressive track record of conquering divisions. Emerging from the side, Yu approaches the ring, causing the entire arena to go crazy and cheer for him. However, for his opponent, the faces of celebration quickly turn to expressions of anger. This man is met with no praise and instead receives the crowd with incredible hate. The Santorino brothers could not give a flying fuck about these guys, and straight up hit them with double the middle fingers. Fabrizio's hands are wrapped by the referee to prevent cheating, but Peter thinks it's actually a performance for the audience. Bob Norris believes that the fight is in Yu's favor since he survived the emotional turmoil already. At the same time, Fabrizio is looking juiced the hell up. This dude's abs look like they have abs. Coach K is aware of their doping and openly tells Yu to do whatever he pleases in this fight. The fight is about to begin with Yu not even showing a hint of expression. This monster is out for blood as the tension rises between the two fighters. The fight begins with Fabrizio lunging forth to attack. This kind of speed is on par with Yu's reflexive capabilities. This is thanks to Marco's genius plan, which involves Fabrizio becoming a monster so that they can defeat him. The middleweight maniac is still keeping pressure. Marco has planned for this fight to end up in psychological warfare. Knowing his impressive track record of never being hit even once, Marco has determined that Yu has a kind of phobia of receiving attacks. So Fabrizio pulls up a dirty little low kick, an illegal move. A normal fighter would take the hit, but Yu would always dodge because of his godlike reflexes. Dodging in an unusual manner would expose his weak point, allowing Fabrizio to cave in and attack him just like Yu's debut match. To his shock, our boy slips the punch by reading the movements of Fabrizio's shadow. He follows with a raging slam that flips Fabrizio's entire body in one shot. The whole world is shocked as the cheater goes down in one attack. More than that, Yu's body is pulsing in an abnormal manner. Coach K wanted to play by their rules and received an enhancement drug of his own. He's enjoying the show, while the effects of the drug massively increase Yu's performance. Carmen senses that something is not right. Fabrizio somehow gets up after that vicious punch. The round continues while Marco reflects that he intentionally hit him in the face instead of knocking him out in full. After all, it was Yu's promise to the Santorino brothers that he will annihilate them for 12 rounds. The scene shifts to Carmen, who remembers being captured by Fabrizio. Her oldest memory of her childhood is when her family was captured by terrorists. The helpless girl watched both of her parents lose their lives before her eyes. The feeling of loss made her shiver in fear, causing her brain to shut down. She had lost hope and accepted her end when a younger Kay rescued the girl and supported her until she grew up. After she grew up, she wanted to work under him, but by then, Kay had become an unrecognizable man. When Carmen was captured by Marco, she was mainly unharmed, even though they were trying to intimidate her. She comforted her in the face of fear and uncertainty. Marco entered the room and stated that he wouldn't have taken such harsh methods if she complied previously. He cut to the chase and explained that he wanted to make an offer. Interestingly, he asked about you. Carmen responded that they boast a professional relationship, but Marco knows she wants to help the boxer live a normal life, away from the clutches of his harsh career. He's aware that a man like Kay would never allow such a thing to come true, as he is messed up in the head. The monster that is being nurtured under Kay's care is slowly going to lose all his humanity as a toy of an obsessed old man. Marco wonders if Yu ever wanted to box in his life. His offer is simple. He requires Carmen's cooperation to make Yu lose the fight, setting him free of the obsessed coach. Even though Marco is supposed to be an enemy, Carmen agrees with his words. It's clear as day that Kay's obsession will lead to Yu's descent to madness. At the same time, she believes in the man who saved her. She believes that both of them still possess a human side. Carmen declines the deal and recommends Marco to win the fight fairly. After that, she remembers waking up in the hospital bed. Mr. Funny Nose, or Yu's new guard, tells her about the current state of the match. Carmen remembers Marco setting her free without even hurting her. She couldn't understand his gesture, but it's because Marco doesn't really want Yu's anger to fester into oblivion, so he let her go without hurting her. Then comes the question, how did Carmen get reduced to such a position? She explains bumping into a bunch of thugs, even though it's clear she defeated them last time. In the ring, Yu is delivering a slaughterfest before the audience's eyes. They're seeing the hated middleweight champion get annihilated by his own medicine. The commentator Bob believes that Yu would have easily won the fight without the drugs. But this is Kay we are talking about. He wanted to prove a point, making it clear to anyone who dared to challenge them. He is the one manipulating people and beating them at their own game. He contemplated unaliving our boy's cat and even used Carmen's condition as the perfect catalyst for Yu's performance. After John Renault lost the fight, he learned from his daughter the truth of the matter. Marco didn't do anything to her and was only trying to scare her away. She begged her father to stop fighting them as they didn't cause her any harm. This paints the Santorino brothers in a different picture. They're not actually villains or malicious people like the rumors claim, but that doesn't matter to Yu, who is demolishing them in this match without a hint of remorse. Carmen, even in her compromised condition, wants to do something, but Funny Nose recommends that she doesn't try. It's because the lengths Kay is willing to cross are boundless. Funny Nose reminds her that Kay is a ruthless man who has taken countless lives in his time. He urges Carmen to stand down. In the ring, Fabrizio has suffered a mountain of injuries. Before the fight, Marco told his brother to remember Yu's game plan. Since he wanted to draw this fight out, it's a confirmation he will make sure to bash him for all 12 rounds. Fabrizio knew from then that it would be impossible to get the better of his opponent. The good thing about this fight is that Yu isn't interested in a quick victory. Coming as a shock to the commentators, Fabrizio drops his guard completely. He has assumed the stance of a grappler who is ready to use his reach to his advantage. But the monster Yu is not to be underestimated as he lunges forth and disappears into thin air. Reappearing from behind, Yu violently delivers dozens of punches all over the man's body with his superhuman speed. The thought of Carmen makes him speed up his punches even more. A satisfied Kay concludes that no matter how many tricks his opponent has up their sleeves, sheer power will dominate everything. The current Yu is striking down on his opponent like a calamitous disaster. There's no stopping his wrath, and he emphasizes this point by dishing out a furious punch in Fabrizio's family jewels, taking it upon himself to eradicate the next generation of scoundrels. Everyone saw this low blow of a punch, but the audience cheers for it while the referee refuses to hold Yu accountable. Marco learns that Kay bought the referee to such a disgusting amount that he's intentionally looking it over. The situation is going against Marco's favor, whose face is of frustration while Kay dominates as the true predator in this war. Fabrizio gets the ever-living shit beat out of him and eventually loses consciousness as the first round ends. The man vomits after taking so much damage he can barely stand. The audience is cheering for the scumbag's demise as they look down on the Santorino brothers. Somewhere in a church, a woman is desperately praying in the time of hopelessness. The big brother steps into the ring to save him. Marco remembers their mother giving him a drink to perform his best. Even though he didn't want Fabrizio to consume it, he did so anyway. She wants them to stop the fight if they can't win, as their mother truly cares for her children. Fabrizio wants to win this match for her mother, but right now, even his brother's words are incomprehensible to him. Marco instantly realizes that something is not right, as evident by the color of his lips. That's when he realizes another layer of Kay's treachery. This man delivered spiked milk for Fabrizio to drink right before the match. Their poor mother is basically the definition of a retarding person. The three siblings boasted different hair colors because their mother tried to pay off the debt their papa left them. Marco didn't despise being poor and thought this was just the way things are, but then he could see her mother struggling to pay rent. When leaving for school, Fabrizio and Marco never spent a day in class. They couldn't go to school but wanted to earn money so that Julia could. Marco was the intelligent one of the group and led the operations. He busied people with conversations while Fabrizio snatched their money. That's how they went around collecting cash. But their mother became desperate and didn't have the money to pay. She went out late and returned by morning. The poor brothers understood her pain and wanted to collect enough money to save her from this pain. The world was cruel to all. Even if they were the rich or the poor, nothing mattered. The boys living in the slums were no exception to the rule. They were beaten down by a man who confronted their mother for stealing. He was threatening to report them to the police station if she didn't do as he said. She returned home the next morning to confront her kids. The boys had no words and ended up receiving their mother's beating. They knew that stealing was bad, but seeing their mother's condition, Marco couldn't sit around. He didn't accept the world who had treated his mother with such violence despite her disability. To them, evil is the way of the world. She even cried after beating them up, apologizing for being an irresponsible adult. Marco couldn't accept this world and sought revenge as his only salvation. The young boy sought his brother's guidance to read. Marco and Fabrizio learned at a young age that world champions make a disgusting amount of money and eat good food. The match resumes in a bloodbath with Fabrizio getting annihilated. Back then, the boys wondered if they should continue school and ask the teacher's help. Marco liked the idea and taught his brother how to read first. He returned in the afternoon after spending quite some time looking for their school. Marco did various jobs as a little boy to collect the money. His family rested, but Fabrizio realized that his brother was working day in and out. Marco wanted to exact his revenge against the man who toyed with his mother. He knew from a young age that he couldn't become a good adult. At the same time, Marco didn't wish for Fabrizio and Julia to grow up like him. He wanted to make his brother world champion or achieve something great while he did all the bad things. That night, the boy left to find the drunkard bald freak. He picked up a dollar bill, but right as he did, Marco bashed him with a stick. The little guy underestimated how many hits it would take to knock him out, so he sprinted and laid many traps. Tripping into one of those traps, the man fell face flat into a pool of tar. Using this opportunity, the boy whirled sharp stones all over his head. He knew he couldn't fight a grown man up front, so he took extreme measures to attack from a distance. The bald freak became enraged, playing right into Marco's hands. He had laid many traps for him in the alley. The drunk idiot chose to pursue the boy instead of thinking strategically. In his pursuit, Marco whirled another trap. A heavy boulder bashed the man's spine, but it wasn't enough to defeat him completely. Marco deployed another trap and smashed his nose, yet this persistent freak wasn't letting him go. The boy tried to run until he stopped and confronted him with a sharp weapon. Bald Egghead made fun of the kid for going around trying to kill people. He created a distraction and delivered an agonizing punch that caused the boy to fall to his knees. Egghead calls Marco's mother trash and thinks that he should dispose of the evil kid. Marco confirms that the man is indeed right, and that he should get rid of a scumbag like him. Fabrizio clutches the situation as he and his brother beat the shit out of the bald freak. The two brothers took down the man and collected his money. To make an example out of him, Marco took measures to make sure he never did anyone wrong again. After the fight, his brother confessed that he didn't want to go to school. Instead, he wanted to follow in his brother's footsteps. Marco wanted to learn how to box and become world champions so that no one could look down on them. The following day, the paralyzed man was discovered after receiving a brutal takedown by the two boys. They even made their mother happy with the meat they bought with the money. Even though the meat pie was terrible in taste, it was enough for the happiness of the Santorino family. Marco's mother liked Sundays because she got to pray and enjoyed family time with her children. Marco and Fabrizio's next venture was to learn how to box. Unfortunately, a boxing gym didn't exist in their village, and illegal clubs were the only thing they knew. One day, an old drunkard offered them a chance to learn how to box. Luciano Mondi introduced himself, but really he's just a nobody to the boys. This old man happened to be at the scene of the crime and saw everything. Marco threatened him back. The old man saw the vigor in their eyes and offered to teach them how to box. This is how they met their first master. He wanted them to beat the shit out of each other without really teaching them anything. Fabrizio and Marco started punching each other while Luciano observed their abilities. He could see that Fabrizio is a natural fighter who is handling his older brother without much of a problem. But when it comes to good decision-making, Marco is the one who is the better of the two. He has determined strategy and knows how to plan for a good future. Luciano tells them about the two aspects involved in boxing, both mental and physical. Each of them has been blessed by one. The brothers confess their desire to become world champions. Luciano doesn't think it's enough because a world champion boasts both the physical and mental aspects. Since they specialize in one each, it will be hard. But the final aspect to boxing comes down to pure obsession of winning. That is what made the Santorino brothers so determined. The drunk man boastfully claimed he would help them become world champions if they learned from him. So from that day forward, he taught them how to fight. Luciano didn't want them to focus on their weaknesses, and instead prioritize their strengths. He was ruthless with their training. Time passed as they entered their teen years and eventually blossomed into adulthood. Once they became adults, they confronted their wretched father who left the kids and their mother undefended with a load of debt. They beat him up and required him to sign unless he wanted a world of a beating. Luciano didn't interfere in their business and didn't care what they did. He wanted to give them advice but remembered he isn't their parent. Marco invited him for dinner to celebrate Christmas. Moving forward to their family dinner, the drunkard and his boys are pretending to know him as their boss. At home, their mother is surprised to meet an unexpected guest. Marco introduced Luciano as their boss. She treated him with kindness. Julia had also grown up around this time and became surprised to see the older man. She was always the observant type, so Marco had to quiet her down. Julia quickly broke the ice and even played around with Luciano's beard. It might have seemed like Marco's mother is about to end his life, but even she joins in on the fun. The dinner is ready at last. The family offers a prayer before enjoying the delicious meal. After the night, Luciano thanked the boys for showing him a good time. Marco offered him to come live with them, but the drunkard thought that his only place was in the gutter. Luciano parted them with sound advice. He didn't want them to become arrogant, as there were stronger and more violent people in the world. He advised them to stray from the path of crime and become good people. Fabrizio shifted the conversation topic to a snowball fight. The boomer receives a snowball on his face. Playing with him in the snow, they felt like children and enjoyed the moment. Marco stated that they're still going to become world champions after clearing the village of crime. He has accepted his life as a criminal. Marco just wants to become the necessary evil to take out the trash. He harbors good intentions for the world in his own way, and doesn't mind receiving the weight of punishment when he dies. Luciano doesn't hold them accountable for their sins as he thinks everyone is the same. He wished the best for them, before saddeningly losing his life to the mafia. Julia was chatting up her mother about Luciano when suddenly, tragedy struck. Their mother's health declined. Maria prays for the safety of her children. But nothing goes her way with Yu pummeling Fabrizio in the ring. Julia comes to receive her mother, who is still not feeling her best. Her son is experiencing a world of pain though, and still asking for more. The match has suddenly turned into a boxing bloodbath. Even Bob is confused why the doctor and the referee has not interfered in the fight yet. Normally it would be stopped at once, but Marco knows that the association requires the Santorino brothers to stop the fight themselves. After all, the crowd is going wild with the entertainment and cheering of brutality. Coach K has played his cards perfectly. The round concludes, but it's only been 4 out of 12 so far. Marco recommends stopping the match as even after losing the title, they will still have plenty of opportunity to collect money. But his brother is surprised and doesn't want to stop in the middle of a fight. He's frustrated at the thought of humiliation. One day, Maria and Julia were attacked by a bunch of crooks. While they remained safe, Luciano suffered critical injuries and suffered a major gash in his abdomen. At the start of the 5th round, Yu is staring down at his prey. Fabrizio remembers Luciano's words, who thought that they could become the most powerful figures in the underworld, but they still shouldn't go down such a path. He recommended his pupils to live their lives as accomplished boxers, even though there were people like Jean and Bob in the world who they could never defeat. He even warned them they might run into a true monster someday. Luciano's prediction was right as Fabrizio stared into the eyes of the predator. He reminded them that winning in life is impossible as enemies are always replaced by new ones. People only live a brief period of becoming the strongest before fading. Such was the life of his own family. It is hinted that he also dabbled into a similar path as the Santorino brothers and lost his family. He didn't care about the meaning of teaching those 2 young boys boxing, even if they didn't end up becoming world champions. Later, the Santorino brothers had to help their mother get a brain surgery. Yu slams down on Fabrizio, much to Kei's content. He wants him to show no mercy. Fabrizio struggles to keep up against him while Macro is still indecisive of what should be done. Luciano's life came to an end with his parting message for his pupils. Julia rushes her mother to the emergency room because of her condition. Fabrizio is in no condition to fight while Marco begs that he stop the pointless match. But he doesn't want to quit, as quitting would invalidate all of their efforts and everything they've done so far. The fight continues even though Marco fully understands his brother is outclassed by the terrifying boxer. He's ready to throw the towel the second he feels his brother's life is in danger, which is surprising because that dude is barely surviving in this fight. The 7th round officially makes Fabrizio the only boxer to have withstood Yu's wrath to this extent. The terrifying boxer makes his offense without mercy. He doesn't spare even a moment for Fabrizio to attack. He remembers a conversation he shared with his brother when they were young. At the beginning of round 8, people started questioning the meaning of continuing the fight. Fabrizio doesn't want to succumb to this fight even if it breaks him. Round 9 starts off with Yu still demolishing this guy. He has probably hit him like 300 punches at least. Bro is eating that shit and questioning life. At the start of round 10, Fabrizio bears a hatred for the world. He hates that people have to struggle so much to live such normal lives. Round 11, the ring is tainted with the blood of the middleweight world champion. Finally, round 12, the final round. Having survived up until this point, Fabrizio's face looks like it's going to need plastic surgery. Marco is about to surrender when the men of the association forcefully stop him. The concept of right and wrong is fragile and malleable. While Julia is begging for her mother's health, Marco is worried for his brother's life. What the world is bearing witness to is a public execution before their eyes. Marco begs Fabrizio to run. Yu demolishes his face with a brutal punch, one after the other. This time, Yu isn't holding back as he tears apart Fabrizio's body. The middleweight champion has already lost consciousness, and Yu is still going on and on without stopping. Fabrizio's condition is critical to the point he's lost his sense of hearing. All he sees is a monster that's tearing him apart. Fabrizio tries to punch him and prepares for a final bout. He embodies his philosophy and refuses to run from the ring. Fabrizio commands that he strike at him. Only 5 seconds remain on the clock. The monster charges for a final killing blow. This man is for real about to end him. 3 seconds as Julia is called by the doctor. 2 seconds as she remembers her family. The final second as Yu dashes full speed to end the man's life. The world comes to a shock when they see the presence of the radiant boxer appear on stage. He stopped Yu's punch and saved Fabrizio, while Julia also learns that her mother survived. The radiant figure, the one who had saved Yu from back then, has just appeared again. Some recognize him, some don't, but it's clear to many that Jay has stepped into the ring. The crowd wonders if he's making a comeback. Jay tells him that they'll encounter each other in the ring next time. He walks right past Kay, who hates his sudden entry and even threatens to kill him someday. The alphabets are having a real beef in this manhwa. Marco calls for immediate medical attention for his brother. After the conclusion of the middleweight title match, Yu won without any worries. Many had assumed that he was weak in longer time controls, but he showed everyone that he is the real deal. Peter thinks that Yu is the definition of a boxer who has crossed perfection and stepped into a line of inhumanity. There was a pivotal moment in this match. The retired boxer Jay personally stepped in to stop the fight. Normally, a lawsuit would be issued immediately against anyone who tries to pull such a stunt. But Jay is different. Nobody knows why he stepped in the ring. Peter knows that Yu has created a monster who continues to grow to terrifying strengths. Both Jean and Stella watch the match unfold. His wife is worried like hell, but the former lightweight world champion thinks it's Kay who they should be really worried about. He desperately hopes that Yu gets saved by someone someday. Yuto Takeda watched the fight too. His new girlfriend noticed that he looked sad. Yuto seconds her opinion because he remembers his dear old friend having a similar expression. The scene cuts to Steel, who realizes Yu has become too strong. Even though Jay should be proud of his friend's achievements, he doesn't like the direction where Yu is headed. Typhoon tells him to stop worrying as he has his own match to worry about. Jay has acquired impressive success in his weight division too, and approaches the title match soon. Fabrizio wakes up next to his brother, shocked that he's still in one piece after the fight. Marco tells him about Jay's interference, which comes as a confusion to them both. He apologizes for putting Fabrizio to such lengths. Instead of insulting his brother, the former middleweight world champion thinks they've lightened their load a little. The both of them begin to cry as they were just abused children who were trying to make money for their mother. After his recovery, they go and meet her, completing their happy and loving family. In the end, they're still the same, and that's the conclusion for the Santorino family, who accepted their meaning in life. With their chapter closed, now comes Yu's next opponent. His trainer, Andrei Vlashenko, is pumped to finally meet a contender who can defeat Victor. The emptiness of Yu. The boxer had a million questions rained down on him by the interviewers. They were even asking about Jay, but it's nothing Yu cares about. He asked for Carmen's return as his object of interest. Kay informed him she had quit as there were people like the Santorinos who could appear again. He felt pity for Yu, who grew attached to her, and remembered the various moments they shared together. Kay recommended that he take a week's worth of rest. During this break, he contemplated the meaning of life. Emptiness followed him wherever he went. Was it the dance clubs, or the operating room where patients were fighting for their lives? Was meaning found in a worrisome desk job, or among the people who protested the politicians? Could it be found in grief? You beg the question of the meaning of life. He was an empty boy with darkness of a past haunting him. Throughout everything that had unfolded up until this moment, Yu's mental state depreciated. Holding a gun to his head, he was about to end everything when the sight of his cat made him stop. The depressed boxer went to bed with his cat. The scene shifts to Aaron, who is watching the beautiful graveyard of stars in the sky. The heavyweight champion executes masterclass Riz at his wife. He expresses a kind of uncertainty. He knows that some kind of calamity is awaiting them. Angela comforts him like the supportive wife she is. Her smile helps him regain his confidence while Yu is out here dying single with his cat. Coach K is satisfied with his powerful punches. Their next target is the world champion Aaron. Even though Victor is supposed to be Yu's opponent, it's Aaron who he should really be worried about. The coach wants to grant him the perfect body to demolish his next obstacle. His training regimen will also increase in difficulty. Yu goes on to crush his following few opponents. It's always the same idiots thinking they can beat him until they get punched in the face. The first fight of the super middleweight division ended in less than 2 seconds. The second fight against the grizzly bear-looking Chad ended in 2 seconds as well. The super middleweight champion Rook Stone was demolished. In his third fight, Yu's opponent was whining because this dude knows he's about to get destroyed. His coach acknowledges him, so this single hairballed fuck thinks he's an anime protagonist who will win. That delusion gets uppercutted in his face as Yu wins the fight in less than 2 seconds. His last opponent is the champion of the light heavyweight division. He too gets crushed 1 second into the fight. Yu has solidified his status as the invincible boxer who has no equal. He's no longer giving the audience a show and instead focuses on slaughtering his opponents. Peter thinks that Yu's objective is Aaron, even though Victor is supposed to be his next opponent. The outcome of their fight remains to be unclear. Andre is out here cheering for his own pupil's demise when Mohawk Lover pops up and asks his coach what's up. The cruiserweight world champion doesn't think much of Yu's strength. Andre emphasizes that he won't be able to defeat someone like him. Victor nearly punches his own coach in the face. Bro has a kink for Mohawks and believes no one without one has a chance against him. What's more is that this dude literally has an entire cult of Mohawk men. It's not a surprise his own coach is fed up with him. Peter leaves his junior reporter Tommy to handle the interview with Victor. You might be questioning why, and the answer is quickly revealed when the young boy pops up at the gym. The gym looks like the opposite of what it should be. The punks pick on the scrawny-looking kid as he introduces himself. They bully and scare him shirtless while the poor boy apologizes. The interview begins with his coach Andre, who is straight up dissing his own boxer. He doesn't even have any remorse for the man, and straight up shit talks the ever-living crap out of his pupil. Andre explains that he became a trainer 8 years ago to pursue a traditional style. He wanted to become someone like Jean. At the time, his gym prioritized hard work. That is until one dude with a mohawk turned up. This dude looked goofy as hell, but he still had ferocious punching power. Victor impressed the coach with his powerfully charged punches. Andre introduced himself as the head coach and wanted him to pull for the world championship spot. Victor was fueled by the flames of excitement, but for Andre, it was the worst decision he ever made in his life. Because when he asked the dude to clean up, Victor boasted his obsession for mohawks. Andre realized that this guy is basically a dumbass with a lot of talent. He tried teaching him how to throw jabs, but this man thought it was insulting to throw such a punch. Andre decided to let him do as he pleases. He even placed a bet to do anything Victor wanted when he became world champion. The day of Victor's debut match, he wasn't doing anything but crazily throwing hooks. Of course, that left a lot of openings, and he got nuked in the face for it. His coach thought that it was pointless to have a single move as their specialty, but something happened in the 4th round. His opponent had grown too confident, but unfortunately slipped and received a devastating punch. It was a total knockout, and a first victory for the behemoth. Andre understood that luck played a huge role in this fight, so he hoped for his next opponent to teach him a lesson. But then Victor knocked him over too. The same thing happened and his lucky punch ended many boxers. Andre couldn't comprehend what was going on. Even though the boxer boasted an incredibly powerful punch, it was ridiculous to accept that a single move landed him a fight against the cruiserweight world champion himself. Mohawk Man had already acquired many supporters by then. Before entering the fight, Victor reminded his dear coach that he's going to make him get a mohawk after he wins. And that was the day Andre knew his life was over. Everyone's heard the famous quote from Bruce Lee about practicing one move. Mohawk Man is basically the definition of that quote. This guy spams only one attack, and that led him to contend for the title. In his match against Gilbert Einstein, even the commentator Bob Norris acknowledged the trash skills of the crazy boxer. But it's indisputable that he still won all his fights. Victor is the first champion to break every boxing convention and still win. The fight begins and this dude Einstein is legit throwing Newtonian punches out here. Bro is calculating everything as he tosses Victor's shit around. It's basically a smooth brain versus Einstein if he was buff. Victor got taken down, and quite unusual for a coach, Andre was actually cheering for his demise. Mohawk Man realized that he was up against a genius of boxing, but with the power of, I am angry therefore I am stronger, he pulled up again. Bro proceeded to get his shit tossed for 12 whole rounds until he was a mess. Even Andre was pissed that all his previous opponents were getting hit by something so flashy and losing to Victor. Bro is out here cheering for Einstein, who's throwing punches all Saitama style. Victor retaliated, but it wasn't any use. The genius decided to stop for one moment before delivering his revolutionary energy equation punch. What a phenomenal display as Victor gets taken down again. People thought it was the end for him, while Einstein urged that he acknowledge the difference in their might. But that's exactly the kind of remark that would awaken Mohawk Man's spirit. The dude's parents had mohawks too. Dude is a big ball of nothing. He's an animal without a mind who refuses to give up. Victor tells Goofy Einstein that he doesn't care about the future like intellectual people do. Bro gets called a one-brain-celled organism. Einstein is ending his career figuratively and literally. He rushes to finish his opponent, but tragedy strikes as even the famous Einstein slips and receives Victor's wrath in full. The fight ends with Victor's victory. Andre's fate was sealed as a new cruiserweight world champion was born. And that's how they got here. Andre emphasizes that the secret to Victor's success lies in his extreme natural luck. Andre emphasizes that luck is the only factor that contributed to the man's success. In fact, his disciple's very existence is an insult to boxing. Tommy Boy is filled with admiration because he's more than just excited for his match with Victor. His coach emphasizes that Yu's conditioning is for his battle against Aaron. His coach deems it impossible for the lucky fool to win again. Mohawk Man barges inside and doesn't give 2 cents about the interview. All he cares about is a special training session. Tommy doesn't know what's going on and gets excited when Victor tells him about his oh-so-powerful monologue about becoming the strongest creature on Earth. Dude just wanted to become a man who could wear his mohawk with pride. The solution was simple: defeat big and strong guys and become strong himself. So this dude went out in the wild and fought against boars, bulls, kangaroos, you name it, and he did it. His final challenge was a powerful bear. It was a spectacle of man versus beast. But unfortunately, even this bear had the misfortune of slipping and falling right to his doom. Victor secured his spot as the strongest when he suddenly realized his next goal. Dinosaurs from back then were the strongest, but then he couldn't understand why they went extinct if they were strong. The cruiserweight freak found his answer in absolute nature. His objective transitioned to achieving the ultimate punch. He thinks little of you as his power pales in comparison to the champion's fist. The special training arc begins. All this man cares about is flashy punches with obscene names. He climbs Everest to acquire a mountain punch, flies through a tornado punch, punches lava for magma punch, and even tackles the sea for the tsunami punch. Even Andre is out here praying to God to stop this man's ridiculousness. Bro is begging Zeus to run a lightning bolt up his ass. Lightning does strike down Victor, causing a moment of celebration. Bro thinks he's finally free, but the Mohawk Man, just like a lottery winner, remains unaffected. He's one of the rarest cases who survived after being struck by lightning. As for Yu, he's got pretty bad luck opening a paper can. Back at the Lions Boxing Club, Arnold is the top trainer who isn't feeling his brightest about Victor. That's because Yu's next opponent is someone favored by Lady Luck. He shares his concerns with Kay regarding the upcoming boxing match. Back to Victor's chaotic training arc. This dude is pummeling through ice in the Antarctic. Arnold tells the coach they should prepare something in advance since they're dealing with a boxer out of the ordinary. Victor, on the other hand, trains like a goddamn Dragon Ball Z character. He's just invented the iron punch in a construction cave. Resuming Arnold's conversation, he shares his obvious concerns of their opponent being an extremely lucky person. It's actually evident by Yu's shoelaces constantly getting snapped. This makes Arnold sweat bullets because the effects of luck are already kicking in. Mohawk Man trains in a contest of speed with his all-new Gatling punch, while Arnold recommends they go for a point-based strategy because the concept of a knockout could end up unlucky for you. At the same time, Kay thinks that even if they reduce the chances of misfortune happening, it's still possible to have the odds of failure stacked against them. Again, a light bulb snaps from the ceiling and crashes down, nearly hitting Yu, giving Arnold even more things to worry about. At the church, Andre is begging science to prevail. Tommy Boy is asking for a raise and an increase in height. Poor Midget got stuck with 2 struggles. Mohawk Man is thinking about shitting in his usual style. He receives the holy water on his fist, therefore blessing his chances with the holy punch. Bro has more punches than I have friends. Kay emphasizes that they can't change destiny, and that is the same for you. He doesn't even entertain the idea of him losing, as that's just impossible. The day of the match eventually arrived. 2 boxers of prestige were about to go head-to-head and make history once again. On one hand is Yu, an invincible fighter with the ambitious goal of conquering 8 weight classes. On the other side we have the cruiserweight world champion himself. The outcome of the match is unknown to everyone. Bob Norris, being our boy's #1 fan, thinks that he'll win no matter what. Such is the gap between their abilities. So in this fight, the odds are stacked against Mohawk Man. But he doesn't care because all he cares about is punishing spiky-looking dudes with sleepy eyes. Andre encourages him to become the strongest in the world. Victor roars like a wild beast, earning the praise and excitement of the crowd. Even Tommy Boy has been converted to a Mohawk stan. Aaron is watching this fight like everyone. The fight begins with both fighters lunging right at each other. Oddly enough, Yu's foot slips right at the beginning of the match, shocking Andre and Kay at the same time. Incredibly low odds somehow seem too easy for Victor to accomplish, as evident by his daring adventures and survivability. Victor launches a crushing knockout and our boy gets launched. The entire world is shocked as the referee deems Victor the champion. But this upsetting outcome is just a prank by the author, who damn near changes the story title to The Mohawk. After this match, Victor became impossible to ignore. He was considered the strongest boxer and even outshone Aaron. Such is the power of one's incredible mohawk. He answers a bunch of interview questions and claims to become the strongest boxer in the universe. The people cheered for their Mohawk champion, and soon he was asked to run for president. Andre couldn't believe his fucking eyes as to what was unfolding. Everything was in the champion's favor. They even ignored his nationality as a Russian boxer. Then he was even elected as the president thanks to his popularity. At this point, you might be wondering if this is a joke or not, because this guy goes crazy and even introduces an era of martial artists who would fight wars to determine world peace. World unification was officially achieved with the fists of one man, the Emperor of the World, Viktor Grigorievich. Bro introduced a policy to require wearing the Mohawk hairstyle, but unfortunately tragedy struck when the aliens invaded. Victor personally hopped on a fucking rocket and launched himself to space to fight the aliens. While all of this is going on in his head, the Cruiserweight World Champion has already been knocked out. Just to recap what happened before this clustered mess of a dream that we just saw, when Yu slipped, he remembered Ryu's impressive recoil punch. Copying the motions, Yu delivered a shattering smash that knocked the world champion, prompting his loss 1 second into the fight. This man Andre probably experienced the happiest day of his life. No one is surprised by the outcome of the fight, not even the commentators. Victor's boxing career ended in the ring, and he realized he actually lost the fight. His coach can finally trash-talk the heck out of him, and even taunts him for participating in the shortest boxing match ever. Victor and his coach can agree on one thing. It was fun, and that's all he cares about. Victor offers his hand to Yu, who reciprocates in kind. The Cruiserweight World Champion is shocked that such a tiny hand could throw a monstrous punch like that. Sensing his unease with boxing, Victor tried to persuade Yu to stop boxing. Kay, being a cockroach, intervened and called him a damn loser. Obviously it would spoil his plans, but that's how the Cruiserweight World title match ended. Yu has taken down 4 world champions who excelled at their class. Peter believes there is more to Victor's boxing than just luck, such as his excellent defense and endurance. It also goes to show for his trainer Andre, who refined his student to become the ultimate machine. If Victor didn't behave like a dumbass, he would have boasted the strength to contend against Aaron. But this buffoon lost to Kay's newest monster. The final fight between the two monsters of boxing is right around the corner. Coach K is physically pumped as he had been waiting for so long to get to this moment. The legendary boxer Aaron observes the fight and intends to hold a press conference. He's a loving man at home who really loves his kids. The following day, Aaron makes a speech that shocks the boxing world. He speaks directly of his retirement, refusing to become a toy of the old man who trained him. The announcement comes as a shock to Kay. Aaron's news causes a sudden upset in the boxing world, but he answers with a cold certainty that there's nothing in it for him to gain anymore. He doesn't want to become a showpiece to the world of entertainment. Coach K accepts his challenge and decides to exploit the world champion's weakness. K is ruthless in his resolve to prove Yu's superiority. When Bob Norris understood K's insanity, he refused to box under his name and switched his profession. The idea of boxing had become pointless to him. The same happened with Jason Freddy, as every boxer K trains becomes a crazy behemoth who eventually quits. Coach K went on a world trip to find his 5th protege. Even though he was looking for talent, K sought something that exceeded talent. Something inhuman. Something that exceeded even the 3rd and 4th proteges who became his champions. K continued his undying research for a superhuman monster. Then one day, when he had lost all hope, he observed his driver Aaron. The man boasts an impressive body and a wide frame. K was eager to test him out in the art of boxing. But just like Yu, his answer was similar in a way that he did not appreciate hitting people. They decided to take a detour because of traffic. Eventually, his driver requested K to remain seated and call the police while he's there. Saying so, he got out of the car to save a woman from a criminal. K was excited for this moment to play out and waited in anticipation. The man refused to let her go even after Aaron told him a 3rd time. He exploded in anger and stabbed the woman's thigh. Facing a man with a knife is no easy task. K was looking to test the man's physical prowess in this fight. The criminal lunged forth to stab him, but to his shock, the blade couldn't even penetrate his body. K remembers his muscles popping out beneath his clothes. He was the kind of talent that he had been desperately looking for. Aaron Kidney requested the bald freak to stand down. Even after being stabbed, he isn't looking to hurt him. Aaron decides to launch this guy into the wall. The sound of a skull being shattered reverberated in the scene. Bro literally killed a guy, and K was eating it up. The police arrived at the scene to handle the situation. They were shocked to learn a punch could cause such severe damage. Before their arrival, Aaron officially apologized to K, but the coach helped him instead. He didn't want the guy to get into trouble and created a scene where he was stabbed. In case you still haven't noticed, this old man is actually crazy. Kay lured him with the idea of discovering the meaning behind his existence. After the crime scene, there weren't any charges pressed against Aaron as he acted in self-defense. At the Lions boxing gym, he tore apart boxers despite his first time ever boxing. Kay wanted to bring out the extent of his power. Just then, one of the old boxers he trained turned up to exact revenge. Kay thought he was the perfect plaything to test his new subject. He called the mad dog a piece of trash and didn't even look at him. Kay entertained the idea of taking him back as long as he could defeat the newbie. Pumped and excited, he enters the ring not knowing the consequences of his actions. Frederick Jason is a former world champion who dominated 4 divisions. He was the 4th student who became the strongest boxer around. Jason was the definition of fear. He relied on a raw psychological factor translated into brute strength that terrified his opponents. He was the kind of guy that could also be classified as a monster. His only weakness was his madness, which prevented him from becoming the strongest boxer in the world. The fight begins, and almost at once Aaron gets flooded by a tsunami of disastrous blows. But he stands there with his impenetrable body of armor, while his opponent tired himself out. This behemoth caused a fear into the former world champion. Towering over him as he gently comforts him with words, Aaron prepares to attack. Jason was picked up by Kay when he offered him a chance to see a whole new world. But now, he was nothing more than a tool to his previous master. Aaron lands his punch, sending this dude right to the hospital. Kay wanted to drill victory inside Aaron's head. He wanted him to understand that everything he cared for is in a realm of superiority amongst men. Aaron became a monstrous force, rising as the world champion of the heavyweight division. Aaron gets up at night ready for his boxing routine, but then he remembers he quit boxing. The man is free of his burden, so he decides to sleep it out. The feeling is nice, but it bothers him because he can't sleep. So he spends hours building his endurance like Yu. Aaron sees a bunch of people who greet the champion on his run while Yu trains in loneliness. He feels refreshed by the end of his sprint and thinks he's finally free. Back at home, he eats with his family. My guy is forced to eat carrots as he may be world champion, but he can never escape from the wrath of the average housewife. Meanwhile, Yu stares at the cat food, realizing that his precious little cat is not eating it for some reason. Aaron takes his daughter out to an amusement park and feels guilty for being able to experience such happiness. The scene cuts to Kay, who has prepared a gigantic punching bag for Yu to practice with. After all, he has a beast to slay. Aaron's wife consoles him, stating his best qualities, while Yu is busy tearing apart the bag from every angle. Big man experiences happiness while our boy has been the most beefed up he's ever been. Bro looks like he's been eating trenbolone sandwiches. Kay knows he doesn't even have to do anything to bring his other monster back to the ring. Because one fateful night, a depressed Carmen turns up to beg his family for help. She weeps in their comfort and tells them that Kay plotted her demise. The case is sad because even reporting to the authorities won't help them. The man they're dealing with will only retaliate with even greater violence. With what words she could muster, Carmen pleaded with the heavyweight world champion to drop out of retirement for a final fight and save Yu's life. She wants him to lose at least once so that he can no longer become Kay's puppet. As for Yu, things are getting worse and worse as his cat vomits blood, hinting a sign of decline. After Carmen's speech, it's actually his wife who pleads with the world champion to get back in the ring to save a life. She thinks there are other people in this world that need to be saved and that he needs to win no matter what. With conviction, Aaron prepares to win his final fight in the world of boxing. The next day, the world goes crazy with the heavyweight champion's announcement of returning to the ring. This match will finally decide which of them is the greatest boxer of all time. For his training, the behemoth goes to his new coach, who looks like he's got one foot in the giving. The coach immediately advises Aaron that he will struggle in the upcoming fight. On the flip side, a police officer makes the mistake of investigating Kay's facility. When he gets inside, he's shocked to see a human dodging literal cannonballs from every direction. Yu is participating in a do-or-die training regimen to survive Aaron's cataclysmic punches. Over to the heavyweight world champion's training, his coach explains that it's necessary for all of his training partners to require a bomb suit, as without it, they would literally die. It's like going into the ring with the definition of a nuclear bomb packed into a punch. Time passed as both formidable fighters trained in a burst to achieve excellence. Yu managed to save his cat by going to the vet, but things are not looking great as it's unusually old and does not have a long time left to survive. Aaron has his loving family supporting him and rooting for his victory. The day of the fight finally arrived. All of Kay's preparations up until this point have been completed. Kay reminds him of the first advice he gave our boy about boxing. He better channel that ultra instinct level of dodging, or he's gonna die. There's no way he's going to survive the ring if even a single punch lands on his body. Kay's only instruction for Yu is to kill the world champion before he's able to get a solid hit in. Instead of worrying about the match, Yu tells his coach to take care of his cat if he dies fighting Aaron. The coach accepts, and they head out to the ring. The cheering of the crowd is on another level, as this is the boxing fight of the ages. All eyes are set on these two folks who are legitimately the strongest boxers. Eren is hell-bent on shattering K's expectations by defeating Yu. The match to decide the strongest monster begins now. The heavyweight champion senses the emptiness in his opponent's eyes and desires that he live his life as a human. He adopts a savior role for Yu and immediately lunges to attack him as soon as the fight begins. Our boy begins his dodging streak while Yu charges the same punch that destroyed many world champions before. The result is shocking as it doesn't even dent the impenetrable wall standing before him. He dashes away before his opponent is able to get a solid punch in. Our boy survives his opponent's wrath with such insane speeds that even the crowd can barely see what's going on. Before the fight, K advised Yu to bust out everything in his arsenal for this one match. For Eren, he boasts a number of athletic advantages that could overwhelm Yu if he isn't careful. His training was nothing in comparison to the real deal. The heavyweight world champion's coach advised the same to his student. He outlined Yu's monstrous reflexes and speed that he will need to look out for. Yu presses his punches against the man's body, but they're barely even moving him. The man standing before him is a mountain of muscle. Hitting him guarantees hurting your own fists. He doesn't even have to defend because his body does the job for him. Eren's coach advised him to take the match in the corner, as that would be a guaranteed spot for his victory. With how aggressively he tries to push back Yu, K realizes their strategy too. But that's exactly the kind of thing he had been anticipating. Instead of avoiding the corner, our boy shows everyone he isn't afraid of shit and steps into it. No one knows why he pulled such an abnormal move, as it would limit Yu's chances of escape. Eren thinks the fight is coming to an end with his next punch. But this is Yu we're talking about, who caves in on his advantage and delivers 4 roaring punches that even send back Eren. His coach realizes that Yu has been concealing his true strength since the beginning of this fight. Next up is the Titan's turn to use his full power, so he goes into beast mode as the monsters stare each other down. The real fight between monsters is beginning. The fight begins with a jab to his face. Eren cuts the air with his punches while Yu barely evades the wind, cutting shockwaves from his attacks. He counters and dodges as the referee can't even comprehend why he's standing in the ring of monsters. The 4th round is a true test between speed and strength. Even his new coach is shocked to witness Eren's full strength at this level. He's the one who is leading the game against Yu, who is still delivering counters way past the perceptiveness of the human eye. They're going at each other, but it's clear to him that the heavyweight world champion is closing in on the gap. This is because the very punches Eren generates send vibrations across the ring. Yu has to account for the wind and the impact generated as he dodges each attack. While he has been evading them so far, it would be impossible to keep up this momentum. Pressure is creeping up on him as the ring is a battlefield of war. A single strike from Eren implies death, so our boy's body is working overtime to make sure he doesn't get obliterated from this world. K still thinks Eren is holding back and wants the monster to reveal even greater strength. He's the symbol of fear and victory, a man who is superior to all. He defeated boxers in the most prominent era of boxing and became the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. His opponents came from many approaches, but such emotions were trampled in the face of this monster, who stood at the top to represent the peak of boxing. Peter remembers questioning what boxing meant to the legendary champion. He wanted to learn the meaning of life, but he is no longer sure of what it means. It's just a sport that gives people honor and money for crushing others. Then for the first time, the heavyweight world champion delivers a sharp punch that chips the flesh off of Yu's ear. The invincible boxer who had never been hurt in a fight receives his first wound. The 4th round concludes as the scene shifts to Peter's conversation with Eren's coach. They talked about the concept of geniuses and how people with incredible ability don't feel the sense of superiority that many others believe. Instead, because of their isolating talent and strength, they feel insane fear and loneliness. The coach advises Eren to maintain his guard because their opponent isn't going down too easy. K observes Yu's chipped ear and draws a blank expression. The fight continues in round 5, and only Bob from the commentators has noticed the power imbalance between the two fighters. Yu is being overpowered in this fight, while Eren is glad to have met someone who could understand his pain and loneliness. He met many boxers who spent countless hours training to achieve a goal. They did all of that to get crushed by him without remorse. He thinks Yu feels a similar way and states that they're not boxing but repeating a bunch of pointless movements. The geniuses, the monsters that people revere, aren't blessed by God-given talent, but instead they're cursed. Yu is slowly overpowered as more of his flesh is chipped from his shoulders. He can't perfectly evade the monster's punches anymore. Eren wants to save Yu from the real monster that is K, but then something happens. The heavyweight world champion freezes before coughing a pool of blood. K reflects that simple fear could never move a human like Yu, who had only known emptiness as his closest family. What's more is that despite his body of steel, K had been mercilessly training Yu to rupture Eren's gut. From the day he started boxing to up until now, that's what his training has all been about. The damage accumulated is sure to affect him. Kei thinks his foolish old protege should reject finding meaning in boxing and focus on surviving. Yu doesn't let him down easily as he delivers agonizing blows all over his body. The emptiness of the boy symbolizing the coming of death strikes fear in Aaron's heart. Aaron coughs out blood as the same strength which became his strength is now becoming his downfall. Kei once confronted him about his hesitation in finishing off his opponents. He was the kind of person who didn't possess fear, even though violence incites fear. Each act of sin is committed because it is rooted in the fear of loss. But that fear translates into strength for every human except the heavyweight monster. He was a being that far surpassed such notion as his strength trumped his fears. But his hesitation was a foul, making him an incomplete monster. He defended against his title matches and soon confronted Kei that he didn't feel any meaning in boxing. Kei told him that he has yet to accept his place at the top of the food chain as the strongest instead of finding meaning. Aaron didn't like that explanation and figured he was dealing with a nutcase, so he left. Coach thought his dream had been an impossible ideal, as even brute strength became its own limitation. He had given up all hope until he found his greatest protege, a being that trumps and transcends humanity. Aaron feels a unique emptiness, a kind of pain that he never experienced in his life. The feeling of death, the realization of agony as pain causes its way through his body. The match required him to kill or be killed in this ring. The heavyweight world champion realized that he was an idiot for trying to save his opponent. He forgot his true self as a monster who took away the lives of others. He remembers the memories he shared with a girl at the orphanage. The boy was only 11 years of age when he killed someone in his life. The girl he was friends with got into a heated argument against him. He tried pushing her away but couldn't control his strength, leading to her death. That was when the young boy realized how isolated he was. His talent was meant to destroy and topple others. Coach Kei helped him pursue a new aspect of life, the life of riches and status and fame. He was a god amongst men and relished the glory, but even such luxuries proved to be pointless. Aaron couldn't find a semblance of meaning in his existence. One day, he was wasted when fate brought him to the same woman who he once saved. She became his savior and gave him meaning. The heavyweight world champion places his own survival on priority, and instead of saving you, now he will work to demolish him. In the first time in the history of boxing, Aaron has assumed a general boxing stance. He had never been the type to use traditional techniques because strength was enough to topple all of his opponents. But it was different now. The match indicated life or death and he couldn't hold back. Kei is enjoying the visual feast as this is what he wanted most. He wants to fully realize the only meaning to life, the absoluteness of superiority. Each boxer focuses on a multitude of aspects besides strength. There are skills and techniques that can often outclass strength, but for the heavyweight behemoth, he didn't require any technique to conquer the world. Now that same monster is attempting to enter the world of boxing with all his might. The fight starting from now will decide Yu's survival. There is no way he could survive even a single attack from Aaron, who has now acquired the stance of an ordinary professional boxer. Our boy is going to have a world's worth of trouble evading his impossible blows. The first jab struck Yu with an insane speed. In that brief moment, our boy couldn't evade or block the strike. The only thing he could do in that moment was to redirect his punch, and he did so with precision so as to avoid shattering his entire fist. It may seem impossible, but it's the only option available to Yu, or else he will be obliterated under the champion's heel. A second punch is thrown, this time much faster than the previous. It leaves his fist throbbing. More and more of his punches are starting to become a problem for our boy. His flesh is being chipped right off as dodging becomes impossible. Yu dodges another lethal punch by allowing Aaron to strike him in the gap between his flesh. Bob Norris concludes that they're watching a killing machine in the ring who was born to destroy humans. His wife fails to recognize this side of him. He has become an absolute being with only one objective: to survive. The commentator hurries to stop the fight until he sees Yu ferociously adapt to each attack. While he's getting injured, he's simultaneously countering with powerful blows. Instead of stopping the fight, a feeling invites Bob to see through the conclusion. Blood of both fighters was spilled and ruptured. Inside that ring was a battlefield that determined life and death. Coach K relished in the excitement of witnessing an actual fight. This is what gives his life meaning. The crowd cheered for excitement, making Carmen's despair even more isolating. It's finally time to jump right into Kei's backstory because the author loves making us feel bad for every character. Kei quit boxing to become a soldier despite his legendary potential. Kei understood that boxing was a sport of self-satisfaction. He did not want to participate in such a puppet show and sought to fight in the real world. So he left his coach and joined the army. The newest recruit became the highlight of the team. Kei executed missions and honed the art of killing humans. Having killed a human for the first time, he removed the feelings of guilt. He was acting in accordance with his training and fought to preserve the ideals of justice and peace. Kei even rescued a boy, let's call him Pumpkin Hair for now. After completing the operation, he was considered a talented soldier who was bound to rise up the ranks. The boy he saved made him a small toy and expressed wanting to become a soldier just like him. Kei felt amazed and fueled Pumpkin Hair's ideal. He felt meaning that he didn't have before. After completing more operations on behalf of his team, he became the leader and an expert soldier. K had a wife and son at home and participated in a hellground fighting against mercenaries. This is around the time he felt a unique flow state and cleared a path for his team. They found one of their men bleeding to death as he pleaded with them to run. K immediately understood what he meant and told his team to take cover. They survived the impact at the cost of one casualty. K judged that there was at least one formidable mercenary in the opposing team who was giving them an extreme challenge in this fight. He did not want to compromise the lives of his men for the operation. K took charge in a solo advance and rushed to barge inside. He could sense that there was at least one enemy inside while another was setting up a bomb. Both soldiers boasted the conviction of survival. The bomb went off as K burst inside. In a twist of fate, the mercenary who was fighting against him is Pumpkinhair. Experiencing bursts of hesitation as he remembered the boy's precious smile, K pulled the trigger. That was the day life chose to don its true colors upon him. K returned, having completed his solo mission. His face evoked sadness, but he pretended to be fine. Returning to his normal life, he always had trouble comprehending the balance between the two worlds he was a part of. One required a kill or be killed mindset, while the other didn't have such elements. From the hellish battlefield, he returned to his normal life. A hollow feeling from his insides began to swallow him whole. He was reunited with his boy, but traumatized by what he had done. K's mental state took a hit as he woke up from a terrifying nightmare where he shot his own child, a representation of what he had done in war. He told his wife about the gruesome mission he had to become a part of, how he killed the boy he saved. K remembers how the world froze until the bullet pierced his head, exterminating his existence. The feeling makes his considerate wife cry as she feels sorry on his behalf. His wife had been a gem who always cared about him. She was scared that one day she would receive the news of his death. K promised her that he needs to complete one final mission and then spend his life as normal. Everything went to hell as when K went to complete his mission, he received news of his family's sudden passing. A truck driver killed them by accident while they were at the market. The man was sentenced to probation as the matter wasn't entirely his fault. That was the day everything changed for K. He kidnapped the driver and was prepared to put him through a world of pain if he failed to answer his questions. K had been at the lowest point in his life and was ready to kill anyone. The driver told him that he had to make a decision between saving them or many lives at once. It's the classic trolley problem, and unfortunately, K's family had to make the sacrifice to save other people. The driver begged and apologized as K held a gun to his head. He promised not to do anything to his family. The man begged for his life as he wanted to show up to his daughter's birthday. But K soon accepted that people die all the same just like his family did. So he mercilessly pulls the trigger, ending the man's life. The scene reminded him of his grandfather's passing, who bore the look of sadness before his final breath. That was the first time he experienced loss and came to terms with another person's absence. K continued his service with a performance that made him seem inhuman. Everyone knew he was deeply disturbed because of what happened, so a friend of his asked for his health. K told him he was fine and passed the mental health evaluation. He asked Stallone if he had a reason for living. The man didn't really have any and retaliated with the same question. K answered that he's been watching a lamb become a victim of a wolf. Then he saw a ram save the lamb, but became the victim of the predator. K watched as the lamb struggled and wanted to see to its end. Back in the battlefield, K remained unaffected by the sound of gunfire and mayhem. Fun fact about his mental health evaluation: this psychopath managed to score all answers perfectly to get the exact result he wanted. He had become more than just insane. Inside K's mind was a graveyard of the people he loved most. He was the kind of monster who knew how to manipulate the psychological exam. K roared as he finally came to a realization. He became psychotic and realized that humans were free to do whatever they pleased. The superior beings could enjoy their superiority while the weak perished. In the midst of the battlefield, where most felt encaged, this monster grasped freedom. He tossed his helmet aside and jumped right into battle. The bullets no longer mattered as K pieced together the only philosophy that made sense to him. Superiority is gained by taking the life of another creature, and that determines one's omnipotence. In the miserable world he knew, superiority was the only meaning he found. He was challenged in a boxing match on the battlefield. K welcomed the challenge with a smile and destroyed his opponent. He found that elite superiority requires no weapons but a clash of fists between the most powerful living creatures. Stallone was no more. K had embraced the insanity inside his head. He had cultivated a desire to confirm the peak of superiority. That brings us to the present with this gruesome fight unfolding in front of the masses. Carmen senses the outlash of the madness while Aaron's wife is begging for him to stop. Both monsters of the same coach are now battling it out to become God, possessing power of life and death. The round ends with Aaron's coach explaining that he's still in the advantage due to having more blood in his body. It's destined for you to lose this fight as his wounds are getting deeper with each round. K knows this spells doom for his fighter. He reminds him that this is going to be the deciding round as you will be defeated after. K will finally show the world the birth of a new god. The heavyweight monster fights for his survival, treasuring the life of his family. He suffers a number of agonizing blows until one of his punches dislocates Yu's left shoulder. With one arm out of commission, and his right fist bleeding from the inside, it's only a matter of time for this fight to come to an end. Apart from the world of boxing, Aaron wanted to explore the meaning of life. His wife gave him an easy explanation. She wanted to give him a clear answer instead of something vague. Yu's posture in the ring is starting to collapse. He's on the back foot as he can no longer drag the fight. It's the 11th hour, the deciding factor between life and death. One of them is the ultimate killing machine, while the other is cold indifference. The boxers lunge forth for a final advance. Aaron has aimed his hook to smash Yu's brain while Yu goes from a powerful straight to crush his heart. The moment draws near as their punches nearly reach the other person's body. Aaron's wife reveals the beauty and meaning of life is in loving other people. Aaron awakens his humanity at the last second. Both boxers were just children who struggled with loneliness. A loud boom follows as the emperor of the heavyweight division falls to the ground. Aaron Tide has been conquered while Kay's ultimate dream materializes into reality. The world watches the horrors of the conclusion of the fight. Kay wants our boy to rest after his amazing match, and he stares at Aaron with cold indifference. The champion is rushed to the emergency room while his wife is waiting and praying he survives. The young boy only had one dream at the orphanage. He wanted to have a family, but that dream is being taken away from him. Anxiety floods her mind until the thought of death horrifies her. Thankfully, the doctors were able to save the champion's life, but he's still in critical condition. Emily, his child, is worried that her father is going to die. She begins to cry, so her mother is forced to comfort her. Carmen makes a sudden appearance and apologizes for being the one at fault. Instead of blaming her, she tells Carmen that this match was unusual, as it could have been Yu in Aaron's place. When the punch was about to connect his head, Aaron hesitated in the final moment and stopped. He chose to remain human after being tormented by his past. He refused to become the monster that his coach had molded out of him. She's proud of her husband and wants to stay strong on his behalf. But even with such strong words, she crumbles into sadness as the thought of his death terrifies Aaron's wife. That night, the champion of 9 divisions returned home to his cat, sharing a bed with the one who has always stayed by his side. The boxer Yu made his mark in history, becoming the fastest boxer to conquer 9 divisions in 22 total fights with 0 losses. But this story is far from being over. Jay announces his return to boxing and challenges his first opponent as Fabrizio Santorino. Aaron's state was mourned by the world, while others celebrated the rise of the strongest boxer who conquered 9 divisions. Even Aaron was nothing more than an obstacle to him. The birth of a supreme being crafted by his psychotic coach. The world got to see it all. At the same time, Jay made his return in suddenness, which prompts many to wonder if he wants to challenge the boxer in the ring. Many questions bothered the boxing fans, but Kay is here to clear them all in his press conference. Peter asks for their future plans, to which Kay explains that he wants Yu to retreat to the middleweight division to maintain his best athletic performance. But that's not all. The main reason this man wants him to return to middleweight is because of Jay. The coach is looking to prove a point and publicly announces Jay's funeral. The commentator Bob knew that things would turn out this way. Both Kay and Jay have opposite ideals to life. Bob remembers facing Jay in the ring. He was the kind of boxer respected by everyone. Jay didn't boast the best career as he suffered losses. But one thing was for sure, he would give anyone a tough time in the ring no matter who it was. Jay's fights were different from the excitement of winning or losing. He evoked a satisfaction in the hearts of people. Chavo remembers him as an excellent boxer. Many others remember Jay as a boxer in a similar way. He's the kind of person that evoked you to put everything into the fight. That same boxer has returned to the fighting scene for you. The strongest boxer in the ring isn't a monster like Aaron or you, but rather a boxer that represented the spirit of boxing as a whole. He rose through the rankings and crushed his way to fight against Fabrizio. The day of their match, the world wondered if the Golden Boxer could overcome Santorino to fight Yu. Fabrizio also makes his return to the big stage. Unfortunately, his opponent has a grudge against the knucklehead for cheating in their last match. So in response, he chucks him a headbutt and gets warned by the referee. Fabrizio calmly tells him that they don't do any more foul boxing, so it's fine now. For the first time in forever, he stopped the entertainment factor and focused on the true aspect of boxing. Even though it earned him the hatred of the audience who still hasn't forgiven the Santorino brothers, Fabrizio didn't care. His opponent hammered him in the ring, refusing to forgive the disgusting human for his past affairs. Despite his frustration, Fabrizio gently asks if he has vented his feelings. He's turned into a mature boxer who realizes that guys like this always existed in the ring, but he stayed as a world champion because of his foul tactics. He no longer wants to muddy his name with foul tactics and ends up defeating his opponent fairly. Both brothers celebrated their first victory as true boxers. Fabrizio reclaimed the middleweight interim title, and they're even happier than when they became world champions. The day of the title match is finally here. It's Jay against Fabrizio, who could very well adopt his old habits when he's in a pinch. But Golden Boy Jay isn't worried about that. Marco warns his brother to stay cautious of their opponent, as he's a professional veteran. Fabrizio had always wanted to have a match like this. He has massive respect for Jay and doesn't want him to go up against a monster. So in this match, instead of fighting for the title, Fabrizio hopes to communicate his desire to stop Jay. The match begins and almost immediately, it lights up for Fabrizio. The first knockdown, the dude doesn't even know what happened and gets up at the final second. Fabrizio realizes that Jay isn't pulling any punches this time. He rains a barrage of punches to corner Jay, who barely blocks one of his blows. Jay is the kind of boxer who didn't possess a specific style of boxing. He switched styles in the middle of the fight and didn't even have a fighting habit. Marco tried studying him, but not a single thing went into his favor. That's why his only strategy for Fabrizio is to defeat Jay with all his might. So that's what's going on right now. The Santorino brothers could never become the best on their own, so they combined their skills and reached for the championship belt. They stopped dabbling in foul tactics and focused on the completeness of the game. In this match, they were worthy contenders for the championship title. Jay suffers a blow and feels proud of their development, and then he responds with an agonizing liver punch that knocks Fabrizio down to his knees. He can't believe that Jay has always been so strong, but even his strength pales in comparison to that monster. He doesn't want the fight to end in Jay's death. Fabrizio gets back up. He remembers the first time they met him. They were just fresh boxers at the time who struggled to pay their mother's hospital fees. The only goal of boxing is to train one's mind and body senselessly so that one could crush their opponent. The sole objective of boxing is to spend hours and hours into mind-numbing practice to destroy other fighters. But that kind of feeling was absent in this match. In his fight against Jay, he felt consoled and accepted instead of attacked. It was as if the boxer was gently embracing him and comforting him. Fabrizio refuses to send him to a monster like you, while Jay senses his objective and goes for light-speed jabs to communicate his point. Marco doesn't understand how someone like Jay doesn't have any fighting habits. Even the perfection of Jean had habits one could capitalize upon, but there was nothing like that when it came to this guy. Fabrizio saw a light in his eyes that answered all his questions. He intentionally forfeited the match and talked to the referee. No one knows what words were exchanged inside the ring, not even Kay. The true god of boxing was coming to fight the strongest creature alive. After his win, Jay announced to take on Yu in the ring. He won the interim championship title after defeating Fabrizio. The world wondered what would happen in a fight between the two boxers. In an interview with Peter, Yu stated that boxing just means dodging and hitting, which is the same thing his coach taught him. Peter believes that while Kay brings up the strongest boxers around, they all lack a special element. They lack the element of being a human being. Jay, on the other hand, is a mystery. Nobody knows why he is obsessed with meeting Yu in the ring, as this monster sends even his trainers straight to the hospital after one session. Cutting to Aaron's wife, she weeps in his memory as he is still knocked unconscious. The next day at the press conference, Kay answers in Yu's place and reminds everyone that the reappearance of the legendary boxer doesn't mean shit. He is hell-bent on showing the world that this match is going to be the most brutal in the history of boxing, as he's already accomplished everything he wanted. His last objective is to crush Jay for his personal enjoyment. After that bone-chilling answer, the microphone is passed to Jay, who claims that he has a clear intention of winning this fight no matter what. Jay's coach thinks he's gone crazy challenging a boxer like Yu right out of his retirement. No one knows what he's thinking. Jay talks about the emptiness of the universe. He feels extreme sadness in feeling such isolation. The meaning of existence is unclear. Yu's little furball takes its final breath and succumbs to the notion of death. The boy always questioned if his existence had a deeper meaning than just survival. The darkness of his past follows him. The basement he knew was the only home to the boy. In this dark basement, a helpless woman gave birth to a child. She felt its nimble embrace. Many humans are born into this world to adopt different roles and experience feelings of sadness, joy, and despair. Life and death followed humanity, and the boy was no different. But every time the door opened, he saw the boogeyman, a representation of his nightmares coming to devour him. The boy was beaten up and abused in the basement by his father. He no longer had the emotional range to express what he felt. His father mercilessly took his anger out on the boy as he begged for his life to end. The boy's life wasn't extinguished even in the face of such pain. He had quit living and also stopped crying. The boy no longer cared about anything because that was just the life he knew. With what energy he could, the boy made his mother instant noodles. But she smashed the bowl into the wall, neglecting her health. The boy wiped the floor clean and emphasized the importance of eating well. He ate the same food under the same rotten walls of the stinking room. The boy lived for 7 years caged in that small basement. One day, an alien life form invaded such a basement and stumbled into his world. The shadows of the world colored his surroundings. The appearance of a foreign creature allowed the prisoner to become free of his chains. He climbed all the way to the top and discovered the outside world for the first time. 7 years after he was born, the boy experienced what it was like to be outside. He felt everything and saw the height of the stars. A tall girl took note of him and greeted the boy. He was so overwhelmed and don't know what to respond. The boy had been filled with the anxiety of the present. She asked for his name, but he didn't even know something like that. She observed from his wounds that he was troubled and decided to give him a view of the neighborhood. They met an old man who gave him candy. Even though it tasted horrible, the boy liked the candy as he had never eaten something like it before. That's when he realized that there was even more delicious candy waiting in the world. They saw a student who was frustrated studying for the civil service exam. He cried because of his intensive study session. Later they found Where Man, who just walked in circles saying where. They followed him in circles in a clumsy manner and reached their destination. The girl favored the cat who had recently given birth to a bunch of kittens. She helped him reach a spot where the view of the beautiful city was visible. The girl shared that everyone lived and died the same, and she was just one of those people who existed in this giant system of life. The truth of life scared her, but the boy who had experienced the worst living conditions didn't comprehend what she meant. To him, there was an endless graveyard of stars resting in the skies. The sight made him feel something he was foreign to. He went back home to his mother and immediately announced that he went outside. Meanwhile, the girl was hunted by an old geezer. Yu talked endlessly about the things he saw, felt, and experienced in the outside world. In response, he got slapped in the face by his mother who had abandonment issues. She begged in her misery to stay with him. As for the girl, she survived after tasing the man and saving her own life. The boy rested on a planet where every human had a desire to feel or achieve something. Such emotions were unfamiliar to him until now. The only desire he had was to go outside and explore the world. He learned how to count his heartbeats and realized that his mother slept for at least 21,000 heartbeats total. So counting those heartbeats, he breached the outside world and kept count while replaying the memories in his head. He could remember each path, but couldn't find the girl. She suddenly latched onto him from behind, excited that he came to see her. She wondered what he was doing, so he explained that he was counting heartbeats. She listened to his heart and took him around town again. The boy experienced different flavors of candy and saw people in the outside world working so hard to achieve a living. He played with the kittens and eventually saw his existence blossom. One day, the girl couldn't manage climbing up the stairs. Her condition had worsened. They rested in the field while the boy continued counting his heartbeat. She broke the horrifying news of her impending doom. Unfortunately, a tumor in her body spread like a plague, and she had to get several organs removed to survive. She talks about how she felt like a main character growing up, but she soon realized that she was just like the grains of sand of people that disappeared off of Earth. She couldn't answer what it meant to live. She wondered why creatures left their offspring to make a mark. She looked to the boy for consolation. For the first time, the boy stopped counting the beating of his heart. The world kept on moving, and when he returned home, her mother had torn apart everything. She immediately grabbed his neck and choked the boy. Even when he was about to die, the boy asked for his name. A river of emotion flooded from his eyes as the mother realized what she was doing. She apologized to her child and even made him instant noodles for the both of them to eat. Then, when they were about to sleep, she made him talk about his experiences in the outside world. He felt a kind of peace that he never experienced before, thinking that maybe life was going to settle for him. The girl taught him how to draw, so he drew a picture of a happy family. But the next day, horror awaited him as his mother chose to end her life. The boy's father was a gangster while his mother worked in the illegal entertainment industry. They got together thinking they could understand each other, but because of the woman's disloyalty, the man went into a psychotic craze and locked her in the basement. While his mother's life remained suspended, the boy shivered as he embraced her. The girl wanted so much for the boy to have a normal family, and even thought that he might experience it someday. But his cruel father became infuriated when he saw the death of his wife. In frustration, he beat the boy until he was bloody. All he did was vent his violent frustrations upon the boy, which made the boy wonder from a young age, why is hitting people any fun? He thought his life was coming to an end. But even when he was bruised by the man who was supposed to be his father, all he could desperately ask was for his father to love him. This infuriated the man as he lunged forth to punch the boy. But that day the boy discovered something. He slashed his father with his blade, and at the gentle age of 7, broke his understanding of the world. The boy followed the light and reached outside, but the girl wasn't there to comfort him. She left him with a sketch of her cat. The old man who gave him candy died in his sleep. The student who was a candidate for the civil service exam slipped and fell to his doom. The boy watched it all happen before his eyes. In an effort to exact his revenge against the girl, the man killed the cat as well as its kittens. Death surrounded him. The girl who treasured his drawing took her last breath. The number of deaths all around him rose as casualties increased. Nothing changed wherever he went. Broken, lost, and defeated in the gutter, he sat under the light. Then he got to meet the little furball who followed him all the way up to the present. But even now, his closest ally, the little furball he loved, is no more. The next day, Yu turns up at the gym looking like a pale ghost who hasn't slept for days. Arnold warns Kay about his condition, but contrary to Arnold's worries, Kay thinks his monster is in his prime condition to fight. It's the day of the match. The golden boxer is waiting for his upcoming fight while the coach brushes Yu's hair to get him prepped up and ready. Bro is out here giving a masterclass in setting his hair. The fighters are called to the big stage as the middleweight world title match begins. The undisputed champion of all time is fighting against the legendary boxer Jay. Everyone is excited for this match as this opponent is different from the rest. They all want to know the reason why he came to fight you. In this match, even Jay is among the people in the audience. Jean is also here, much to Stella's dismay. He wants to see if Yu will fester his emptiness into oblivion, or if he will discover salvation. Yuto and his wife are the same. They're all afraid of the robotic boxer who destroyed every world champion. Even Yuto claims that he felt real fear when he fought against him. Everything he had worked so hard for proved meaningless against the invincible boxer. But after every fight, Yu descends into deeper darkness. Yuto Takeda is rooting for the champion to discover a new light. The Santorino brothers are unconvinced about the state of the match. They wonder why Jay wanted to encounter an abomination like Yu in the ring. As for Victor, this man is out here crying because Yu never showed up to earn his mohawk. Aaron's wife absolutely despises Yu and his coach, but she still wants to see the outcome of this match. She wants to see the significance of Aaron's choice. The fighters take the stage. Fabrizio notes that Yu is impossible to be defeated, especially with his superhuman feats during his match against Aaron. While his brute strength may have stifled with the difference in weight, it's still without a doubt that Yu is most dominant in the middleweight division. All eyes are set on this match. The bell rings and the fight begins, but for some reason, neither of them has attacked the other. The referee even reminded them to begin the fight. Yu questioned the golden boxer if he knows the reason behind the world's agonizing pain and what existence truly means, and what it meant for a monster like him. He sought the answer from the boxer who stood in front of him, the boxer who was preparing to meet the definition of death as Yu tore apart the stage and filled the arena with Jay's blood. The first round had barely even begun when Jay felt the presence of a true monster staring at him. This fight was different from the previous. Jay experienced a world of pain, and it stood as a reminder of Yu's bloodbath. All he focused on was delivering violence and pain. Coach K was most satisfied by this display while everyone feared for Yu's life. He walks the path of monsters. He feels incredible sadness that normal people have to struggle so much to live bare minimum lives. Before long, their existence is no more. Jay feels the wrath of each of Yu's punches. The meaning of life is clear to Yu. Viciously beating his opponent down, Yu shows a terrifying side to himself. He isn't giving him a second to react while the world wonders how on earth does Jay plan on saving himself. Even after this massive beatdown, Jay barely holds it together in the ring. The whole world sees a monster that has far surpassed the competence of humanity. Jay eats his devastating attacks while the crowd is left to question what he is doing. Coach K thinks it's a perfect demonstration of what it should be. The people are even booing for the legendary golden boxer for putting up such a performance. From back then, Bob was the champion of the middleweight division, but another guy finished his debut matches too. He suffered a crushing defeat and still looked like he had won a title match. Jay gave meaning to weakness, which made the coach's blood boil. He wants the world to see the true nature of the monster he created. No one can defeat him as evident by his strength. Round 2 kicks off with the same brutal beatdown, transitioning into round 3. Bob doesn't know where his match is going. Even withstanding the fight for endurance is pointless, because Yu obliterated people like Fabrizio for 12 rounds. Jay's coach questions what he's planning on doing because so far, nothing is working. As for the boy who is so miserable and lonely, Yu experiences extreme sadness and continues his wrath. But Jay refuses to back down and sees eye to eye against the monster who represents death in the ring. The kids at the orphanage are watching this fight. Carmen resumed her service at this orphanage after leaving Kay. Kay thinks it was all just a big coincidence and that no one is capable of reaching Yu's height. Fighting against him is an experience of isolation and pain. The pain that he experienced is his style of boxing, representing the hardships he survived. The commentators can't make sense of what's happening. Suddenly, Jay makes an advance as he switches to the style of an inboxer. Carmen sees Yu's miserable state and shares a chat with the director. He's the strongest boxer she knows, but that's exactly why there is no one left in the world who can defeat or save him. The director commented that his opponent is an equally strong opponent. He's a boy who came from the same orphanage. The director has never seen a child stronger than Jay in her life. When he first showed up at the gym out of retirement, Jay wanted to fulfill his promise to a boy he met while traveling the world. Even though he had little time left in this world, he wanted to relay the message to the boy. Jay crumbles to his knees after suffering a gruesome knockdown. The physician begged for Jay to prevent him from boxing, but he persevered through his training. It only looks like he's performing like his best from the outside, when on the inside, he has one foot in the grave. The coach advised him against the match, but Jay wanted to pursue the question of meaning. He wanted to chase it in the ring and communicate to Yu. Jay might have returned stronger than ever, but throughout this point, he's only been holding himself back. He wanted to save his energy to go against Yu. Of course, Fabrizio understood this, but now he's frustrated that he isn't doing anything in the ring. Jay gets demolished and is knocked a second time. but he gets back up again. Panting as every part of his body spurts out blood, Jay perseveres to talk to the boy. The 5th round concludes as Jay survives another harsh beating. His coach reminds him of his first debut match and how he stepped into the ring despite having his ribs broken the previous day. This man boasts the ultimate passion for boxing despite dying in the ring against a monstrous opponent. Even after being beaten, Jay thinks highly of boxing. It's a sport where people meet and share their stories in the ring. Jay believes boxing represents true love. The 6th round is about to begin with Bob predicting that Jay is only going to throw one punch, and that will be until the end of the fight. He wants this punch to communicate all his energy into one punch, and it might be the only kind of punch that Yu won't be able to dodge. Yu goes heavy on the beating as he slams the life out of the golden boxer for the world to see. Kei is exceptionally bored and believes ultimate power crushes everything as all living things will disappear into nothing. Carmen can sense Yu's sadness. She calls him the loneliest boxer in the world, a person who overcame obsession, effort, grit, and even luck. He conquered the representations of each ideal. Carmen did her best to save him, but she was left heartbroken. There are always people to support others in each other's lives, but Yu didn't have anyone. He has been on his own. The director argues that at this moment, Yu is not alone. There is one person who is dying to teach him love. Jay perseveres against his most difficult challenge while his coach clutches onto the hope that he has something planned. He perseveres to save Kei's monster. Round 6 and it's a bloodbath for the boxer. 7 and 8 fly as he is knocked down for an impossible ideal. No one knows what he's fighting for, but he still gets back up. He rises for the boy at the corner of the ring. His body spewed more blood as the audience was struck horrified at what they saw. All the way up to round 11, no one thought that the fight looked like a boxing match. It pushed the boundaries of what was deemed human. The final round is right around the corner. Kei wants him to end the fight without holding anything back. Meanwhile, Jay's body is feeding on its own protein in order to survive. He's lost weight just trying to sustain himself in the ring. He doesn't even know what he's doing here anymore. The coach realizes that even his brain has taken an injury. But instead of shunning him away, the coach reminds him that he came here to teach someone love. Remembering that purpose, he steps into the ring in the final round. Each side represents darkness and light, death and life. One held meaning in his fist while the other was devoid of it. The final round of this fight had now begun. Jay's agony continues one punch after the other. He cuts past every emotion until he reaches love. He remembers watching on TV about the existence of a God who died for their sins. But the boy couldn't comprehend how it was possible for God to exist. He had many questions for God, wanting to know why he was raised in a living hell. He wanted to know why God refused to save him from the pain and suffering, or even allow such things to happen. The boy desperately questioned why his world was filled with death, so he tugged at God wanting to discover the answers. While he beats down Jay ruthlessly in the ring, Yu's resolve shakes as he yearns for an answer. Jay smiles at him like a ray of sunlight. It was evident that strength alone couldn't overcome loneliness. There were many people in the world full of vice. They worshipped materialistic desires with a lack of an understanding for gratitude. Anger fueled them, and anxiety flooded the future. Some lives were lost in accidents while others suffered from violence. Some were lost from illness. The world is equally cruel to everyone as everyone fights the same. The conclusion you had come up with is that at the end of everything, only failure awaited humanity. Even the author agrees that all of us will one day embrace the certainty of death. The bleak truth of the world. That's what Kei wanted him to see. An infinite number of stories spawned and ended in the same outcome. Kei wants him to surrender the fight and give in. The director of the orphanage tells Carmen that death is near when one is lonely. Despite the plentiful relationships built over the course of a lifetime, facing death implies that you are truly alone. At the same time, in the case of a god, he would sacrifice his life to do anything for love. Jay is the representation of such a being as he is painted with pools of blood over his body and still refuses to stop. Kei is getting annoyed that Yu is dragging this fight out. The golden boxer painted in red had already accepted his death. Kei commanded the monster to end the fight, but Yu's resolve has been shaken, and near enough it's broken. The golden boxer finally matches his punches, shocking Kei. He refuses to collapse, denying the reality of the situation. On the contrary, it's Yu who is running out of gas and feeling pressurized in the fight. Kei acts like a cheapskate and tries to stop the fight by forceful means. But even the referee is too stumped to do anything. The world watches a spectacle unfolding before their eyes. The boxer who had long accepted his death is fighting to save a boy. He wasn't there to win from the start. Jay steps forward with his undying persistence, while Yu tries to push him further and further away. Fear overlaps him, showing the world a side of the monster they never had seen before. 10 seconds before it all ends, Jay still steps forward. He eats a dozen punches, refusing to back down, advancing all the way until Yu is trapped in the corner of the ring. The lonely boy who had never received a savior experiences the comfort of the light. Jay extends his punch slowly and gently taps Yu's head, hitting him for the first time in the history of boxing. The fight ends as the arena is overwhelmed with emotion. People experienced a unique feeling as the boy began to cry. Jay comforted him despite his pain as the match came to an end. After the fight, Yu regained a light in his eyes while Jay was carried out on a stretcher in critical condition. The boy felt that he wasn't alone for the first time in his life. After the fight, Aaron's coach quietly passed away as he had felt guilty for what happened to him. He regretted refusing to throw the towel and visited every single day. Later, his wife conveys to Aaron about the funeral. She was angered at Yu and the situation that caused her to separate from her family, but she has accepted her responsibilities and places her faith in her husband's life. She will wait for him to regain consciousness and live. The lives of the world champions continued in normalcy. After the final match, Kay disappeared after closing his gym. There were many rumors of his death, but nothing was confirmed. The same happened to Jay. People didn't know where he went and wondered if he was traveling again. Carmen is at the orphanage, hoping to quell the pain and suffering of humans. There were many lives that fell in the ring, putting an end to their stories. Just like you, a boy was miserable and lost underneath the night sky. Our matured protagonist came to his aid, asking if he was all right. He comforted him with Jay's words, stating that the stars are shining just for him despite the harshness of life. Yu lived his life with Carmen and the kids at the orphanage as the main story of the boxer comes to a beautiful end. But there's more to this story than just the conclusion of Yu's life. The next decisive fight is between Jay and Ryu, who meet once again in the ring. Jay's debut match lasted for 2 minutes against a veteran boxer. He entered his second fight and entered the ring. Steel consoled him, but Jay wasn't too nervous about this match. He had a unique sensation. The match began with a sharp stab against his opponent. Even though Jay faced a previously strong veteran, it only meant his upcoming opponents would become even stronger. He maintained the high pressure and burst his punches with so much energy that his opponent was knocked down. Typhoon believes that this is the start of Jay's growth, who has surpassed his previous limitations. Jay wins the fight as a positive feedback loop of success begins. He is beginning to enjoy his life, thinking about boxing even in the shower. In the ring, he's a beast who continues to crush his opponent and maintain an impressive winning streak. It was a culmination of victory, growth, and fun. But such victories could easily lead to a fear of failure and pride. Eventually, Jay was defeated, as he isn't a boxer with God-given talent. His body has limitations unlike those of monsters. Typhoon told him to rest, as it is a crucial part of training. While Egghead Steel is out here traumatizing the little guy by telling him he's going to shave his hair off if he loses. The more a person climbs greater heights, the greater the feeling of loss. After his first loss, Steel wonders if the boy is going to show up to the gym at all. When they arrive at the gym, the boy is hard at work, crushing the punching bag without a hint of decline. Typhoon realizes that Jay was fueled by the passion of boxing. He was still experiencing growth even after suffering defeat. While his rate of growth is slower than geniuses, he possessed the capacity for endless growth, something those geniuses lack. The scene cuts to Siha, who yawns at the sight of Jay, a fighter who will contest him for the title someday. Jay gets excited for his upcoming title match. He fought against professional strong boxers while losing and winning battles to become worthy of a challenger. While he and his coach are roaring affirmations to each other, Steel isn't too confident and thinks he's about to get destroyed in the first round. Siha is a lazy guy who shows up late for his training. He doesn't find boxers like Jay an interesting matchup, but his coach recommends that he maintain his guard to stay in the fight. The fight between the trained fighters ends in a flash as Siha defeats him without any gear. He's the youngest junior welterweight champion. He's the same age as you, but he's already defended his title in 9 appearances. He's ready for the World Pro League, but chooses to stay in domestic matches. They watch a fight between him against The Rock, the same guy who fought Jay in his debut match. Rock delivers a tantalizing straight to knock him in the corner before pulverizing him with a flurry of punches. Siha evades the corner, but to Jay, it seems like The Rock had the upper hand against the champion throughout the entire fight. But it's actually quite different. The Rock was frustrated as if he realized he had already lost the fight. The second round began, and it ended too fast. It was a complete contrast from the first round. Siha adapted to the information presented in the first round and used it against his opponent in the second. The first round of each of his opponents is the same, but no one in the first round could ever even get to him in that round, no matter how hard they tried. Jay's defeat is written in stone if he can't beat his opponent in the first round. They discuss strategy, but there is no strategy this time. Even his coach doesn't know how to handle such an opponent. Jay lacks destructive power and doesn't really have a decisive means to end the match. His opponent is basically a nemesis for boxers who follow a traditional style. Techniques always become habits, and he's the kind of person who adapts to such a movement with robotic precision. Jay's honed techniques will work against him in a match against such a boxer. So his coach just tells him to do basic training, while he comes up with a strategy against their opponent. Jay shadow boxes, pretending it's the junior welterweight champion, but he can't fight an opening. He knows 4 basic boxing movements that he has practiced in his life, but such weapons will fail to stop his opponent. When he's in a pinch, Rock sees him and catches up with Jay. He realizes it's because of the champion. The boy faces despair for his upcoming match, thinking all his efforts will betray him. Rock reads him like a book and explains having regrets about the fight. It's because he refused to believe in his hard work that he suffered a crushing defeat. He thought that he was the one who betrayed his hard work instead, as he could have left no regrets by trying harder. Before leaving, Rock asked the boy about his final dodges in their debut match. Jay mentions that his body moved without thought, and it wasn't just luck that decided the outcome of the match, it was his hard work. Rock wants him to give it his 100% in the upcoming match, reigniting his spirit. Jay runs back to his coach, having found the solution to his problem, but his coach has different plans. He has found someone else to help train Jay. When Jay enters the gym, it's Yuto and Misaki who are waiting for them. Both Jay and Yuto even act the same as they greet each other. Siha refuses to train or keep up with his health because he's arrogant enough to think he will easily win against Jay. After his training with the world champion, Jay felt overwhelmed for 2 months, but now it was time for him to test his might. Jay's coach is shocked to see the champion's impressive body. The boxer doesn't even put any effort, and still maintains an excellent physique. But when Jay took down his shirt, the world saw muscle fibers popping out. He looked extraordinary to the human eye. Siha extended his hand to Jay, hoping for a good match. But in that brief moment, he learned a few things about him. The match is here at last. Jay has made it so far with his hard work, but Siha already started the process of adaptation when they shook hands. Siha is bored and wants to compete with the big dogs on the world stage after this match. The two strongest fighters face each other. Siha is ascertained of his victory, but even he knows his limitations. He knows that he'll lose to monsters like Yuto. He knows his place in the hierarchy. Siha only felt excited after fighting a guy whose movements he couldn't predict. He wonders what Jay is going to show him in the fight. The match kicks off as Jay delivers an instant knockout. Siha's coach is shocked to see such sudden growth from the challenger, but the champion isn't going down so easily and recovers. The second round begins as Jay tries to execute the same attack. However, his opponent has seen this move coming, only to get blindsided at the last second. Jay had been training with Yuto to acquire a special kind of effort. The world's greatest hard worker outclassed him on every level. Jay wanted to catch up with the world champion to the best of his ability. In their second week, Jay adjusted his training regimen but still admired Yuto's excellence. The third week was the same. He couldn't match Yuto's stride. He learned that concentration and hard work are both critical, as not a single one of his movements becomes sloppy in his training. The retired boxer strives for growth with an undying desperation even though he has no one left to fight. The fifth week involved his body feeling heavy. He felt real fear and felt the sheer weight of his body collapsing on him. Jay succumbed to the hard work which Misaki had intended for. The only thing he cared about was the punching bag in front of him. He wanted to become as powerful of a boxer as his father. That was the moment he broke his own limits and evolved into a powerful boxer. Siha is having his worst challenge facing this opponent who is relentless in his resolve. When he is exhausted, Jay deals the killing blow and knocks the champion down. Only one knockdown remains until Jay becomes champion. The boy was 9 when he discovered that life was too boring to live, but now he sees a fighter who is giving him a real challenge in the ring. Even Yuto and Misaki are here to watch the match. Even though it's still impossible for Jay to change much in the short training, his growth has begun to bear fruit. Hard work isn't the only thing that implies growth. It means to chip away the pleasures of life for the pursuit of greatness. It means to sacrifice one's relationships until everything is shaved from a person's life. All of that is then concentrated into a single point and produces spectacular achievements. The audience cheers for our boy who is caving the champion with his excessive punches. The first round has yet to finish, and this is his only chance to overcome Siha. He floods him with dozens of attacks, but then it happens. Siha's adaptation completes as he counters the boxer's hard work with one speck of his talent. The Genius Junior welterweight champion delivers a crushing blow as the first round comes to an end. But this is now a real problem for Jay, as even after 2 knockdowns, Siha is ready to give him a world of pain in the fight to follow. He didn't feel particularly bored or excited in his bout against Jay. Misaki and Yuto wonder how the match will turn out. The champion wonders what else he's hiding in his arsenal to take him down. Typhoon reminds his student that he will throw the towel if Jay doesn't end the fight in the upcoming round. The match begins as Siha demolishes Jay's initiative. He delivers a crushing knockout punch that takes Jay down. But suddenly, Siha notices that he was struck by a powerful punch during that small instance. He realizes that Jay's strategy is to take hits all the while flooding his opponent with blows. The fight continues with Jay dishing out equal damage as he receives. He's trying to go for a match of endurance. Counterpunches are incredibly hard to throw because they paralyze the person's body before they're able to reply with an attack. That's why Jay trained his body to the brim to sustain such attacks. He's bringing the fight to the champion after having trained immensely to bulk up his physical weight. It's a fight between a natural predator against the common man. But even with those muscles, he's taking brutal damage with each hit. Jay's movements are beginning to stagger as the damage accumulates. It's now or never. His persistence keeps him at bay, so Siha targets his livers, as they're the most sensitive part of the body. Tremendous pain floods him, but in that brief moment he delivers a counterpunch that knocks down the champion. It's a counter to a counter with both fighters barely hanging in the fight. Jay delivered an attack that nearly made him collapse. He capitalized in this moment to destroy Siha. Both fighters perfectly counter the other, but Jay receives a caning strike from the champion as he is taken down yet again. A memory of Ryu flashes in his mind. It was the fight where he actually struggled against an opponent, a fighter who fought freely without having a particular stance. Siha used the exact same movement of Ryu when he dodged steel. Though he's back up, Jay has faced tremendous damage with very little to rely on. Siha senses that there is nothing left for Jay to offer. He smashes him around the ring and thinks he should end the fight. But right before he does, the round comes to an end. Siha recommends him to surrender for his own good. Blonde Boy, on the other hand, is traumatized from his fight. Typhoon wants him to quit, but he's still in the game. Round 3 begins, and Siha easily handles Jay and his slow movements. The only thing this boy has left to offer is to take punches like how he learned in school. His coach thought he had gone crazy, but Jay wanted another round. Siha bashes him around, commenting on the mundane and boring aspects of life. Heroes and villains don't exist like they do in comics, as miracles only happen in fiction. Most humans are victims of the environment they are born with. Jay manages to attack Siha, who surprisingly refuses to dodge the track. The truth is, Siha also experienced severe damage accumulation. This allowed Jay to get his hits in. Both fighters were struggling to keep up, but now is the decisive moment of the fight. For Jay, he overcame massive hurdles, so he boasts the strength to endure such pain. His opponent is a hulk of talent who relies on squeezing consecutive punches, but he exhausts himself, allowing Jay to launch an uppercut. Siha dodges the uppercut and repeats Ryu's recoil punch, but it's not enough to knock him out. Jay follows with a counterpunch of his own and demolishes Siha as both fighters fall to the ground. A double knockdown has occurred. The referee makes his count as Jay emerges to take his stand. The crowd roars as he wins the match. A new national champion of the country is born, while Siha experiences his first loss in boxing. He thought he would lose to someone with more talent, but that prediction was proven wrong. One of them boxed to entertain himself while the other overcame it. It was clear that Jay was deserving of this victory. Jay wins the titleship match in the junior welterweight division. The scene cuts to a face we've all been dying to see. It's Ryu, who has been freed after receiving his sentence. He returns to his boss and no longer wants to work for the thugs, but he experiences a sudden dizziness as they drug his meal. Ryu's still as good as he once was and doesn't mind slaughtering them. The entire gang rushed to attack him as he demolished everyone. After defeating them and reminding the vermin of their place, he is ready to kill anyone who stands in his way. Ryu wonders where his life took a downward spiral. He doesn't know if it started with the feeling of humiliation, loss, or hitting someone. Ryu at his lowest became a nobody until Josh discovered him outside his bar. He begged for food before collapsing. Josh fed him with a good meal and learned that they were the same age. He even offered Ryu a chance to work at the bar, but he refused, stating it wasn't like him to work that kind of job. He glanced to spot Josh's trophies and realized he was a boxer. Curiously, Ryu asked if Josh had any merit in the professional boxing world. He answered that he's only good in local matches, as the world stage is a different beast. Something took over Ryu as he begged to fight him. A frustrated Josh took him to the alleyway to fight. Ryu treated him callously, but he's still quick on the draw. Josh evaded him, but still gave him a tough time. Coincidentally, Gene's coach came to witness Ryu's boxing. He possessed amazing timing paired with brilliant reaction speed. At the same time, his movements were so odd. This is due to the injury he suffered in his leg. As a consequence, Josh pummels him to the ground. Josh reminds him that he was a greater fighter back then than he is now. Remembering his frustrating conversation with Kay, Josh claimed that there were 2 geniuses in the country of Korea, more powerful than even him, who never learned to box. He left the white-haired punk in the gutter. Gene stood over him and asked what he really wanted. But in response, Bitchface just told him to frick off. He looked like a pathetic sight laying on the ground. But Peter still extended him an invitation to find him if he wanted to go pro. Wherever he goes, Ryu's past haunts him in the face of Jay. The sight of Yu traumatizes him, while Josh reminds him of his inferiority. Even Kay called him a worthless piece of trash, leaving him the most fragile he's ever been. Peter meets with Gene and tells him about his interaction with an interesting fellow in the street. Ryu follows a path that Peter has sculpted for him. Back then, he saw Yu's fight against Jay. The world froze in its place. Ryu eventually arrived at the gym and expressed wanting to become a professional boxer. Peter wanted to hear it in his heart and soul. Ryu gave the old geezer what he wanted, but he wasn't going to receive the privilege of being trained for free. After all, he's one of the best coaches in the world, but he's ready to give him a discount if he works at a local restaurant. Bro gets tossed outside so that he can learn the value of work. The next day, he shows up to Josh's bar and earnestly states that he wants to work in his kitchen. Josh demands that he apologize for his actions. Ryu had never in his life thought that he could apologize to anyone, but he was forced to chew his words and uttered the words of apology. He felt embarrassed with a bit of freedom. He was finally experiencing the growth he had never experienced before. Ryu starts at once doing dishes, but this dude is secretly plotting to destroy Josh in their revenge match. He shaves his hair for a cleaner look and decides to change for the better. When he showed up to the gym, he saw Gene for the first time. The the same guy who went up against the best in the whole world. Ryu issues the payment for the gym as Peter teaches him his first boxing lesson. Ryu hates that he's being ridiculed because he already knows such basic movements. He prefers learning how to fight in an actual fight, but Peter tells him that he still doesn't know a thing about boxing. Ryu tries to show his 1-2 combo, but it's pathetic compared to the ordinary. Peter notices that Ryu hurts his leg whenever he tries executing an attack. Everything rests on a person's leg, as they're crucial for his style. Ryu gets pissed and directly challenges Gene for a fight. Such bold words aren't enough to get him a ring with Gene. Peter gets him a ring with an amateur pro boxer to see if he's up to the case. Bitchface is actually confident he's gonna win because of his form. The fight begins, and it's instantly clear that Ryu boasts God-given talent. He might have become a powerful boxer, but he's being pushed back in a ring against an amateur one. Peter stops the fight before the first round even finishes. Obviously, Crybaby is pretty frustrated by his performance, and his ego can't stomach losing to a guy who hasn't even gone pro. Finally, he blurts out that Kay himself acknowledged him as a genius boxer. A moment of silence follows before Gene voluntarily accepts the fighting match. He intentionally hides one of his arms and even places an easy win condition for Ryu. The fight doesn't even begin before it ends. Ryu realized that Gene didn't knock him out purposefully as he wanted to show him the difference in skill. In just a few fractions of seconds, Ryu endured a hell of pain against this monster until he eventually blacked out. When he woke up again, Peter had to give him the cold news. The genius was no longer the genius he thought he was. There was no point in his training if he trained the old way. But after a while, Ryu regained his footing and managed to win a fight. When they were at school, Ryu boasted an exceptional ability in sports, while Yu seemed like a guy who could navigate between a bunch of skills. He was incredible at reactionary sports. He was the kind of person to boast incredible talent, even among the geniuses. Ryu fights Larry, remembering to cast away his old self. His only leverage point is stamina, so he's working to maintain that in a fight. In the pro boxing scene, Ryu crushes his opponents, but he still deploys imperfect techniques in the world arena. Peter scolds him for it and reminds the boxer of his weaknesses. They share a dinner together, and the hopes of living a normal life are starting to set in. Ryu does everything he should and has formed good relationships in life. He thinks normal life is good for him as he's far from beating the monsters of the boxing world. It's plain within sight that he will never become a world champion, but he's fine with that. He's fine with being average. The following day, Peter gives him the good news. Ryu is at the #1 level in his country, so it's good if they try to go for world-level sport now. His first opponent is the boxing king of Korea, Jay. In an unusual manner, he asks to train with Josh, even going as far as to apologize to him. Later, he meets up at the big stage with Typhoon and Jay, and learns that he's been spending time at his old gym. He wanted to apologize to him at first, but Jay's gaze didn't change the slightest. Of course, his personality barely changed, and he refused to shake his hand. Ryu had a crushing feeling inside. He did not want to lose to that boy. The day of the match finally arrived. Both fighters stepped onto the big stage as the crowd went wild. They stared at each other. Peter recommended that Ryu maintain a strategy to win with points instead of a knockout, since he's dealing with the definition of resilience. But of course he doesn't need to know this since he's experienced it firsthand. Ryu challenges Jay and immediately gets bashed in fucking face for it. That first punch knocked him right down, as he realized that it was impossible for him to defeat this guy. The shock of being hit bewilders him as he realizes Jay is looking down on him. The fight continues as Jay hammers a barrage of punches that go on and on without end. Ryu receives a brutal beatdown of his life as none of his punches mean shit. His opponent wears a body of steel with so much endurance that it's difficult to take him down. The one person he looked down upon his entire life outclassed him by leaps and bounds. The first round ends with Jay's domination in the ring, but he believes Ryu is still hiding his real ability. On the other side, Peter guides him to hang in there and tire his opponent out. The longer the fight, the better the chances of winning. But that's not Ryu's style. He doesn't want to win like that and desires to end the fight in the next round. The fight begins as Jay feels a shiver down his spine. Ryu's fist connects and batters him with incredible speed. He wants to break Jay's resolve by cornering him with heavy punches. The scene reminds him of their initial fight. Jay senses Ryu's weak point in his leg, and yet he still gets uppercutted. Memories of their training flash before their eyes as Jay corners and knocks the wind out of his opponent. Ryu collapses to the ground, and for the second time he feels that it is impossible to defeat the champion of Korea. He refused to accept such an ending. Ryu gets up again to confront his morbid reality. Despite his charged advance to defeat the champion, all he receives is a punch that knocks the daylights out of him. The fight is over as Jay surpasses him in the race. His coach roars at him to get back up, but this pathetic fighter has lost himself to misery. He pities his bad leg, but then remembers Peter's words. Just why did he return to the gym? The answer was simple. He cultivated a desire to box. Mustering that spirit, Ryu fidgets and starts all over again. The damage accumulation is flooding his body, but Jay still wants to be cautious in this fight. He advances to finish the fight in 30 seconds. He had to endure the brunt of many heavy punches during that time span. The referee commanded the end of the round, letting Ryu survive for a little while longer. The third round began as he prioritized maintaining his guard. This is done to recover from the damage, but Jay isn't going to do that. Surprisingly, Ryu executed a clinch that stopped the flow of his movement. Then when it became tough, Ryu executed a second clinch. He was finally following Peter's strategy to win the fight. Finally, it was possible for him to win as the underdog of the ring. But even with that strategy, he gets destroyed by Jay. The little guy came back for some hardcore revenge. Ryu regains consciousness, but it's not enough as the difference in their effort is too vast. The third round comes to an end, and he doesn't even have a game plan. 3 more rounds fly past as Ryu is beginning to question how long this match will go. Peter even calls him a punching bag and thinks he should opt out of the fight if he wants. But Ryu reminds his coach of his own words. He doesn't want to leave anything in his tank before calling it quits. Round 7 begins with Ryu's envy for Jay, who became a successful boxer after putting in hours of effort into the sport. He was blessed with talent and took his talent for granted. The boy was just an idiot child from back then. He watched Gene and learned from him. He too had traversed the path of growth. Ryu finally executed a successful punch, but in response he got countered by impressive blows from his opponent. Ryu accepts getting overpowered. He's fine with losing, but a miracle occurs as Jay slips and suffers from a critical wound. Now that his vision has been compromised, Ryu hammers to attack him. Instead of slowing down, Jay goes even faster on the attack. But this nervousness is clear. The goddess of victory has decided for a different outcome in this match. Ryu senses a brief moment for an opportunity and lands a critical counterpunch, knocking down his opponent. Jay doesn't want to quit and gets right back up. The round continues, but Ryu is easily maneuvering against his opponent. He realizes that Jay's sight is so bad he can't see properly. The world was never fair even in competition. This fight wasn't supposed to end this way. A silly accident couldn't have equalized them. Ryu strikes Jay with a thunderous hook. The injury is getting more pronounced for the boxer. Ryu wants him to just stop as he's already overcome the advantage. But he keeps going, eating a dozen punches from his opponent. It comes to a point Jay goes completely blind in both his eyes. He tracks his opponent based on instinct. Ryu was fine with being alone and didn't require a family. Even when he was a little boy, he thought he was everything. He thought he was the best, and that no one could overpower him. That's how he used to feel, but ever since their fight, Jay is the only person who has seen the real him. To settle this cursed relationship, both fighters launched a final punch, striking each other in the face. Ryu's entire body is nearly collapsing, but he wants to show Jay that he's grown. The match suddenly concludes in Ryu's comeback victory when a doctor steps inside the ring. Ryu is shocked that he won the fight. He was so shocked that he didn't drop his guard even when Jay was getting checked by the doctor. The only reason that kept him standing was his determination, even with a damaged leg. Ryu realized that even from back then, it was just pure luck that he had more talent than other people. He was pronounced the champion and recovered his relationship with Jay. That day he cried tears and meant every word. But Jay wanted the world to celebrate his win and looked forward to their future matches. After the fight, they met up on the world stage. They fought many more matches after and waited for one more person to come. Ryu wonders if he should apologize because he's the one who got rushed to the hospital instead. Bro is out here plotting to beat Yu with a combined attack. Jay is like, what the frick is going on with him? Lo and behold, Yu arrives with a happy smile on his face. They talked about many things and discussed the kind of leads they were currently leading. Time passed and eventually their stories came to a close. Ryu exhausted his life working for a non-profit organization while Jay opened his boxing gym. Josh's business grew to an insane amount while John worked as a chef. Kasim the crazy maniac spent his life traveling the world while Gene exhausted his life in the art of painting. Yuto Takeda lived a healthy life running a fruit shop with Yamaguchi until he too succumbed to age. Marco became the chairman of the Boxing Association to end corruption, while his brother founded a charitable organization, Mohawk Man. Victor became an actor while Aaron spent the rest of his life becoming a doctor and treating his patients. Finally, for the main protagonist of our story, he took his final breaths resting in Carmen's embrace. They shared many times together and everything felt fulfilled. Instead of becoming a monster, Yu lived a human's life and stepped down from the ring at 84 years of age. Carmen was there to see him in his final moments.